In the Age of Legends, when gods and magic ruled the world, we meet the demon lord Leonis Magnus. He receives a report that the other demon lords have already fallen and that the 6 great heroes are approaching to defeat him. We see his army of undead fighting against the humans, but there's a giant tree that grows and one of the heroes rides on top. She fires her arrow, which splits and rains light down onto the battlefield, reviving the fallen soldiers. A dragon appears for the humans, and it starts sieging the castle. The humans continue to get closer, and the giant tree starts attacking with its roots. Leonis prepares to go out and face them, but his subordinate reminds him of the promise he made to the goddess of darkness, so it's not yet time for him to die. Leonis puts his staff away, and we see his castle being destroyed. He accepts defeat, but declares that as the undead king, he will rise again after 1,000 years and reclaim his throne. We cut to some time later, as we see 2 girls entering a ruin. We learn that the ruin was uncovered by an earthquake, and they are investigating it, to see if it contains a void nest. We meet Celia and her maid Regina, as they head deeper into the ruin. Regina wonders if they will really find any void, but Celia reminds her that the void are creatures that like to nest in deep underground ruins. We see them using a counter to help detect the presence of the void, and they come across some strange statues. They think that the ruin could be some kind of important tomb, but they continue to explore. Their counter spikes as they approach a door, but it seems to be magically sealed. Celia examines the inscription, but she struggles to understand what it says. Regina thinks she will take a while to decipher it, so she decides to explore on her own. Celia keeps on examining the text, but when she touches it, the door suddenly opens for her. The room lights up, and a giant crystal is revealed on the other side. Celia's counter goes wild, and it even ends up breaking. She gets a closer look at the crystal, and she realizes that there's someone inside. We cut back to the past, when Leonis finds the goddess of darkness Rosalia. She reminds him of their promise, that in 1,000 years' time, a human who can be a vessel for her power will appear, and it's his duty to find them. Leonis begs her to stay with him, but she just flies away. We see Celia trying to destroy the crystal, but her weapon seems to have no effect. Leonis is awakened by the disturbance, and he wonders how she entered the room, because it should be sealed by magic. He wonders if 1,000 years has passed, and uses a spell that allows him to understand Celia. He thinks she is some kind of grave robber, so he prepares to punish her, and his crystal suddenly shatters, blowing her away. He approaches to punish her, but Celia is suddenly confused by what a child is doing there. Leonis sees his reflection, and he is shocked to see he's just a child. He wonders if his reincarnation ritual failed, and it seems he has returned to his younger self, back when he used to be a hero. Celia wonders what he was doing in the crystal, and she immediately checks to see if he's okay. Leonis gets embarrassed, and he even finds Celia kinda cute. Celia thinks he must be suffering from some kind of amnesia, and she immediately tells him that she will protect him. Leonis can't believe a demon lord like himself is being treated this way, but part of him enjoys it, and he ends up passing out. When Leonis wakes up, Celia gives him some food, but we learn he has lost his sense of taste centuries ago. He can't believe his body would lose consciousness due to hunger, and he thinks it's an embarrassment. He wants to punish Celia for her disrespectful behavior, but thinking about how she shared her food with him, he thinks she might not be so bad. Celia introduces herself to him, revealing that she's a swordsman in training at the Holy Sword Academy. She asks to know more about him, so he introduces himself as Leonis Magnus. She finds his name interesting, and Leonis thinks she must recognize it from the legends passed down about him, but she just thinks it's a cute name, and she even calls him Leo. She wonders how he ended up in the ruin, and thinks he must have been kidnapped and trapped by the void. Leonis doesn't know what she's talking about, and he asks about the void. Celia is surprised he doesn't know, but she explains that they are the enemy of humanity that suddenly appeared 64 years ago. Meanwhile, we see Regina exploring on her own, as her counter starts going off, and a crystal starts to move. She immediately activates her holy sword, and she prepares for a fight. Celia explains that there is still much they don't know about the void, and Leonis wonders what year they are in. However, it's not clear how long it's been, because they are now using a different calendar system, and Celia just tells him that it's the 64th year. There is suddenly an explosion, and Regina reports the appearance of a colossal void. Celia jumps on Leonis to protect him from the debris, and she tells him not to worry. The wall is suddenly destroyed, and an ogre-class void appears. Celia tries shooting it with her weapon, but it doesn't do any damage. Leonis prepares to defeat it, wanting to protect his mausoleum, but he suddenly trips over his cloak, because he isn't used to his body. The monster gets even closer, but it suddenly gets blasted, as Regina appears. She wonders about Leonis, but Celia tells her she will explain it later. The monster starts to get back up, so Regina transforms her weapon into an even bigger cannon, blasting it in the chest. The monster manages to survive, and Leonis is surprised, recognizing Regina's power on the same level as a level 4 explosion spell. Regina tells them to escape while she finishes off the void. Celia doesn't want to leave her, but thinking about Leonis' safety, she agrees to go. As they run, Leonis thinks about how everything seems to be going wrong. He thinks about going back and destroying the monster, but decides to stick with Celia so he can get more information about the current world. Their path is blocked by another void monster, and Celia tells him to run. She prepares to hold it off, but Leonis thinks about revealing his power and defeating it. He is about to cast his spell, but Celia suddenly pushes him away, as the monster attacks and cuts her down. She is thrown to the side, and she starts bleeding out, but she still worries about Leonis, telling him to run away, and apologizing for being unable to protect him. Another monster appears, and Leonis becomes surrounded on all sides, but when they attack him, he's completely protected by a barrier. He summons his staff, and instantly crushes one of the monsters with a level 8 gravity spell. He then attacks with a fireball, taking out the other 2 monsters with ease. However, he becomes shocked when he sees that the bones of the monster still remain, and he notes that in his current body, his powers are only a third of what they used to be. As a demon lord, he doesn't care about human life, but he recognizes Celia's courage, so he decides to bring her back. As he revives her, we see a peculiar symbol appear on her body. Regina finishes off the monster on her end, and she immediately tries to contact Celia. Leonis is amazed that humans have developed such technology, and Celia wakes back up. She immediately hugs onto him, glad that he's okay, and Leonis can't believe that's the first thing she's worrying about. She then wonders how she is alive, and Leonis says her injuries weren't that bad, and he just used a healing spell on her. Celia is confused by this, and she wonders if it was a holy sword power that he used. Leonis says he doesn't know what she means, so Celia explains that holy swords are a type of power that arose in humans in order to fight the void. When the void first appeared, children possessing mysterious abilities also started showing up. Leonis recalls Regina's weapon, and Celia explains that holy swords seem to embody the personality of the wielder, but she notes that she has yet to be blessed with her own holy sword, which is why she fights with magical devices. They are joined by Regina, and she wonders about the monsters that they encountered. Celia also wants to know what happened, but Leonis says that he hid, and they seem to just disappear. They make it outside, and they decide to take Leonis back to the city. Regina introduces herself along the way, but she catches him staring, and she calls him lewd. Celia tells her not to be weird, but Regina continues to tease him, and Leonis can't believe that a demon lord like him is being ridiculed by a girl. However, they reach the city, and Leonis is amazed seeing it. Celia reveals it's the 7th Assault Garden, humanity's last stronghold against the void, and Leonis can't believe he's really 1,000 years in the future. In a flashback to 6 years earlier, we see the 3rd Assault Garden under attack by an army of void. People take refuge in the mansion's shelter, where we see a young Celia and Regina clutching onto each other in fear. Regina is scared by the noises outside, but Celia reassures her by telling her that her parents and the other knights have never lost a battle before. The noises outside grow louder, so Celia tells Regina that she is going to join the battle with everyone else as soon as she's blessed with a holy sword, and that she is starting her studies the next week. The noises intensify, so Celia tries to rush to the door to help her family, but Regina holds her back and tells her to calm down. They are rescued sometime later, but we learn that all the holy knights have perished. Celia falls to her knees, and both she and Regina start crying. In the present, Leonis wonders if the whole island is a fortress, but Regina tells him that it's also a town where they live and that they must protect. Leonis is amazed to learn that the whole island moves, and Celia informs her superiors that they will be bringing a refugee boy to the dorms, adding that he has awakened his holy sword, which Celia assumes he must have used to heal her wounds. Celia tells him that he will live at the Excalibur Academy with them from now on, where people with holy swords are trained to become proper swordsmen. Regina splits up for a market trip, but Celia stays and informs Leonis that he must pass through an examination door before entering. Leonis goes to the bathroom, wondering how things could go so wrong from his original plans, and how he is now trapped in the body of a child. He summons his subordinates, Blackus and Sherry, from his shadows, but they are surprised to see his current form, with Sherry finding him adorable. He tells them that the reincarnation ritual failed, so he returned to his old human form from back when he was a hero. Leonis informs them that they are on a man-made mobile island called Assault Garden 7, speculating that there are 6 more islands around, and they note that humanity has changed drastically from the past, when they used to be the weakest. He tasks the two with discreetly inspecting the island without using any spells, while he infiltrates the academy and lives as a human. In the examination room, he sees checks he doesn't understand, and learns that he has to control his mana when an alarm goes off. He collects his ID card at the exit, but Celia grabs it from him to take a picture of it. We learn that Celia needs his ID card to schedule his Holy Sword inquiry, so she decides to hold onto it. On their way to the academy, Leonis is surprised to see the peaceful nature of the island, and Celia reveals that it's because it has never been invaded by the Void. As he is given a tour of the academy, he asks why leisure facilities like the dance hall are needed, and is surprised to hear that they work better than strict military training. Celia shows Leonis the training grounds where his sword inquiry will be held, but she suddenly gets a headache and catches herself, while saying that she should restart her training to acquire her holy sword. As they pass the dorms, a boy named Musil and his group stop them. He insults Celia and makes fun of Leonis. We see the girls are under the control of Musil's holy sword, and he invites Celia to join his harem, but she refuses. He grabs Celia by her hair, but Leonis gets angry and casts a spell that makes him fall to his hands and kneel in front of him. He warns Musil not to bother Celia, causing him to bring out his holy weapon, but a girl named Elphine steps in, threatening to report him to the administration bureau. Musil leaves reluctantly, and we learn that Elphine is part of Celia's platoon, as Celia introduces her to Leonis. She says that she couldn't join their expedition, because it took her time to process the strange magical reaction noticed on the island, saying that an investigative team will be looking further into it. We cut to an old-looking house called the Hazelgard dorm, the dorm for Celia's platoon, and learn that quarters are assigned to platoons based on a merit system. Celia takes Leonis upstairs, and he asks her if it's alright for him to join a female dorm, but she says it's fine since he's a child. Celia points Leonis to the bathroom for a shower, and as Leonis is amazed by the hot water in the shower, she joins him. While scrubbing him down, she tells him that he can join any platoon he chooses, but she says she would like it if he joined hers. Leonis asks why she wants to fight so badly despite having no holy sword, but as Celia explains, she collapses. Leonis activates a symbol on her body, making her rise, and she drinks blood from his neck. She is surprised by her actions, and Leonis tells her that she wasn't healed, and that she had actually died. In a flashback to 2 years in the past, we see Celia struggling against robots in the training facility. Musil interrupts her, asking her to stop resisting and join his platoon, but he is chased away by Regina, and she tells Celia that upon awakening her holy sword, she will easily deal with guys like Musil, but Celia says that that's not the reason she wants a holy sword. In the present, Celia wakes up from her sleep, and Leonis reveals his identity as a reincarnated ancient sorcerer, and that he used a level 10 spell to revive her, turning her into an undead vampire, explaining that she drank his blood to replenish her mana. She tells him about the Void Stampede in her hometown that orphaned her, and how the Academy took her and Regina in. Celia admits that she participates in risky missions to speed up her awakening, and asks Leonis if she can still awaken her holy sword as a vampire. He is unsure, but assures her that either way, she's stronger than before. His stomach suddenly growls, and he is embarrassed by his human body. At the cafeteria, he tries to pay for his meals using a gold coin, claiming it can buy the whole menu, but is shocked to learn that the Assault Garden only accepts credits, and that gold's value has decreased in modern day, making all of his savings useless. We see loan sharks approach a girl for payments, and get handsy when she tells them to wait a week, so she scares them off with a wooden sword. We learn that she is Sakuya, another member of Celia's platoon, as she apologizes to Celia for not joining their exploration trip, because she went out gambling after her lessons. Sakuya is already aware of Leonis from Elphine, and Leonis notes that she's exceptional with her sword skills. Celia treats them all to lunch, and Leonis asks Sakuya about her different attire. She says that it's her sister's attire from their homeland, which was destroyed by the Void, and swears that she will eliminate all the voids. We learn that she's a compulsive gambler when two girls come asking her for borrowed money, but she makes excuses. At the training facility, we see a woman named Alto, assigned for Leonis's holy sword inquiry. He summons his staff and tells her that it's a support weapon, but to everyone's surprise, he easily destroys 3 void simulator robots. Alto tells him that this requires a detailed investigation, but suddenly Muscle intervenes and tells her that Leonis could inquire about his holy sword by fighting him instead. They agree to fight, but Celia intervenes on behalf of Leonis when she sees that it's Muscle's whole platoon against Leonis. Muscle agrees to let her join the battle on the condition that if they lose, she has to join his platoon. Leonis agrees, wagering that if they win instead, he will not bother Celia again. The battle starts under Alto's supervision, and Celia quickly overpowers the platoon members. While Celia deals with 2 girls, one of the other girls attacks Leonis under Muscle's orders, but she's detained by Leonis's shadow summoning spell. Regina runs to enter the grounds having overslept, and is surprised to see the situation. Celia beats the rest of the platoon, but as she is about to attack Muscle, he binds her using his holy sword's power and disarms her. Muscle goes to Leonis, and as Leonis decides to deal with him and his platoon alone, Celia awakens her holy sword, the last remnant of the Crystalia family, in desperation to protect him. She escapes his bind and moves to attack, slicing his holy sword. His control over the girls in his platoon is broken, and they go back to normal. Muscle surrenders, and Regina runs up and hugs Celia in celebration while the crowd applauds. Later in the dorm, Celia thanks Leonis and says that as his minion, she will protect him, but asks him to make her stronger. A party is held in the dorm for Celia's achievement and for Leonis joining their platoon. They argue about whose room Leonis will stay in, and he says it's best to stay in Celia's room, as she was the one who found him. Leonis is in Elphine's room later to register himself with the Academy's network. She tells him that she used to be an attacker in her previous platoon, but is now the data analyzer because she lost her original powers after seeing her friends die to void enemies. Leonis gets registered and borrows Elphine's tablet. He looks at the map of the world on the tablet, recalling what the places used to be during his time, and notes that the void seemed to appear where ancient battles took place. Blackus rises from his shadow and informs him that the whole city is powered by a massive mana crystal called the power plant. Sherry appears immediately after reporting that Leonis and the war have been forgotten by the masses, which he finds strange. We see divers underwater beneath the island, searching for a possible void outbreak when they are suddenly attacked by a tree-like creature that calls out Leonis's name. We go back to year 432 of the Holy God calendar, where we see young Leonis, hero of the Holy Sword, on his way to get rid of gargoyles terrorizing a quarry. His guide notes that he's an honorable person for taking care of monsters, while the other 6 heroes are busy protecting the Imperial City. As they reach the place of the monsters, we see that Leonis was tricked by the guide, and a band of soldiers emerge and quickly chain him. They pierce his chest with spears and lead him to die, saying he won't pose a threat to their master anymore. As he is dying, Leonis is visited by the goddess of darkness Rosalia, who asks him if he hates his betrayers, but Leonis says that they aren't necessarily evil. She asks him to join her in rebelling against the world, telling him that she always had her eyes on him, and that she likes him so he should become hers. Leonis wakes up from his dream, and he remembers his mission to restore the demon army. He wakes Celia up from her sleep using his authority mark, and explains to her that he can control his minions using that mark. Celia wonders if Leonis will make her do indecent activities, but Leonis says he would never. He notes that even though her bloodlust peaks during night, she should at least ask before drinking his blood. Celia gets a call from Elphine, who tells her that a strategy meeting was called a while ago on their day off, and that she will update her when she gets more information. Celia tells Leonis to train her on their day off, and he teases her, saying she's full of energy after sucking his blood. At the command center, the board members and the acting director Castoros are informed that communications with the Marine platoon have been lost. Void activity was detected for just 3 seconds before the signal cut off, which is unusually short for a void attack. They observe blurry images of the creature and speculate whether it's a new species that resembles trees or a void lord. They discuss the similarities with the Stampede attack 6 years ago, and how improvements were drastically made to exact revenge for the tragedy. As they communicate ways to counter this problem, Castoros gets a call from the actual commander. The commander orders a follow-up investigation of the case, and Gillian, the divisional commander, agrees to assemble a squadron of elite platoons to investigate. and Gillian reassures them that no harm will come to the island. Elsewhere in the training grounds, we see that Celia has improved as she swiftly deals with the robots. Leonis prepares a better challenge for her by covering their training quarters in a barrier and summoning a horde of his lowest-ranked skeleton minions. We see her tired after defeating all the skeletons. She offers to treat him to a meal as thanks for the training, but Leonis is reluctant to eat off her again, but his stomach says otherwise. We see another reconnaissance team underwater looking for the Void Lord. At the dorms, Sakuya catches Blackest sitting outside and finds him cute, so she ties food around his neck for later. Regina enters Elphine's room carrying new sweets for her to try, and Sakuya enters telling them about the dog she found outside. Regina wonders why Elphine is wearing her uniform, and she tells her that she's on duty for the recon squad. Celia and Leonis roam through the city in her vehicle, looking around, and he's astonished yet again by humanity's achievements. We see Sherry has started working in a kitchen to earn money for her master, and she is tasked with cutting potatoes by the chef, but she ends up cutting the potatoes along with the bowl. As punishment, she's told to go sweep outside. Just as she's about to start sweeping, she sees Celia arrive with Leonis and hides behind the door. Celia gets donuts for someone, and Sherry wonders where they are going as they ride off. They arrive at a restaurant called the Sunny Spot, and several kids run out to greet Celia. We learn that they are orphans who live in the restaurant, and that Celia works there sometimes. Leonis remembers that he was an orphan just like the kids, albeit with different lives. Inside the establishment, a kid named Dean pranks Celia by lifting her skirt, so Leonis tries to apprehend him, but Celia calms him down. They are joined by the owner Miss Frenia, and Celia introduces Leonis to her. Celia tells them she picked up donuts and vegetables for them, and she will cook dinner tonight. Leonis realizes that this is the place Celia wants to protect, and ponders if he has a place to protect like her anymore. Elphine notes vibrations under the city on the radar, and Sakuya gets an uneasy feeling. In the administrative quarters beneath the city, employees check the food storage and are shocked to see that tree roots have invaded the room. We go back to the year 428 of the Holy God calendar, when monsters invade a walled city, and on the city walls stand 3 heroes, including the 12-year-old Leonis, watching the approaching danger. Tiras insists they can't wait for the other heroes, and the oldest among them, Arakiel, decides to end the monsters along with everyone else. He casts a spell that will incinerate all living things in the city, and instructs Tiras to revive the people afterward. Leonis draws his sword, cutting through Arakiel's spell, and Leonis simply states his dislike for the plan to kill and revive everyone. He jumps at the monsters, killing them all, and the citizens erupt in cheers for him, but Arakiel remarks that someday, Leonis will dig his own grave with that power of his. Returning to the present, we find ourselves in the control room, where they are informed that the specimen underwater has disappeared. Castoros says that it must have been a void to be able to disappear like this. Gillian suggests that it might have crystallized, and emphasizes the need for elimination before it can manifest again. They are informed that a holy swordswoman from the 18th platoon wants to share the results of her investigation with them. Initially, the military advisor is uninterested in hearing from a student, but soon change their minds when it's mentioned that she belongs to the Filiot family. Elphine appears on the screen and begins to disclose the data she has gathered, deducing that a void has infiltrated the underground of the garden, causing disruptions in the mobile network. They are all in disbelief at her revelation, as the operators in the control room support her assessment, stating that weird sounds have been reported in Block 59, and that the void seems to be on the move. Elphine suggests that the infiltrating void is possibly disguising its movements to penetrate deeper into the city. They argue that a void couldn't possess such intelligence, but another report from the resource department reveals the presence of dense, root-like vegetation in a storeroom. We see Regina trying to call Celia, but she can't reach her, so Elphine sends her drone to the Sunny Spa house, where Celia and Leonis are with the kids. There are soldiers that confront the void in the storeroom, but it escapes, leaving everyone puzzled. Elphine alerts them that the void is moving toward the power plant along the power line. If it reaches the plant, it could absorb a lot of energy and cause a stampede. The void reaches the power plant and fights against the security systems. Simultaneously, Castoros declares that the garden will go into fortress mode, and urges the evacuation of citizens into shelters. Ultimately, the void reaches the mana crystal within the plant, summoning a stampede, and monsters start to pour out from the sky. In the control room, preparations are made for a prolonged battle, as they must endure for at least 3 days until reinforcements from the capital arrive. Leonis and Celia understand the situation, and he orders Sherry to protect Celia's friends. While trying to evacuate the kids, flying monsters approach, and Leonis joins Celia as she prepares to fight. She effortlessly slices through 2 of them, while he quickly burns the others. 3 ogre-class voids suddenly appear where the rest of the platoon is stationed. Sakuya easily dispatches them one by one, and Regina handles the others with her cannon. They successfully eliminate all the nearby monsters, but tense up when they see a Hydra-class void not too far from their position, and a Dragon-class void also appears from the sky. Leonis scoffs at how even the mighty dragons have turned into mere voids, and decides to kill it himself. He tells Celia to protect him while he casts a powerful spell, and shoots the dragon down using a level 10 spell, but surprisingly it's still alive as it falls near him. The dragon breathes fire, knocking Celia to the side, but Blackus emerges from the shadows to buy time for Leonis to cast another spell. Blackus manages to hold off the dragon until Leonis finishes his casting, ultimately defeating the dragon. However, victory is short-lived as the ground begins to tremble, causing a crack to appear, and thick branches emerge, snatching Celia and swiftly pulling her down. Leonis hurries toward the crack, but additional branches emerge, blocking his path. The branches unite to create a monster that addresses Leonis by name, and he recognizes the monster as Arakiel. In a flashback to the year 434 of the Holy God calendar at the undead capital of Necrosa, we see Leonis returning to the castle after a battle, where he is greeted by Rosalia. It's clear that Leonis is gradually transforming into an undead, with half of his face turned into a skeleton. Leonis shares that he was victorious in battle against a formidable enemy, gifting Rosalia the spoils, but she asks him to keep them safe for her. Rosalia praises him, and Leonis mentions that he made a new friend named Blackus, a royal from the Shadow Kingdom, whom he supports in times of need due to an ongoing feud, in return for learning some spells from him. Rosalia expresses her desire to gift something to Leonis, and unveils the holy sword he possessed as a hero. She thinks it's unsuitable for him now, and transforms it into a demon sword before presenting it to him. She mentions that there are specific conditions for using it, noting that Leonis is already aware of them. In the present, Leonis and Arakiel confront each other. Leonis counters Arakiel's attempt to summon more voids by shooting him with fire magic. Arakiel retreats into the ground, while Leonis quickly checks for the Mark of Control to find that Celia is still alive, as the mark hasn't disappeared, and he vows that he will destroy Arakiel once and for all. Blackus appears from the shadow, and they both talk about how Arakiel is still alive, theorizing that Rosalia might also be alive. Leonis casts a spell, and assigns some of his soldiers to safeguard the children while he heads to rescue Celia. Blackus catches a faint voice nearby, and discovers the communication device dropped by Celia. Elphine calls out to Celia, urging her to join them in battling the Hydra-class void, as they are currently underpowered. Leonis responds, explaining that Celia has been kidnapped by the voids, and requests Elphine to utilize her holy sword's tracking abilities to locate Celia so he can rescue her. She warns him of the danger, suggesting he wait for the other platoons to arrive, but he argues that waiting isn't an option. Evaluating the situation through her holy sword, she chooses to trust him upon witnessing the extent of destruction he has caused. Elphine traces Celia's location, and discovers she's at the power plant, so Leonis and Blackus set out to rescue her. Meanwhile, Elphine narrowly avoids an attack from the Hydra, and Sherry intervenes to assist in killing the Hydra without drawing attention to herself, leaving everyone confused about what just happened. Leonis rides Blackus to the plant, and Blackus questions why he is trying to protect the humans, so Leonis admits that he has developed a liking for them. They enter the plant with a blast, and Leonis attacks Arakiel with a fire spell, but Arakiel is unfazed due to his regenerative abilities. Arakiel claims that he should have perished 1,000 years ago, so Leonis responds that he didn't die, but had only sealed his soul. Arakiel asserts that the world has changed and it will be rebuilt along with the empty star. Leonis wonders what he's talking about, but Arakiel ignores the question, and says that he has been chosen to be the bringer of the good news. Faces emerge from all the branches, leaving Leonis shocked as he realizes that Arakiel has assimilated with the priests of the Sacred Order. Meanwhile, Celia is tied up by the branches somewhere deep. As they begin to attack, they quickly realize that they are losing their mana too rapidly, suspecting that Arakiel is draining their mana. The situation becomes more challenging as all the assimilated faces join the attack, and Leonis realizes that the only way to prevail is to locate Celia and awaken her. During the fight, Leonis covers the earpiece with his blood, and begins searching for Celia. Powered by her desire to protect everyone, spikes suddenly shoot out from her blood, destroying some of the branches that are restraining her. Leonis deduces Celia's location and shoots the earpiece at her, piercing her and awakening her vampire powers. She escapes and reunites with Leonis, as Blackus disappears to recover. Celia inquires about what Leonis did, and he mentions he gave her some of his blood. They prepare to confront Arakiel, who begins casting multiple level 10 spells, capable of causing widespread destruction. In response, Leonis asks Celia to protect him while he takes on Arakiel. Celia defends against the monsters using her blood manipulation, while Leonis readies his next move, drawing out the demon sword. It's revealed that the condition to use the demon sword Dainsleif is that he must only use it while protecting his kingdom, so he declares the 7th Assault Garden as his kingdom, making all its citizens his subjects, and vows to protect them, while Blackus is surprised that the Dainsleif agrees with him. Arakiel claims changing the world's fate is impossible, but Leonis is determined to conquer destiny, as he attacks Arakiel using a powerful sword technique, finishing him off. New voids stop appearing, and the remaining ones gradually fade away. In the control room, everyone is in disbelief that they successfully repel the stampede. They speculate that the Void Lord might have been caught up in the power plant meltdown, leading to its demise. Meanwhile, Leonis and Celia land on the ground, receiving a warm welcome from the rest of their platoon as they celebrate the fact that everyone is safe. Back at the dorm, Leonis lies on his bed as Celia brings him sandwiches and a medal crafted by the kids from the Sunny Spot house. She hesitantly requests his blood, and Leonis offers her his finger. However, the other members walk in on them, so she tries to explain, but no one is convinced. After the attack on the 7th Assault Garden, restorations are being made to the city, and the source of the city's mana supply is temporarily changed to solar panels that convert sun rays into mana, because of the damage to the power plant. Leonis attempts to enter the vault, driven by a desire to learn more about the land he has declared as his kingdom. However, he is denied entry, and the artificial spirit at the gate informs him that he must first obtain permission from the Administration Bureau. Regina comes up to him from behind and teases him. She asks why he's there, and he lies, claiming he came to study the ancient languages to be able to read the inscriptions on the walls of the ruins where he was found. Regina aids him by gaining access to the vault just by looking at it. Once inside the vault, Leonis questions how she managed it, and she dismisses it as a magic trick, urging him to keep it a secret. They simultaneously receive a message from the Administration Bureau, inviting them and the rest of the platoon to a commendation ceremony hosted by Imperial Princess Alteria on the SS Hyperion. Leonis suggests that Regina proceed to the harbor, and he will join after finishing his research. But she decides not to go to the ceremony. In the conservation ward, a group of demi-humans led by a black lion named Bastia are plotting to raid the ceremony and kidnap the princess. Their intention is to use her to secure the release of their brethren imprisoned in the capital. However, their plans are interrupted by Sharnak, the witch of the ever-dark forest, who proposes a different approach, equipping them with demon swords so they can contend on equal terms with the holy swordsman. She proposes hijacking the ship, suggesting they take the princess captive. Additionally, she asks them to spare some of the swordsman's lives for sacrificial purposes, and the group agrees. Back at the harbor, we see the princess waving at the masses from the ship, and Regina looking at her from afar. Leonis meets up with the rest of the platoon, and gives Celia a keychain he had bought for her, which she appreciates. On their way to the ship, they are stopped by Fenris, a childhood friend of Celia, who irritates her by calling her platoon lazy, and they both start bickering before being separated by Elphine, but she congratulates Celia for awakening her holy sword as she leaves. Meanwhile, we see that the demi-humans have infiltrated the ship from the seaward side, as the security is lightest there, disguising themselves as the soldiers they just killed. On the deck, the other platoon members are enjoying their time together while Leonis reads the information from the vault, and realizes that history was intentionally erased by someone. Sherry appears before him, disclosing all the information she has gathered about the ship. Leonis expresses his appreciation and gives her a churro as a gift, but it leaves her disappointed. Celia approaches Leonis and persuades him to join her for a swimming lesson, but during the lesson, he regrets agreeing with her because Leonis finds it difficult to concentrate, distracted by her swimsuit. Meanwhile, the princess is on her way to deliver a speech with a few guards, but they are ambushed and killed by the demi-humans in disguise, who capture the princess, while her pet manages to escape. The deck is also taken over by the demi-humans. They unveil their demon swords, but as Fenris is about to attack them, they threaten to shoot the civilians, so they have no choice but to comply. An elderly elf of the demi-humans uses his apple detonation bomb to keep them in check while their belongings are confiscated. They declare the hijacking is to negotiate a trade with the government when military advisor Baldur questions their intentions. A beastman gets annoyed with Fenris's taunts and spills that they were granted their new powers by the goddess. Leonis whispers to Celia to split up as he goes to save the princess, silently disappearing into the ground with his shadow. In the control room, the princess under the captivity of Sharnak activates the engine using her elemental powers in exchange for safe passage for the civilians. Bastia orders her to set sail to the capital, but she notices a void nest in their path. We learn that Sharnak's true intentions are to sacrifice holy swordsmen tainted with void miasma, so Bastia attempts to stop her, but becomes engulfed by flames emerging from his demon sword, and Sharnak threatens his minion to follow her unless he wants to suffer the same fate. Regina arrives at the harbor and is confused to see the ship trying to set sail. The princess's pet finds her and asks Regina for help. With the pet, Regina quickly jumps aboard the escaping vessel and finds a lost Leonis in the corridors. We shockingly learn that the princess is Regina's younger sister as she asks Leonis for help. We learn Regina was born as the fourth daughter of the king, but was sentenced to death due to being born on the same night when a calamity star shone in the sky, because the kingdom thought it was a bad omen. Duke Crystalia pleaded to the king and spared her life under a guise. She was entrusted to the family of one of the duke's sons, and she grew up together as the maid of Celia. Regina reveals her real identity to Leonis. She tells him that she came to the harbor to observe her sister, but met her source spirit, her pet carbuncle. Leonis tells her that the princess has been kidnapped by a group of demi-humans who have taken over the ship, and they decide to go rescue her. On Celia's side, Elphine asks her to cause a distraction, so she can jam the detonator with a drone that she has hidden in the chandelier. Celia uses a fork nearby to prick her finger and use her vampire powers. Leonis and Regina make it to the control room, but are surprised to find it empty with the auto-steering of the ship locked. Leonis suggests calling out to the princess using her royalty powers, but Regina is reluctant about revealing her identity, so Leonis argues that the princess's safety is more important. She links up with the princess using carbuncle, but doesn't reveal her identity. The princess tells Regina her location and gives her the access code, asking her to stop the ship from colliding with the Void Reef. Leonis entrusts her with stopping the ship while he goes to save the princess. In the hostage room, the girls free themselves and attack the hijackers. Elphine jams the bombing signal with her drone as Celia splices the detonator with her blood. They disarm and deal with the hijackers, and they free the hostages, but are surprised when they look outside and find that the ship is in the middle of a void reef. As Merman-class voids jump aboard the ship, the girls prepare themselves. The battle commences, and they deal with the monsters, while the civilians are evacuated. Leonis contacts Celia, telling her to back up Regina in the control room and use the key he gave her. He says he will deal with the void, as he sees in the distance that the princess is about to be taken away in an aircraft. Celia saves Regina just as she gets surrounded by void monsters, while the other girls confront a brain eater, which is several times stronger than the Merman voids, but Sakuya insists on dealing with it alone. As the girls leave the room with the civilians, we see Sakuya use her demon sword to deal with the brain eater. After reaching the ship's core, Regina accesses the ship using code Star Calamity. Regina is glad to know that she's remembered by the princess in such a way, as she turns the ship around. Leonis binds the aircraft with his shadow just as it's about to leave the ship, and fireballs the void surrounding it, while bragging about punishing his kingdom's enemies as the Demon Lord. Fenris and Elphine are surrounded by voids when Sherry saves them in a flash without drawing attention to herself, leaving the crowd confused. We see a tired Sakuya in the other room after finishing off the Brain Eater. Confronting each other, Leonis reveals that he's the Demon Lord to Sharnak, but she doesn't believe him. He is easily able to stop her spells and binds her with his magic. Leonis interrogates her, and she reveals that her objective is to offer demon swords created by corrupting holy swordsmen to the goddess. Leonis asks for the name of the goddess, but just as she's about to reveal it, she's impaled by Zalgstar, a legendary blade known for slaying demon lords. We learn the blade is manifested into a void lord in current times, so Leonis casts a level 8 fire spell on it, but the blade absorbs it. It attacks Leonis using teleportation, and we see him struggle against it as Regina watches him through a camera. She activates the ship's weapons, which start shooting at the Void Lord and the enemies nearby. While being shot, Regina launches a missile at the Void Lord, and it manages to deal some damage. Another missile is launched, but it splits open in the air, revealing Celia inside, who joins the fight with Leonis. Leonis asks her to stall the normal voids, while he prepares to use his demon sword. Using a secret sword technique, Leonis attacks the Void Lord with a single slash, which sets off a huge burst of energy on the ship and eliminates the legendary blade. Later at the harbor, the princess thanks the platoon for their efforts, but we see that Leonis isn't present. The princess asks about him, and they tell her that he couldn't come because he was sick. When asked about the spirit medium who helped with the incident, they tell the princess that she couldn't come, but relays Regina's best wishes, which makes her happy. Leonis is exhausted with his whole body feeling sore. Regina visits him with food, thanking him for reuniting her with the princess, giving him a kiss. We see a group of soldiers pursuing the demi-humans as they hide underground, but the soldiers find them, telling them that they're under arrest. But the soldiers suddenly turn to stone, as a strange man appears, using a spell, which forces them to bow to him. He introduces himself as the Demon Lord, and he explains that the soldiers will soon return to normal, promising to give them a place of refuge if they swear allegiance to him. So they agree to join his cause, and he calls them the Devil Wolves, as he creates an underground labyrinth, telling them that the soldiers won't be able to see it, so they can use it to escape. He receives a call, and he realizes that someone is looking for him, so he takes his leave. We cut to Celia, as she sees crows surrounding the dorm, knowing it's because they're attracted to vampires. She thinks that Leonis might be able to do something about it, so she starts looking for him, but as she enters his room, she sees Sherry cleaning up, causing her to become confused. But Sherry suddenly disappears, so she thinks that she was just seeing things. She calls him, telling him that she's looking for him, but he hangs up, and she decides to take a shower. Meanwhile, the Demon Lord returns to his room, and he removes his disguise, revealing that he's actually Leonis. We learn that he's planning to rebuild his demon army, so he recruited the demi-humans, thinking they will serve him well. He enters Celia's room, and he sees her dressing up, so he immediately apologizes, but Regina sees them, thinking she's interrupting them. At the dining table, Regina mentions the rumor that their dorm is haunted, saying people are talking about a black dog and a ghost girl. Celia thinks she met the ghost, saying she saw a girl cleaning Leonis' room, but he tells her that she was just imagining things, knowing she was referring to Sherry. She wonders where he went, so he tells her that he was preparing for today's match, saying he doesn't want to let her down. Regina reveals that they will be fighting against Fenris's platoon, knowing it's going to be tough, but Celia is determined to win. The match begins, and Celia is able to destroy an enemy's flag. Elphine senses attackers approaching, telling Regina where to find them, and she snipes them at a distance. Sakuya charges alone, trying to create a diversion, while Celia destroys the enemy's flags, but she encounters frost wolves, and one of them bites her, causing her to fall. Fenris appears, saying she was able to see through their plan, so she made Sakuya chase her wolves, while her attackers target their flags. She thinks that her platoon is going to win after she defeats Celia, so she prepares for battle, telling her companion to deal with Leonis. She charges at Celia, managing to push her back, and she summons her wolves, using them to restrain Celia. Her companion tries to shoot Leonis, but he manages to block it, and he uses a spell to manipulate his shadow, using it to strangle her. Celia manages to break free, and she lunges at Fenris, managing to overpower her. Leonis recognizes Celia's strength, thinking she's destined to be his right-hand man, and they end up winning the match. Meanwhile, we see a mysterious man named Nephicus, as he offers demon swords to his goddess, saying it's almost time for her to awaken. An assault garden appears, and in the control room, everyone sees a picture of it, as Celia recognizes it as her hometown, the third assault garden, which vanished into void territory 6 years ago. We learn that it's sailing toward them, and it will reach them in 7 days. They are informed about a distress signal which was sent on 2 separate occasions, so it's possible that there are survivors in the city. Their superior orders them to investigate it and stop the assault garden, saying the mission must be completed in 72 hours. Elphine wonders why they were chosen for the mission, thinking it must be because Celia is from the third assault garden and is the last surviving member of the Crystallia family. Their superior sees this as a possibility, but she tells them that it was the Administration Bureau's idea, and she believes that their platoon can accomplish the task. Celia accepts the mission, and the next day, Leonis notes that he saw the Sacred Order's mark in the city, so he wants to find the person responsible. He orders Blackus to look after his kingdom while he's gone, and he tells Sherry to join him. They fly to the city, as Regina tells Leonis to rest on her lap, and she starts cleaning his ear. He recalls the moment he shared with Rosalia, where she told him that she doesn't have much time left. She said that she will reincarnate after 1,000 years, and he told her that he will look for her, saying he will never rest until he finds her. They arrive at the third assault garden, but a thick fog surrounds it, so they need to search the area on foot. Celia tells the girls to investigate the distress signal, while she and Leonis try to stop the assault garden, and Elphine orders her drone to follow Celia so that she can check up on her. Leonis summons Sherry, ordering her to look after the girls, because he considers them as his subjects. Celia recalls that the city was destroyed while she was hiding in the shelter, but her counter goes off, as they are attacked by an energy blast. She ends up getting pinned down, and Leonis sees a massive void approaching. We cut to a girl named Arlen, as she realizes that she has been sent 1,000 years into the future. She sees the city in ruins, thinking there are no humans left in the world, and we learn that she has been sent to intervene, because the goddess is about to be reborn. Nefekus approaches her, recognizing her as the great elf hero, and he knows that she's there to destroy the goddess's vessel, using her legendary sword Krozax. She knows that he's the guardian of the vessel, so she tries to attack him, but he suddenly disappears, and she realizes it was an illusion. He tells her to leave, and the massive void approaches her, threatening to kill her. We return to Celia, as the void prepares to attack her, but Leonis uses a spell, transporting her to an underground tunnel. The void fires an energy beam, but he blocks it with a shield, and he summons a fireball, but a barrier protects the void. He recognizes it as a holy protection spell, thinking the void is trying to mimic an angel, but he knows that it's no match for him. Meanwhile, the girls see explosions in the distance, as Elphine notes that her drone has been destroyed, so they decide to look for Celia. The void launches arrows, but Leonis deflects it, and he uses his level 8 gravity spell, trying to crush it to death, but it manages to overcome his magic. So he goes further, casting a level 9 spell, which summons a ball of light, and the void struggles against it. He follows up with a lightning spell, and he manages to land a direct hit, killing the void in an instant. He approaches Celia, telling her that he was able to defeat it, but he realizes that she's seriously injured, so he tells her to rest, knowing it will take time for her to recover. At that moment, they see ghosts approaching, and she sees the Duke's family crest, so she realizes that they are loyal to her father. The leader, William, reveals that he was the one who sent the distress signal, telling her that he wants to deliver a warning. He thinks that the 7th Assault Garden is in danger, because there is a new Void Lord in the city, and it has merged itself with the city's power plant to gather energy. He believes that it's about to awaken, so Celia thinks she should warn everyone, but she knows that no one will believe her, so she needs to find proof that there's a threat. Leonis reminds her that she still needs to recover from her injuries, and William tells her that he has arranged a car for her, offering to take her to the mansion. We learn that the ghosts are made of mana, so they can still drive the car because it's a magical device, but Leonis thinks that it's too slow. So he summons his horses, and uses them to pull the car, allowing them to travel faster. We return to the girls, as they encounter Arlen, thinking she's a survivor, but she threatens them with her sword. She thinks that they're working for Nefekus, so she tries to attack them, but Sakuya stops her, and they start to fight. Sakuya manages to defeat her, but decides to spare her life, knowing she's too injured to fight well. Celia receives a call from Elphine, asking her about the void she encountered, so she explains that it has already been dealt with. She tells Elphine that there's a Void Lord hiding in the city, saying it's tampering with the power plant, and this explains why the Assault Garden has been reactivated. She suggests checking it out, but Elphine explains that they found a survivor, and they are still treating her wounds, so she tells them to go to the mansion after they're done. Leonis gives her a present, telling her that it has the ability to convert mana into physical strength, but he warns her that it will quickly consume her mana. He stores it in her body, telling her to imagine herself wearing it when she wants to use it. She wonders why he gave it to her, so he tells her that he doesn't want her to get hurt, saying she should keep herself safe, and he gives her keychains, telling her that it brings good fortune. The girls treat Arlen's wounds, and she explains that she got hurt while fighting a void. She wonders what they're doing there, so Elphine explains that the city was destroyed 6 years ago, and they were sent to investigate how the Assault Garden was reactivated. Elphine asks her the same question, so she reveals that she's on a mission to defeat the goddess, and she's about to leave. But everyone hears her stomach growling, so Sakuya gives her food, as Elphine tells her that it's their duty to protect her. We see Nephicus as he prepares for the resurrection of the goddess, but a void approaches him, telling him that his angel has been killed. He thinks that a human defeated it, and he finds this hard to believe, thinking whoever did it is a threat, so he decides to intervene. Celia arrives at the mansion, and she enters their library, as she recalls that her father used to spend time there. The ghosts use magic, allowing her to see the library before it was destroyed. She recalls that her father told her a story about an evil demon lord, who made God angry, so he sent a hero to deal with him. Her father told her that the demon lord was ultimately defeated, but he isn't sure if that's the real ending of the story. Nephicus ruins her moment, and she wonders if he's a survivor, but he takes this as an insult, and he attacks her, knocking her out. In a flashback, we see Celia as her father tells her to evacuate to the shelter. She tells her father to go with her, but he explains that he has to stay and fight, reminding her about their family's duty to protect the people in the city. But he tells her that she needs to evacuate, because she still hasn't awakened her holy sword. He reminds her about the story of the demon lord, saying he's truly evil, but he will return during their most desperate hour, to defeat the voids for humanity. Back in the present, Nephicus thinks that he went overboard using a level 3 spell, but as the dust settles, he sees skeleton warriors, wondering who summoned them. They tell her that they will protect her, and he thinks that she's their master, preparing to obliterate them with a level 6 spell. But at that moment, Leonis arrives, casting a fire spell, which blows him away. Celia inquires about the skeletons, so Leonis tells her that they were summoned using the keychains he gave her. Nephicus manages to overcome the spell, telling Leonis that he isn't an ordinary human, so it isn't strong enough to kill him. He summons a fire blast, but Leonis counters with an ice spell, and he manages to overpower Nephicus. He's surprised by what Leonis can do, wondering who he is, and he proceeds to interrogate Nephicus. But at that moment, the ground starts shaking, and Nephicus laughs, knowing the goddess has awakened. He thinks that he's no longer needed, so he escapes through a portal, telling Leonis that the world is about to come to an end. Leonis recalls that he saw Nephicus during his past life, and he served as the retainer of the Lord of the Underworld. Leonis wonders what he's doing there, thinking the goddess could be Rosalia. The mark of the Sacred Order appears, as the goddess emerges, and William reveals that she's the Void Lord he mentioned. Angels surround her, and Leonis sees her face, realizing that she was created using the remains of the legendary hero Resurrection. Regina watches the event unfold, informing everyone about the goddess, so Elphine uses her drone to activate the ship and launch a distress signal, calling for reinforcements. The angels attack the platoon, as Elphine notes that it's impossible for them to retreat, so they won't survive unless they defeat the goddess. She explains that she will use her drone to look for a vehicle, so that they can close the distance and attack the goddess. Everyone fights the angels, destroying their bodies, but they instantly regenerate, so Elphine runs a scan, and she reveals that the head is their weak spot. So everyone aims for the head, allowing them to defeat the angels, as Leonis recalls that Resurrection had the power to restore life, which explains why the angels are able to regenerate. As the fight drags on, Leonis notices that the goddess is approaching them, and Elphine is able to find some vehicles, so she tells the others to cover her while she activates it. Leonis attacks with his fire, destroying multiple angels, as he notes that they might be able to defeat the goddess, but there are countless angels surrounding her, so he will need to attack her head-on. He uses a level 10 magic, which summons an enormous ball of light, incinerating her body as it completely engulfs her. But she instantly regenerates, and she prepares to cast a spell, so Leonis puts up a barrier. She starts raining fire, covering the area in flames, as Arlen watches from a distance, knowing the goddess used a level 11 spell called Nemesis, which is capable of causing widespread destruction. Leonis is able to block it, but he sees a swarm of angels approaching, so he tells Celia to protect him while he attacks the goddess. She uses her blood to create wings, and she uses it to defeat the angels, while the skeleton warriors assist her. Leonis lunges at the goddess, and he prepares to kill her using Dainsleif, but as he tries to deliver the finishing blow, the sword resonates as he hears Rosalia's voice. So he thinks that she could be inside the goddess, causing him to hesitate, but he reluctantly attacks, and she manages to block it, firing countless arrows in retaliation. He ends up getting hit, causing him to fall to the ground, and the goddess prepares to cast the Nemesis spell. but Celia uses the gift that Leonis gave her, and she launches a devastating attack, which sends the goddess crashing to the ground. She checks up on Leonis, as he tells her to escape, because he wants her to survive. He thinks that she's going to drink his blood and run away, but she gives him blood instead, unlocking the memories that Rosalia sealed away. He recalls the moment he spent with her, where she ordered him to kill her with his demon sword if she transforms into a monster. He told her that he can't do it, but she ordered him to find her in the future, saying Dainsleif will guide him to his fate. He thinks about what she said, and he wonders why he was able to attack the goddess using his demon sword. He thinks that it should have been impossible against Rosalia, because the sword is supposed to guide him to his fate, so he concludes that the goddess is an imposter. Leonis manages to recover, and Celia tears her dress, giving him a small portion of it, which he uses to close his wound. He tells her that he will defeat the goddess, ordering her to back him up, as he notes that he still has enough mana to unleash his ultimate skill. William tells him to use the ghosts as an energy source, and we learn that the souls of the citizens are still in the city, because Resurrection's influence is preventing them from leaving. He explains that they want to exact retribution, so Leonis agrees to use them, and he begins casting his spell, creating a ball of energy which absorbs the power of the souls. William wants to join them, but Leonis reveals that he has other plans, as he summons skeletons, and he allows William's group to possess them, telling them to protect him while he charges up his spell. Celia uses her blood to create weapons for them, and she leads them in battle. Meanwhile, Elphine manages to activate the vehicles, and they are about to leave, but Arlen tells them that she wants to fight the goddess. Regina reminds her that she's injured, but an angel approaches, and she kills it with a single hit. She explains that Krozax was created to slay demon lords, and Sakuya knows that she's willing to risk everything to accomplish her mission, so Elphine agrees to let her join. We return to Celia, as the skeletons eliminate the angels. Everyone fights to protect Leonis, as he gathers the power of the souls, but he realizes that it's going to take time. An angel charges at Celia, causing her to fall, as the skeletons tell her not to let her guard down, saying her powers are impressive, but she must not rely on it during the battle. She explains that her dress is taking a toll on her body, but she's determined to protect Leonis, so she refuses to back down. The ball of energy expands, as Leonis continues to gather the souls, but the goddess prepares to use her nemesis spell, and he knows that he needs more time to complete his magic. He tells everyone to retreat, as the goddess rains fire, burning everything in the area, but we see that everyone is able to escape, as he continues to charge up his spell. The girls ride the bikes, but they see the angels pursuing them, so Regina summons her weapon, using it to shoot them down. They see the goddess at a distance, and Arlen preserves her strength. They realize that the road has been destroyed, so they activate their thrusters, allowing them to jump over the gap. But a huge angel appears, and it prepares to attack them with an energy blast. But it suddenly gets pulled away, and it crashes into a building, killing it in an instant. We learn that Sherry protected them, thinking the angel could be a worthy opponent, but she's disappointed by how weak it is, realizing she's overpowered. Meanwhile, Leonis has completed his spell, but he realizes that the goddess is preparing to destroy everything, so he absorbs the energy into Dainsleif. She lifts a building, and she throws it at Leonis, but Celia cuts it in half and destroys it. He unleashes the full power of Dainsleif, but he sees a barrier protecting the goddess, realizing that it's a high-level protection spell. But at that moment, the girls approach the goddess, and Arlen prepares to strike with Krozax. They charge at her, as Regina and Sakuya attack with everything they have, but it doesn't do anything. But Arlen unleashes her ultimate skill, piercing through the barrier and injuring the goddess. But the girls crash to the ground, and they end up losing consciousness. Leonis sees his opening, as the goddess uses Rosalia's voice, but he knows that she's a fake, so he attacks her with his full power, unleashing a massive burst of energy, which completely destroys her body. With the goddess defeated, William and his men can finally rest in peace, but they tell her that they are grateful, because they were able to serve her during their final moments. Celia hears the girls calling out to her, so the skeleton warriors go into hiding, as she is reunited with Regina, and Sakuya tells her about Arlen, thinking she was the one who defeated the goddess. Reinforcements arrive, and Fenris is happy to see that everyone is still alive, ordering the medics to give them medical attention. As they fly to their base, Leonis realizes that Arlen destroyed the goddess's protection spell, but he wonders what she's doing there, knowing she's a hero. He asks about the book that Celia is reading, so she tells him that it's a story about a demon lord, and she reads it to him, as he realizes that he fits the description of the demon lord. but he notes that the story isn't accurate, so he thinks that it's just a fairy tale. They return to their dorm, where we see Leonis with Blackus and Sherry as they discuss Nethicus, knowing he was behind the goddess's awakening, so they think he should be dealt with. Sherry tells Leonis to be wary of Arlen, thinking her goal must be to eliminate him. Arlen regains consciousness, realizing that she still hasn't faded away, so she concludes that she hasn't completed her mission, so she escapes from the medical facility, determined to find her target. Sherry gets jealous at Leonis for giving Celia the dress, but as they argue, Celia overhears them and walks in. Leonis is embarrassed seeing her in a towel, and she begs to have some of his blood, saying that using the dress left her drained, so he reluctantly agrees, and she jumps onto him. We see Leonis thinking about Rosalia, determined to continue looking for her. He thinks about rebuilding his demon army and expanding his empire so that all humans will bow to him once again, but we see a girl trip over, spilling her popcorn all over him. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. In the beginning, after God created humanity, he created witches who he shared his power with, telling them to guide the humans in his place. The witches were dedicated in their role, but after thousands of years, the humans ended up despising them and hunting them down. We meet a witch named Morgan and her young apprentice Adonis. They appear to be lost in the desert as Morgan looks at her map. She struggles to find where they are, but Adonis just opens up his Google Maps. Morgan warns him against using his strange device, as we learn they are being hunted, but Adonis tells her that it's just a phone that he made himself. He explains that it runs on summoning magic, which replaces the need for radio waves, so even the army's technology can't track them. Adonis calls his master lame for still using a paper map in their day and age, but Morgan ends up teaching him a lesson. She tells him to stop sulking, but Adonis thinks about why they need to keep running. Morgan explains that it's just how she has to live, since people's attitudes towards witches have changed. All she can do is try to blend in the cities, saying she's more like a ninja rather than a witch. The two are looking for a place that's more tolerant towards witches so that they can live in peace. Morgan thinks they'll need to find a place with a school for Adonis, but Adonis says he just wants to keep learning from her. Morgan makes fun of him for liking older women, and the two continue on their way. But at that moment, they are found by a squad of soldiers. Adonis wants to handle them, but Morgan tells him he's still too inexperienced. She uses her ice magic, summoning her staff, and she prepares to fight. Meanwhile, in the Empire of Rhedia, we see the Emperor Goeth as he receives a report about their failed attempt at catching Morgan. The man is beaten for his incompetence, and the Emperor demands that they catch her at all costs. We see that Morgan has defeated all the men, and she tells Adonis that it's time to go, but Adonis wonders why she won't let him fight, thinking he could have handled the soldiers. He summons an enormous sword to prove his point, but Morgan tells him once again that he's still too inexperienced. However, Adonis thinks that the real reason is because he is a human himself, and she doesn't want him to kill his own kind. But he says he doesn't care about that, saying he just wants to be able to protect her. Morgan is touched by his words, and she acknowledges his feelings, but at that moment, one of the soldiers' devices activates, transmitting their location. The ground suddenly starts to shake, and the two are surrounded by a green light. They are shocked by what's going on, but they manage to stick together as they are teleported away. We see the Emperor addressing his people. He talks about how they used to rely on witches for knowledge and their protection, but he thinks it's absurd that they must always be inferior to them. Thanks to their countless developments in technology, they have become strong, so he declares that it's their time to eradicate the witches and establish themselves as the rulers of the world. The people cheer for him, and at that moment, Morgan and Adonis suddenly appear. They are shocked at their situation, and they recognize they are in front of the Emperor. Adonis rushes forward, as he tries to buy time for his master to run, but he ends up being restrained. Morgan tells them to let him go, as she threatens to kill everyone around. The Emperor is unfazed by her threat, so Morgan starts preparing her spell. She notes that she didn't want to fight them, because she wanted Adonis to have a home he could return to. She is about to activate her spell, but her magic suddenly shatters. She can't believe what's happening, and the Emperor tells her she has no idea of the level their science has advanced to. We see a device underground that is stopping her magic, and all the people laugh at her. Adonis tries to use his magic, but his power is also gone. The Emperor tells Morgan that the age of the witch is over as he rips her shirt and slaps her down. Adonis gets free and tries to help, but he just gets held down again. The emperor gets annoyed at his outburst, so he orders his men to kill him, but Morgan bows down to the emperor, begging him to spare Adonis since he's a human. She claims she kidnapped him and raised him as her slave, so there's no reason to kill him. She tells the emperor to just take her life, and Adonis can't believe what she's saying. Adonis keeps trying to use his magic, but it's no use. The emperor prepares to finish her off, and she thanks Adonis for everything, remembering how they first met and the time and the happiness that they shared together. She tells him she loves him, but the emperor shoots her, and she gets shredded by the firing squad. Adonis watches in horror as the emperor proceeds to display Morgan's head to the people. 10 years later, in one of the empire's detention facilities, we see two women fighting over a loaf of bread, but a girl named Doro breaks them up, offering to give them her share. The woman quickly snatches it, but Doro's friend Anna wonders if she'll be okay without food. Doro shows off how much energy she has, so she tells her not to worry. Anna can't believe Doro can still help others in their situation. She thinks about how even though the witches were exterminated and their technology keeps advancing, there has still been endless war. We learn that they are prisoners of war, but Doro tries to cheer her friend up with a puppet show. The guards suddenly come in, calling for a prisoner with the number 218. The girls know that the people who get called never come back, and we see they are looking for Anna. The guard demands them to come out, and Doro ends up stepping forward. Anna cries as she realizes what Doro did for her. Doro is taken to the warden, and we learn that the girls are being sold as slaves. She can't believe her fate, and the warden takes a selfie with her for his record. Doro suddenly bites his finger, and she manages to escape. We see that she also took his phone, and she tries to use it to open all the other cells, but the phone requires the warden's voice to work. She does her best impression of the warden, and it actually works, opening all of the cells. She tells everyone to run, and chaos ensues. She tries to find a way out, but ends up in a strange room. She's caught by one of the guards, but the containment unit in the middle also starts to unlock, revealing a person who was completely sealed. The man suddenly breaks free, and we see that it's Adonis. The guards start to panic seeing him get free, but he instantly jumps onto one of them, taking them out straight away. The other guard tries to shoot him, but he parries it and shoots the guard with his own gun. Doro gets scared as he approaches her. He shoots her, but he ends up setting her free. The guards panic as they try to control the situation, and we see that at the National Security Bureau, or NSB, the director Yamato receives a report about this. He orders his executive Ika to deal with it, and he happily agrees, but Yamato's sister Yuki isn't happy with his carefree attitude, reminding him that they are the cornerstone for maintaining order in the empire. But Yamato tells her it's okay, reminding her that there's a reason that he's an executive. Back at the prison, the warden panics as he finds that Adonis has gotten free. He wonders how Doro could have opened his chamber, because even his phone shouldn't have had the clearance to free him, and to make matters worse, it seems that Adonis's magic pen has also gone missing. We see Adonis outside, and he tries out his magic for the first time in 10 years. He shoots his gun, summoning an enormous bullet, which crashes into a building, and he prepares to wipe out everyone in the city. We see Ika cleaning things up at the prison, but he reports that he didn't find Adonis. He hears about the building that was attacked, so he prepares to head over, but he takes out the warden first. We see Doro also manages to get out, but seeing the damage Adonis has caused, she thinks it's her fault that she set him free. As he walks through the street, Adonis thinks about how his master wouldn't want him to get revenge, but he just can't let go of what happened. He summons a giant robot, and he starts going on a rampage. We see an officer receiving a report about this, but he just thinks he's being pranked. A car suddenly crashes through the wall, and the driver is shocked by what he saw. The officer thinks the man is high, but when he looks outside, he sees what's going on. We see Yamato and Yuki observing from a distance, and they confirm that Adonis is behind the attack. Yamato thinks they can just use their magic suppression device to stop him, but he's reminded that it hasn't been used in 10 years, so they aren't sure if it will still work properly. A state of emergency is declared, and we see tanks being deployed. They fire at the giant, but their shots seem to just miss. Adonis retaliates by smashing a building and throwing debris at his enemies. We learn that for a human to use magic, writing-style summoning magic is the only way. It works by understanding and systemizing the mechanisms of magic, and even while he was sealed away, he was able to practice it in his mind, so it didn't matter that he was sealed away for 10 years. He thinks that all the citizens who benefited from his master's death are just as guilty, so he plans on wiping out the whole country. He summons 2 Gatling guns, and he starts mowing everyone down, but despite getting his revenge, it doesn't feel quite right, and he starts to cry. Ika spots that Adonis is in the giant's hand, and the NSB deploys its jets. They bomb him with missiles, and we see the civilians getting caught in the crossfire. A massive building is about to fall onto a child, but Doro saves him just in time. She apologizes for everything that's happened, but she promises to make things right. Meanwhile at the palace, we see the Emperor in bed, and we learn he is suffering from an incurable illness. He wonders if it's a curse from God, but he doesn't repent for what he did, thinking that getting rid of the witches was a necessary thing to do for the sake of the human race. We see Adonis engaging against the soldiers on the ground, but his magic is just too strong, and he wipes them all out. He is about to finish off the last soldier, but Doro suddenly begs him to stop, thinking he has done enough, saying she doesn't want to see any more innocent people die. But this just pisses him off. He thinks about how he let her go because she was from a different country, but thinks he should just exterminate everyone. Doro tells him that Morgan wouldn't want to see him like this, but he tells her not to use his master's name. He wonders if the humans are just using her as a distraction, remembering how they like to fight dirty, but Doro reveals that she's a witch. Adonis doesn't believe that witches still exist, but she swears that it's true, saying some of them survived. Adonis wonders why they didn't try to save his master, but she says they were desperate to get away themselves. Adonis doesn't want to hear her apologies, but she mentions that they can bring her back to life. Adonis finds this hard to believe, but Doro says she infiltrated the country to find him, so that they could use his memories to bring his master back. Adonis prepares to finish her off, but looking at her face, he's reminded of his master. He breaks down in tears, and Doro tells him he's no longer alone, but she suddenly gets shot, and Ika can't believe that he missed Adonis. In a flashback, we see a burning village, where Doro watches as the soldiers eliminate the witches. The witch Mia reveals that the humans attacked without warning, and Doro wonders why they are doing this, because the witches didn't do anything to deserve this. Mia knows that they can't fight back, because a device is preventing them from using magic, so she tells Doro to escape, and inform their leader Ophelia about the incident. She advises Doro to follow the Star of Revelation, saying it will lead her to Ophelia's mansion. Mia tells her to run as fast as she can, so she dashes away, fleeing from the village, as the soldiers surround Mia. Back in the present, Doro is mortally wounded, but Adonis tells her to hold on, asking her how he can revive Morgan. She gives him a valuable piece of information, but the soldiers suddenly start firing at them, ending Doro's life. Adonis realizes that he's surrounded, and the soldiers open fire, but his magic stops the bullets in midair, and he sends them back at the soldiers. Ika tries to snipe Adonis, but he controls the bullet, making it enormous, before sending it back to Ika, killing him in an instant. Meanwhile, Yuki makes her way to the magic suppressing device, thinking about activating it to defeat Adonis, but the director Theta stops her, telling her that they can't activate the device. Yuki demands an explanation, so Theta calls Yamato, telling him that there is something strange about the device. She reveals that it releases certain particles that are linked to the development of a deadly disease, which kills the cells in the human body, explaining why the soldiers involved in the witch hunt suffered terrible fates. She goes on to explain that the natural environment has changed after the witches were eliminated, so the atmosphere that gets rid of the particles is now gone, making the device even deadlier than it was before. Theta reminds Yamato that the Emperor was also exposed to this device, explaining why he is now suffering from an incurable disease. Yamato observes Adonis as he continues his rampage, while Theta tells Yuki to leave, but she rushes to the device instead, knowing that Adonis is a threat to everyone. Theta orders everyone to retreat, as she chases after Yuki, telling her not to activate it, but she still proceeds to do so. Adonis suddenly drops his pen, and Yamato receives a call from Theta, who tells him that everything is fine, because she has already disabled the device. He is worried about Yuki, but Theta tells him to deal with Adonis, because they can't defeat him if he starts using magic again, reminding him that they can't lose, because the Empire is supposed to be invincible. So he orders the soldiers to charge, as Adonis tries to retrieve his pen. The soldiers prepare to fire, but a girl rushes forward, as a nearby building collapses, obstructing their line of vision. The girl prepares to execute Adonis, who embraces his fate, happy that he will finally be with Morgan again. She manages to behead him, and as the dust settles, she presents his head to the soldiers, who are happy that the threat has finally been dealt with. Everyone celebrates the victory, but Yamato tells them that it's too early to celebrate because they still need to collect Adonis's body and rescue the victims in the area. He looks at the soldier who killed Adonis, as an official informs him that she is a new recruit, saying he will look into her background, but Yamato tells him not to bother, ordering him to look for Yuki instead. Thea and Yuki receive medical attention as the Emperor delivers a speech, telling everyone that Adonis caused the disaster, leading to the deaths of many. He reveals that they don't know how Adonis can use magic, because he is just a human being, and the Emperor feels guilty for allowing him to live for so long. But the Emperor tells everyone not to worry, saying their empire is the greatest because it has acquired the power of science, along with the best soldiers in the world. We see a girl named Eri, who has just finished watching the Emperor's speech. The instructor informs everyone that students died because of the incident, but they will still push through with the exams. One of the students wonders why Adonis sided with the witches despite being a human, and the instructor thinks that he must have been brainwashed. After class, Eri is approached by another girl, who says she knows what happened, but Eri tells her that it was a normal reaction to the situation. Eri visits the place where the incident occurred, and she pays respect to the dead, revealing that she is angry at the government for not protecting its citizens. She apologizes to her boyfriend, thinking he must really hate her, because she had the chance to save him when Adonis went on a rampage. But when she saw the giant robot, she immediately ran away, and he ended up getting crushed. She hates herself for abandoning him, but she looks at the pictures of Adonis, revealing that she finds him attractive. But at that moment, Eri realizes that the Deputy Director Oz is watching her. She knows that he is working with the government, but he tells her not to worry because he won't report her. However, after she leaves, he calls his subordinate Charmy, telling her that Eri has been influenced by the terrorists, so they need to arrest her for treason. A soldier informs him that they've completed the final check in the disaster area, and as they are about to head back, Charmy informs him that an unbelievable analysis came in, revealing that Adonis's body was fake, so he might still be alive. We see Adonis in great pain as he gets treated by some witches. They think the transfer was too much for a human to handle, but Ophelia appears and calms his mind with her magic. He remembers what happened, and we see that the soldier created a copy of him, revealing that she is actually Doro's friend Anna. Adonis questions who she is, but she tells him that helping him escape is the top priority. He is suddenly sealed into a ball and he is flown away. Adonis falls to the ground, but Ophelia embraces him, thanking him for fighting for them. Adonis demands to know where he is, and Ophelia reveals he is in the nation of witches. The next day, he is shown around the place, and we see the witches living peaceful lives. He is taken to see Ophelia, and Adonis wants to walk by himself, but Ophelia tells him his body was put under great stress to get there. He is greeted as Morgan's apprentice, but Adonis wonders how she knew his master. Ophelia reveals that every witch in their nation knows her, because she was one of the strongest and most kind witches. But Ophelia reveals she was exiled from the nation, and Adonis realizes it was because she took a human as her apprentice. Ophelia explains that their magic is seen as their gift from God, so they are forbidden from sharing it with humans. Adonis tells her to get to her point, and Ophelia reveals his quill. Adonis gets up, immediately demanding that she give it back to him. Ophelia comments on its craftsmanship, knowing that only Morgan could have made such an item, but she gives it back to him. Adonis wonders if it's really possible to bring back his master, and Ophelia tells him that witches don't lie. Adonis is relieved to hear this, but he suddenly sees the earth above him. He wonders what's going on, and we learn that the witches established their nation on the moon 10 years ago. Adonis is shown the sacred Mito tree, which is how witches are born or regenerated. Ophelia explains that it's the last surviving tree that they brought from Earth, before the humans destroyed the rest. Adonis is intrigued as he observes one of the fruits, thinking Morgan could be inside, but Ophelia tells him it will require his help to become Morgan. She explains that magic is the act of giving their thoughts a physical form, and his writing style summoning magic is the very essence of this, allowing him to be able to give a form to anything he can think of. She tells him that he can seal the memories of his master into the fruit, and it will be the key to her resurrection. Ophelia tells him to think about it, and call her when he's ready. We see Adonis thinking about his master, when Anna suddenly approaches him. Adonis wonders what she wants, but Anna cries over losing Doro just to save him. Adonis says it's not his problem, and he starts walking away. Anna thinks he is selfish, only thinking about resurrecting his master, and she wonders why they risk their lives for someone like him, but Adonis knows the truth, knowing that the witches plan on using him and his master. Anna is shocked hearing this, but Adonis tells her not to play dumb, revealing that in Doro's final moments, she warned him about the witches' intentions. He notes that witches are able to live in extreme environments without any protective gear, and the fact that they created such a grand facility was so they could have a cage to keep humans. He knows they plan on kidnapping slaves and children using their transfer ability and teaching them the writing style magic so they can fight for the witches. He knows that the witches are on the verge of extinction, so they must be looking for ways to get more soldiers. Only Morgan is able to make the quills, so they are trying to resurrect her so she can make more. Anna wonders what he plans to do, begging him to help them. Adonis notes that he plans on resurrecting his master regardless, but decides he will follow her will, so if she rejects them, he would consider the witches as enemies. The time of the ritual arrives, and Adonis uses his magic to send his memories into the fruit. He recalls the time he spent with her, thinking about how much he loves her. There's a blinding light as the ritual completes, but it's Doro who emerges from the fruit. We learn that Adonis decided not to resurrect Morgan because he didn't want her to suffer, thinking the world isn't a place for someone as good as her. Doro wakes up, realizing she is in the nation of witches, and she wonders what she's doing there. Adonis gives her clothes, telling her to wear it, as he tells her that she saved his life, so he wanted to repay the favor. Ophelia condemns his action, reminding him that they went out of their way to help him, so she wonders why he ruined all of their efforts. She thinks that Doro manipulated him into doing this, but he tells Ophelia that he made the decision himself. She concludes that he isn't on their side, but at that moment, she realizes that they are surrounded by portals, as Adonis reveals that he still has the human's tracking device on him. He destroys it, causing an explosion, which burns the sacred tree. Yamato appears, and the soldiers surround the witches, as a witch tries to save the tree, but a soldier executes her. The witches realize that they're in danger, so one of them uses enhancement magic, equipping the witches with a suit of armor. Adonis confronts Yamato, dodging his attack and using magic to steal his gun. Adonis shoots him, knocking him down, so he deploys his defensive gear, allowing him to survive, as Adonis continues to shoot him. But Doro stops Adonis, so he wonders what she wants. The witches use their magic, killing the soldiers, and Ophelia casts her ultimate spell, sending the soldiers to the skies. They try to shoot her, but the bullets avoid her, as the soldiers are gathered in one spot, where they are instantly crushed to death. She thinks they have secured victory, but she realizes that more soldiers have arrived, thinking the humans are trying to outnumber them. We see the human officials watching the battle in the conference room, and we learn that Theta only has months left to live, because she was exposed to the magic suppressing device. Director Dynasma questions her, wondering how the witches survived, so she shows him a picture, which reveals that the witches captured a human satellite to reach the moon. She reveals that she just discovered this, explaining that the structure built on the moon was hidden by magical camouflage. But Dynasma admonishes her, telling her that her agency receives a massive budget from the government, so they shouldn't allow something like this to happen. He reminds her that the people already believe that the war with the witches is over, so her failure could cost more than just her life. But Director Shiro tells him not to worry, saying they can solve the problem. We see Yuki in a stasis chamber, as Yamato remembers the time they spent together. He recalls how Theta told him to let her agency handle Yuki, promising that she will be saved, but he starts to fear the worst. We return to the battle, as he blames Adonis for what happened to Yuki. He gets back up, and he punches Adonis, knocking him down. Yamato goes berserk, and he charges up for a powerful attack, as he thinks about how Adonis ruined his dream to live a peaceful life with Yuki. He unleashes his ultimate skill, which covers the entire area, instantly slicing the witches in half, including Ophelia, but Adonis manages to dodge it. Doro has also been sliced in half, but Anna uses duplication magic to save her, telling her how much she loves her, but we see that Anna has also been killed. So Doro mourns her death, wishing for all the violence to stop. Adonis continues his battle with Yamato, covering his arms with armor, and using it to deliver a devastating blow, which shatters Yamato's sword, and pierces through his chest. Adonis is about to finish him off, but he blocks it, using his armor to heal his body and repair his sword. He manages to push Adonis back, as the witches despair, thinking they're about to go extinct, because the sacred tree has been destroyed, so no witches will ever be born again. They know that they are the last witches in the world, so they are determined to survive, but the soldiers continue to pursue them. Yamato charges in, and he manages to impale Adonis, but he realizes that Adonis is holding onto his pen as the massive sword Caliban appears, cutting off Yamato's arm. He uses his armor to stop the bleeding, as Adonis observes that they have the same look in their eyes, thinking Yamato also wants revenge. The soldiers exterminate the witches, as Yamato prepares to kill Adonis, telling him to die with the witches. But Doro orders Yamato to stop, and he realizes that he can't move his body. We learn that Doro has the power of love, which allows her to manipulate men to do her bidding. Yamato knows that the spell is dangerous, so he tries to attack her, but he struggles to move his body. Adonis tells her to kill Yamato, but she implores him to stop the fighting instead, saying she will dispel her magic if he promises to leave them alone. Adonis becomes angry, reminding her that Yamato killed Anna, and he tells her that they can't spare the soldiers because they have killed so many witches. Yamato manages to resist her spell, and he starts pummeling her, telling her that witches bring chaos to the world, so they can't be allowed to exist. He reminds her that Adonis went on a rampage, leading to the deaths of countless people, and he blames the witches for this, knowing this wouldn't have happened if Adonis didn't learn magic. But she tells him that he has also killed countless people, reminding him about the witches he killed during his missions. She wonders why he's doing this, reminding him that witches and humans used to be friends, and she tries to convince him to end the conflict. She uses her spell, and he tries to overcome it, but he ultimately fails, saying he will order his forces to retreat, but Adonis kills him, slicing off his head. Adonis thinks that Doro's magic is useful, so he invites her to join him in his quest to destroy humanity. We cut to the royal palace, where the emperor receives a report that Yamato is winning against the witches. He learns that Adonis is also in the battle, and he celebrates, saying they must kill everyone on the moon. He tells his wife to praise him because he has finally killed the witches, and everyone applauds him, but the soldier thinks that he has gone mad. The soldier notices that the emperor is acting strange, and his wife orders him to die, so he starts walking away, saying he's willing to die to make his wife happy. He climbs the wall, and the soldier tells him to stop, but he reminds the soldier that he's the emperor, saying he was able to make the empire the strongest in the world. He says that he did everything because he loves his wife, and he falls off the building as his wife dispels her love magic. We see that he has been impaled, and the soldier calls for backup, realizing she's a witch, but she uses her spell on him, so he tells the others that the emperor just fell to his death. Shiro is working for her, and she tells him to get rid of women, because her magic doesn't work on them. He tells her that she will rule the world, but she reveals that she doesn't care about that. We learn she is the witch Gretch, who has abandoned her notions of hypocrisy, earning her title as the Witch of the Unknown. We return to the moon, where Doro refuses to join Adonis. He tells her not to dispel her magic, as he makes his way to the soldiers who can't move. He slaughters all of them, as she thinks about stopping him using her magic, and he dares her to do it, but she doesn't do anything. The soldiers beg for their lives, and Doro tells him that killing them won't change anything, saying it will only inspire other people to seek revenge. She tells him that she doesn't want to see people die anymore, begging him to stop, but he kills the soldiers anyway. He makes his way to Yamato's head, and he uses voice imitation magic. At the headquarters, we see the people panicking because the cameras on the moon have been destroyed, so they can't see anything. They start to fear the worst, but they receive a call from Yamato, telling them that they have won the battle and the witches on the moon have been wiped out. But he tells them that the battle was fierce, so he lost all of his men, saying he's the only survivor. Theta knows that Yamato isn't the one talking to them, and we see Adonis wearing Yamato's face as he orders them to return him to Earth. Ophelia realizes that this is what he wanted from the start, and he's willing to sacrifice the witches to achieve his goal. He tells Doro to join him, but she slaps him, saying Morgan would be ashamed to see what he has become. They are about to be teleported to Earth, as Ophelia curses Adonis, hoping God would punish him for his crimes. The people in the headquarters think that they are about to see Yamato, but Theta knows the truth, and she is determined to avenge him. So she readies her men, and after the teleport sequence, she orders them to fire. But they realize that Adonis didn't appear at their location because the transfer coordinates were changed. We see Adonis and Doro in the middle of a desert, and we learn that before they were teleported away, Adonis was able to change the transfer coordinates. He is determined to destroy the Empire, saying they should start by gathering information and supplies. But Doro refuses to go with him, saying she wants to return to the moon. He tells her that the witches are dead, and he uses a spell to display her memories, reminding her that she tried to reconcile with the soldiers who killed the witches. He tells her that she's crazy, but she explains that she always wanted to see him because he's a human trained by a witch, so she thought that he could serve as the bridge between the humans and witches. She wonders how far he'll go for his revenge, telling him that the humans will never forgive him, so the fighting will never end. But he refuses to listen to her, saying Morgan's life is more precious than all of humanity, so he is willing to kill everyone to avenge her. She reminds him that he got the witches killed, but he doesn't care, saying he summoned the humans to the moon so that he can return to Earth, and the witches prove to be useful in the end. Doro becomes upset, telling him not to disparage the witches, but he tells her not to be a hypocrite, reminding her that she is willing to forgive the people who killed her friends. She believes that revenge won't solve anything, but he doesn't care, telling her that he has nothing to lose. He starts walking away, but she lunges at him, telling him that he still has the life that Morgan protected, so he shouldn't let the world change him. She tells him that if he continues with his revenge, he might end up like the humans he wants to kill, but he tells her that she doesn't get it, saying revenge is the proof that Morgan lived with him, and he is afraid that she will be forgotten if he stops seeking revenge. Doro starts to understand him, but she realizes that he is mortally wounded, and we see that they have been spotted by a group of bikers. Their leader, Punch, decides to take them in, and after some time, Adonis wakes up in a room. He recalls that before he lost consciousness, Doro begged the bikers to save him, so he concludes that he is at their hideout. Punch invites him for a drink, saying it will help him recover, but he refuses to drink with him. He asks Punch about Doro, so he shows Adonis around the place, revealing that they're in the wastelands, where the people who have escaped from the kingdom are living their lives as vagrants. He hears Doro screaming as a crowd gathers around her, and Punch explains that they don't usually see young women, so Adonis thinks she's in trouble. He rushes to her location, but he realizes that she's just riding a bike, and she is struggling to control it. She sees Adonis, and she gives him a symbol of her apology, saying she is sorry for all the things she said, but he just throws them away. That evening, the men drink together, and Doro serves them, allowing them to enjoy the party. Adonis watches them from a distance, as a group of men wonder if she is his girlfriend. She denies this, saying they are just traveling the world, but the men laugh at her, because they don't believe her. They suddenly collapse, and Adonis reveals that he put something in their drinks. Doro wonders if he poisoned them, but he tells her that he just modified the alcohol's formula to turn it into a tranquilizer, wondering why she didn't notice this, because she's supposed to be a witch. He pulls out a gun, but she tells him not to kill the men, because they are good people, reminding him that they are the ones who saved him. He tells her that he doesn't care, but he decides not to kill them, because they're not worth killing. He tells her that he doesn't need her help, thinking they are incompatible because of her attitude. But she tells him that she's trying to blend in with the humans, so she's trying to pretend that she's okay, but she still hasn't recovered from what happened. However, he tells her not to end up like him, and he starts walking away. After some time, Punch talks to her, thinking Adonis is a bad person, but she recalls that Adonis didn't want her to end up like him, so she thinks that he is actually a kind person. Punch reveals that he knows Adonis, revealing that he was about to die in the desert, when Morgan used ice magic and gave him water to drink. He says that man can achieve true happiness when he finds something worth fighting for, telling Doro that she may be right about revenge, but the world is so relative that it's hard to tell right from wrong. She says that she doesn't want Adonis to die, so Punch tells her to go after him. While walking in the desert, Adonis sees a bike approaching, thinking he's being pursued, so he prepares for battle. But he realizes that it's just Doro, and she dashes past him, telling him that she has decided to join him. Adonis wonders why she's not stopping, and it turns out that she doesn't know how to hit the brakes, so she starts screaming for help, as Adonis runs after her, thinking she might get herself killed. Back in the city, a memorial is held for the Emperor, noting all of his accomplishments throughout his reign. The people watch on eagerly as the next ruler of the empire is announced, and it's none other than the Queen. She puts on a show for the people, and as she sings for them, we see them all being enchanted by her power. Meanwhile, in a distant place, we see a group of people as they watch the broadcast, but they are aware of her identity as the witch Gretch, finding her actions of exterminating her own people and becoming queen, even crazier than predicted. Everyone applauds her after her performance, and we see Shiro wishing he could have been there, but notes that his mission comes first. He has lost the signal tracking Adonis, so he prepares to find him the old-fashioned way. We see Adonis riding with Doro, as he wonders what she plans to do, because he has no intention to give up on his revenge. Doro notes that there are good people in the world, like Punch and his friends, so she hopes he can spare them. However, Adonis refuses, warning her not to get in his way. They arrive at a small town called Sandland, but find that it's completely abandoned. Adonis prepares to look around, telling Doro to stay behind, but she begs to go with him. He asks about her bag, and she reveals it contains supplies from Punch, like food, bandages and medicine. She takes out the head of a snowman, pushing the button on its head, and it creates an instant tent, but Adonis isn't impressed and continues on his way. As they look around, Adonis sees no signs of a struggle, so he wonders where everyone went. They arrive at the police station, but when they look inside, Doro is scared by a rat, causing a scene as she steps into the floor. Adonis warns her not to be so noisy, but a man suddenly appears behind her, asking if she needs help. Doro becomes terrified thinking it's a ghost, but Adonis recognizes it as just a hologram. They continue exploring, and they come across the jail cells. They hear a song coming from one of them, and they find a man playing the guitar. Doro calls out to get his attention, and the man is shocked to see another person in the town. They explain they are just travelers, and Adonis wonders why he's the only person around. The man thinks it's because he's a prisoner, and Adonis decides to just leave him alone, saying they have no business there. But the man notes that that's exactly what everyone in the town said before they all left, saying that after the witches were wiped out and people gained technology, the town was deemed too old-fashioned. Adonis asks if there's a metropolis nearby, and the man tells him that the city of Mamuta is to the east. Adonis prepares to head on his way, but Doro worries about the man starving. She wants to free him, but Adonis says it's none of their business. She suggests giving him the food they got from Punch, but Adonis notes that the cell wasn't even locked, and the man is there with his wife to have peace. He assures his wife that they are gone, and we learn she was locked up because she was accused of being a witch. He couldn't protect her at the time, but he promises to stay with her. Adonis thinks they should leave them in peace, and he heads off for Mamuta. But when they arrive, Doro notes that it appears to be abandoned. They see a woman in the middle of the road, and Doro approaches her, wondering if she's okay. But Adonis tells her to be careful, saying the woman is not human. We learn that she's an android, and she scans Doro's body, realizing she isn't a good source of pleasure. But the android is desperate for gratification, so she lunges at Doro. But Adonis shoots her, recognizing her as a Madoa, a doll created to satisfy men. He hears voices coming from a building, realizing there are more Madoas, so he prepares to take them on, telling Doro to wait for him, as he warns her not to act without his permission. But as she looks around the area, she sees a pile of Madoas, causing her to freak out. He enters the building, using enlightened magic to illuminate the corridor, but we see that she has decided to follow him, thinking he shouldn't mind if he sees her, because he's not really a bad person. But she recalls that he abandoned her in the past, and he even attacked her, so she starts to question her decision. At that moment, he approaches her, threatening to kill her, because he thinks she isn't taking him seriously, but she immediately apologizes, telling him that it would be safer for them to stick together, and he sees her point, so he allows her to go with him. They hear the sound coming from the door, and he notes that it smells like death. They enter the room, and they see Madoas making love to a corpse, as Adonis notes that they were made in the Empire. They tell him that they wanted someone to love them, and they wonder why they were programmed to pleasure men, saying they are sick of the lives they're living. They beg him to put them out of their misery, so he shoots them dead, and they thank him for setting them free. He walks around Mamuta, and he sees chains on the ground, recognizing it as the restraints used on the slaves of the Empire. He thinks that the men needed money to buy the Madoas from the Empire, so they offered their wives and daughters in exchange, turning them into slaves. Because of this, Mamuta ran out of women, and the men couldn't produce the next generation, causing the state to fall into ruin. He approaches the pile of Madoas, and he configures a device, revealing that he is planning to use EMP to put them to rest. Doro thinks he would be doing them a favor, wondering if they will experience pain. But he explains that they will just feel a small shock, as he uses his magic on the device, creating a sound wave, which gives them a peaceful death. Meanwhile, we see ninjas watching Adonis, recognizing him as Morgan's apprentice, and they know about his exploits, knowing he's an enemy of the Empire. We learn they are working for another emperor named Sura, and their goal is to capture him, but as they are about to approach him, Shiro blocks their path, so they try to take him down. We cut to Doro, as she buries the Madoas, but Adonis tells her that her rituals won't benefit them, saying she should honor them by making the humans suffer. He sees a grave for the witches on the moon, and Doro says they died because of him, so he wonders why she chose to travel with him. But she explains that she doesn't blame him, knowing the witches were trying to use him to resurrect Morgan, so she thinks that they were the ones who betrayed him. Adonis and Doro are about to return to their bike, but they are surprised to see Shiro waiting for them. He destroys the bike, and we see that he has killed the ninjas, as he tells Adonis that he's there to eliminate him. We learn that his assistant Charmy was able to track their coordinates with the help of the intelligence team. Adonis inquires about the ninjas, so Shiro tells him that he doesn't know them, and he starts playing with their heads. Doro tells him to stop, but he grabs onto her, and Adonis pulls her away, trying to use magic, but before he could finish casting his spell, Shiro punches him away. He tries to shoot Shiro, but he manages to dodge the bullets as he charges at Adonis. Adonis thinks he must be a cyborg, because his reaction speed is insane. Adonis tries firing a giant bullet, but Shiro still manages to evade it, and he charges at Adonis, so Doro uses her love spell, telling him to stop. Adonis thinks it's working, but Shiro laughs, saying he is surprised to see her magic, because it's similar to the one the Empress is using. He starts moving freely, as Doro wonders why her magic isn't working, and he removes his shirt, revealing that he's already under the Empress's spell. He reveals his secret weapon, and he releases robotic hands, as Adonis tells Doro to stand back, because her magic doesn't work on him, saying she won't be able to do anything during the fight. But he remembers the Emperor, who told Morgan that witches are nothing without their magic, so Adonis thinks that he is being cruel. But Doro is determined to help him, saying she wants to join him until the end. He is impressed by her resolve, so he uses his magic, creating a sword for her to use, and giving himself some armor. He explains that the sword is surrounded by magical energy, and it can pierce through steel, but she will need to learn basic sword skills to use it effectively. Shiro commands the hands to attack, and they surround Adonis and Doro, but Adonis is able to destroy them, as he notes that they lack power, but their numbers are limitless. He sees Doro struggling, and she is about to get overwhelmed, but he protects her, as Shiro removes his limiter, increasing the power of his hands. They try to attack Adonis, but he casts a spell, summoning magical tentacles to destroy them. The tentacles transform into a cannonball, and it makes its way to Shiro, as Charmy advises him to avoid it, thinking it's a threat to him, but he recalls his robotic hands, allowing him to unleash his full power. He struggles against the cannonball, but he goes all out, and he manages to stop it. But at that moment, Adonis launches a surprise attack, so he summons his robotic hands, using them to stop Adonis. But Doro charges in, and Shiro realizes that he's completely defenseless. She sees an opening, but she doesn't want to kill him, so she aims for his legs, and he survives the attack, telling her that she should have aimed for his heart. Adonis rushes in, but he punches them away, causing Doro to cough up blood. He tells her that she almost had him, but Adonis uses magic to restrain him, trying to strangle him to death. But Shiro fights back with his hands, and Adonis struggles to maintain his spell, knowing it will vanish if he stops riding. Doro realizes that she needs to kill Shiro to save Adonis, but a hand pulls her away, and Adonis ends up getting overwhelmed. Shiro breaks free, and he prepares to gouge Doro's eyes out, as Adonis begs him to stop. Doro recalls the moments she spent with Adonis, realizing that she will never see him again. Shiro proceeds to blind her, and Adonis recalls how he wasn't able to do anything when Morgan was killed. He is determined to save her, and he releases his armor, allowing him to break free. He rushes to get to her, but Shiro removes her eyes, and she falls to the ground. She tells Adonis that she can't see anything, and he notices that she's bleeding profusely, so he's afraid that she will run out of blood. Shiro starts playing with her eyes, as Adonis tells him to give them back, but he crushes them instead. Adonis becomes enraged, preparing to cast a spell, but Shiro attacks him, kicking his pen away. He grabs onto Shiro, smashing him into the wall, and he retrieves his pen, as Shiro orders his arms to attack. Adonis uses a reversal spell, which stops the arms, and causing them to return to Shiro, but he takes to the sky, as they are destroyed in an explosion. He notices that Adonis has disappeared, and we see him hiding with Doro, using a robotic arm to cauterize her wound. He manages to stop the bleeding, as she thanks him for saving her, saying she wants to live a peaceful life, but she knows that it's impossible, because the Empire is hunting them down. She reminds him of Morgan, and he wonders why he can't protect the people close to him. We see Shiro looking for Adonis, and he appears with his giant robot, trying to attack Shiro, but he manages to escape. Adonis tells him to call his empress, threatening to remove her eyes, and this makes him upset, so he charges at Adonis, and they start fighting. But the giant robot crumbles, and Adonis gets pushed back. Shiro pursues him, but he summons his armor, and he tries to fight back, but Shiro takes him down. He is about to cast a spell, but Shiro kicks him away, telling him that it takes too long for him to write a spell, and this makes him vulnerable to attacks. Shiro gathers his arms, and they take the form of a massive fist, which he uses to attack Adonis. We cut to Doro, as she looks for Adonis, but she can't see anything. She hears him calling out to her, so she thinks that he won the fight, but she realizes that Shiro was just imitating his voice. He tells her to escape, but Shiro throws him away, and gives him a savage beatdown. She hears him struggling, so she begs Shiro to stop, but he restrains her, and he starts beating her up. He reveals that she reminds him of the Empress, so he thinks about changing her face. We learn that when Shiro met the Empress, he immediately knew that they were made for each other, and he willingly became her love slave. He tells Doro that the world doesn't need her, seeing her as a copy of the Empress, and he threatens to kill her, saying he will do the same for Adonis. But she begs him to spare Adonis, saying he only went on a rampage because the witches were hunted down, and she wanted to end the war, but she's starting to understand why he's hungry for revenge. Shiro proceeds to assault her, telling her that he doesn't care what she says, because he just wants to kill Adonis. But Adonis tells her to use the love magic on him, saying he is willing to become her puppet, because he thinks that it's the only way for them to win. She reluctantly agrees to this, and she uses her magic, causing a pillar of light to appear, as Adonis receives a power-up. He attacks Shiro, pushing him back, and we see that his hand is broken, but he keeps moving despite his injuries. In a flashback, we learn that the witches shun Doro, because they look down on her ability, saying the ability to control men is disgusting. Ophelia advises her to keep her magic a secret, thinking it will destroy the reputation of witches, and because of this, she's always holding back, not wanting to use her love spell. We return to the present, as Adonis tells her that he finally understands her, saying she cares too much about everything. But he tells her not to worry about him, because he will never fall in love with her. So she uses her magic, turning him into her puppet, as she tells him that he's invincible, because his body has broken the limits, and his magic power can no longer be measured. Shiro senses his powers, seeing him as a major threat, so he decides to retreat, but Adonis summons a quill blade, and he manages to land a hit, as he tells Doro that he is willing to risk his life to protect her. Shiro jumps on his hands to get away, but Adonis catches up to him, grabbing his head and throwing him through multiple buildings. Shiro can't believe he's so strong, and Adonis appears next to him, crushing his arm and smashing him into the ground. Shiro begs for mercy, but Adonis uses his magic, opening a portal up in the sky. Doro notices that it's snowing, and Adonis reveals it's a spell that Morgan once used. We learn he promised he would only use it for protecting another person, and Shiro tries to stop him, shooting all of his hands to attack, but Adonis freezes them all in an instant, and blows them all away. Shiro tells Doro to stop Adonis, because he won't survive his own magic, but she uses her powers of suggestion to warm him up. Shiro rushes at them, but Adonis completes his spell, activating his Absolute Zero, which freezes the whole area, and Shiro becomes completely frozen. Together with Doro's powers, the spell expands, and we see that even in the desert, Punch and the others can feel the cold. Punch tells everyone to take cover, and the camp is soon covered by a snowstorm. Meanwhile at the bureau, their drones have been destroyed, and they detect the sudden drop in temperature, so they switch to their satellite image, but they're shocked when they see the huge storm covering the area. Back at the desert camp, they wonder what's going on, because they shouldn't have any snow there. We see Morgan appear before Adonis, and she is happy to see he kept his promise to use his magic to protect another. She fades away into the sky, and we see Adonis protected Doro by giving her armor. Adonis reaches his limit and collapses, so Doro releases her love spell, and she's relieved to hear that he's still alive. We see that Shiro also survived, and he notes that they remind him of the Empress and Emperor when they were young. He apologizes for failing to acquire the incantation for the Empress, shattering into pieces, and Doro wonders what he's talking about. We see the Empress running through the city, and everyone is excited to see her. She makes it back to the palace, but she's told that she should bring guards when she goes out. But she says she isn't worried since everyone loves her. She asks if they have gotten a response from the other nations, saying that if they don't listen to her, she plans to declare war. Meanwhile, we see Doro and Adonis. Doro feels bad that when she used her love spell on him, she used his love for Morgan and directed it to herself, which was how he was so strong. But Adonis tells her not to worry, since he was the one who told her to use the spell on him, noting that he couldn't have defeated Shiro without it. Adonis tells her to lift up her bangs, and she apologizes for looking ugly. Adonis notes how she has said sorry 15 times, and he says that he is finally starting to understand her. He thinks that although she's clumsy and a wuss, her kindness is real. He compares her with Morgan, and he takes back calling her a hypocrite, asking her to share her kindness with him. He wraps her eyes, and she notes how it feels like he's holding her, but Adonis bonks her, saying that Morgan is the only one for him. They prepare to head off, but Doro slips on the ice, so Adonis takes her hand to guide her, saying that a certain witch once told him they should help each other. He says that he still plans on getting revenge, and Doro has changed her mind, saying that getting revenge isn't wrong, but we see that Yuki is still alive, and she swears to get revenge for her brother. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. The story begins as a boy named Rentaro confesses to his crush. The girl says that she likes him, but she gets sick at the thought of dating him. Rentaro is crushed by the rejection, and his friend accompanies him as they walk home. We learn that this was Rentaro's 100th rejection, and his friend makes fun of him for this. His friend wonders how he has asked out 100 girls, since they have only just graduated from middle school, and Rentaro remembers the first girl he ever asked out, when he was only 8 months old. Rentaro really wants to experience what it's like to have a girlfriend, and his friend wonders how he keeps getting rejected since he seems to have everything, from good looks to good grades. This makes him more frustrated, but his friend bids him farewell, wishing him luck in high school. Rentaro visits a shrine and prays to the god of love to get a girlfriend in high school, when suddenly, he hears a voice and a face pops out of the donation box, but the man tells him that he's the shrine's god. As he emerges, we see he has wings, and he tells Rentaro that he's destined to meet his soulmate in high school. In fact, he's actually going to have 100 soulmates, so he'll have plenty to choose from. Rentaro is happy about this, but he swears to destroy the shrine if it turns out to be a lie. 1 month later, it's the first day of high school. Rentaro is on his way to the classroom when he bumps into 2 girls, Inda and Akari. They feel a shocking feeling as their eyes meet, and Rentaro wonders if they are the soulmates that God told him about. He goes to help the 2 girls up, but Akari suddenly pretends to have twisted her ankle, asking him to help her to the nurse's office. Rentaro cries over hurting his soulmate, and Akari starts to like him even more, thinking he is a kind soul. As he helps her up, Inda gets jealous, and she pretends that she's twisted her ankle as well. Rentaro starts hitting himself for hurting the 2 girls, and the girls stand up as they get worried for him. Rentaro is surprised to see they can stand, but they quickly go back to pretending. Rentaro takes them to the nurse's office, but he feels as though he's the one who's being carried. The girls pretend to lose balance, and they start fighting over him, but they end up both clinging onto him. As they continue to the nurse's office, Rentaro introduces himself to the girls, and he finds out that they are all in the same class. There are 2 other girls that walk past, and they mention a field of pink leaf clovers in the courtyard, saying if you ask anyone out with a pink 4-leaf clover, it's guaranteed they will say yes. Inda and Akari suddenly run off, and Rentaro is surprised their legs are fine. 3 hours after the end of school, we see Rentaro stay back to help a teacher find his contact lens. As he prepares to go home, he wonders if he will see the girls again, and he suddenly sees them in the courtyard. We see Inda looking for the 4-leaf clover, and Rentaro checks to see how it's going. Inda is shocked to see him, and she tries to pretend she wasn't looking for the clover. Rentaro notices that Akari isn't there, and he offers Inda a drink. She is too shy to accept it, so Rentaro thinks she must find him weird since they only just met, but she suddenly snatches it from him, saying she'll drink it all so it doesn't go to waste. He tells her she should go home since it's getting late. She tells him not to tell her what to do, but she thanks him for the drink, and Rentaro realizes she's at tsundere. Inda suddenly runs away, and Akari returns. Rentaro offers her a drink, but Akari intends to have an indirect kiss with him, so she asks to share half with him, saying she can't finish it by herself. Rentaro thought this would happen, so he already brought a smaller drink for her, but she insists that she still can't finish it. He agrees and takes a sip, as he gives it to Akari, but Akari panics, and it all spills on the ground. Rentaro thinks she's upset because she must really like the drink. He offers her his handkerchief to help her clean up, but Hikari instead holds his hand and confesses her love to him, saying she has to do it fast because there's someone else who likes him. Rentaro is delighted receiving his first ever confession, but before he can respond, Inda suddenly returns. She had bought a bunch of drinks to repay him, but she suddenly gets mad at Hikari for asking him out, telling her to get in line. Rentaro is surprised to hear that she likes him. She tries to deny it at first, but she ends up confessing to him as well. They ask him who he's going to choose, but he tells them to wait till the next day for his answer. He thinks about both of the girls, but he is just not able to choose. He visits the shrine, and God tells him that they are both his soulmates, so it's impossible for him to choose. He wonders what other people do if they meet two soulmates, but God tells him that people usually don't have more than one. The God reveals that when Rentaro was born, he made a mistake because he was busy watching TV, and he accidentally assigned Rentaro 100 soulmates instead of one. Rentaro thinks he's doomed, but God warns him it'll only get worse, because if a person can't be with their soulmate, they'll die because they can't have the one they love. He thinks about one of the girls dying, so this just makes his decision even harder. However, he suddenly gets an idea, thinking he could reject them both, and then date both of them behind the other's back. The next morning, the girls meet Rentaro and are surprised to see him tattered, but he finally answers that he wants to date both of them. Inda is shocked to hear this, and it turns out he couldn't bring himself to lie to them, so he confesses that he loves them both and will do everything to make them the happiest girls ever. The girls are about to reject him, but he suddenly presents them both with pink four-leaf clovers, which we learn he spent all night looking for. Inda mocks him for believing in the superstition, but Hikari reminds her how they both believed in it. Inda refuses to accept two timing with him, but he tells them that he got the flowers because he saw how hard they were looking for them, so he just wanted to make them happy. The girls can't handle the gesture, and Hikari agrees to be with him, thinking two timing with him would still make her happier than getting rejected. Inda refuses to let Hikari have him to herself, so she also agrees to be with him. Hikari teases her for changing her mind, and Rentaro swears to cherish them both, but he wonders about his other 98 soulmates. The next day, Rentaro expresses how happy he is to finally have a girlfriend, but he's actually just talking to a pole. The two girls arrive, but Inda gets creeped out at why he was talking to a pole. Rentaro says he was just too happy, so he couldn't contain himself, and Inda tells him he can talk to her instead, but she ends up becoming too embarrassed. Hikari takes this chance, and she holds Rentaro's hand. He is overwhelmed by the sensation, and Inda starts to get jealous, but he grabs her hand as well. She acts like she doesn't enjoy it, but the three of them happily walk together. When they get to school, they see a boy running as he gets chased by the vice principal. Hikari points out that she's known for being strict, and if she sees anyone running in the school, she will chase them down, and if they're caught, she'll give them a kiss. Rentaro thinks this would cause emotional damage, and Hikari notes that the vice principal is a former star sprinter, so it's impossible to get away from her. Hikari goes on to ask Rentaro if he's ever kissed anyone, but he says that he hasn't since they are his first ever girlfriends. Hearing this, Hikari and Inda realize that whoever acts first will be able to get his first kiss. The three spend the lunch break together, and while Inda is distracted by a cat, Hikari feeds an egg roll to Rentaro. He likes it so much that he starts crying, and Inda gets jealous. She reveals that she made cookies for him, but when she tries to feed him, she ends up hitting him in the eye. He eats her cookie, telling her it was amazing, but Hikari takes out a Baki snack. As she opens it, she finds that the ends have been broken. She wonders how she can feed him without getting her hands dirty, so she ends up feeding him with her mouth. Seeing her so close, Rentaro thinks she is too cute. Hikari starts biting the snack to get closer to him. Inda tries to join, but she ends up poking his other eye. As Inda's hair gets in the way, it causes Rentaro to sneeze, and he breaks his Baki with Hikari. Inda notices that his eyes are all red, so she worries that he has a cold, but she suddenly grabs onto him, telling him he can get better by passing it on. She tries to kiss him, but Hikari gets in the way, saying they can't be sure that he has a cold, so she tries to check his temperature through their lips, saying it's our family's tradition. However, Inda stops them and tries to make Rentaro pass out so she can give him mouth to mouth. Hikari pushes her away, and they both are angry at each other. Rentaro finally realizes they were trying to kiss him. Inda disagrees with this, but her expression makes their motives obvious. He's stunned to know they want to kiss him, so he offers to kiss them because he's been wanting to do it as well. but Hikari explains that he will have to choose who he will kiss first, causing them to fight with each other once again. However, Rentaro stops them, saying he has a solution that he had planned the day before because he was too excited. He thought a lot about how to make them happy, so for the first kiss, they will keep who was kissed first a mystery, so they will both have the same chance of being his first kiss, and he'll consider each of their kisses as his first. The girls are concerned about how they can keep it a mystery, but Rentaro explains his plan, which involves wearing a mask and covering their ears. Using a dice, the girls will randomly determine their standing position, and he will kiss them without knowing who is who. He will then return to his original position, and the girls will once again randomize their positions, so in the end he will have no idea who he kissed first. Hikari thinks it's a great idea, but Inda worries there's a chance he could cheat, so Rentaro reveals his solution, which is to pinky promise that they won't cheat. Inda thinks it's dumb, but Rentaro promises to stick a needle in his eye if he breaks the promise. The girls agree to the plan, and as they go about carrying it out, there is a gust of wind that lifts up Inda's skirt, and the cat suddenly starts clawing at it. Inda thinks it's Rentaro who's touching her, and she ends up kicking him away. She starts beating him up, but her headphones come out, and she realizes it was the cat. They decide to try again, but with every try, something always goes wrong, and they are unable to kiss. Everyone's upset, and Inda points out the plan was faulty. This angers Hikari, and they both start blaming each other and fighting over who Rentaro belongs to. He stops them and takes all the blame upon himself for not being experienced as he runs off. He calls out for the vice principal, and she suddenly shows up to punish him for running. She gets on top of him, and he's scared to death, but Inda suddenly stops her. Hikari pretends to see a school inspector, and the vice principal gets worried hearing this, so she quickly crawls away. The girls wonder why Rentaro acted so rashly, but he says it's because he loves them both, and wants them to get along, so he'd rather ruin his first kiss than cause them to fight. But hearing this, both girls tell him he can kiss the other, not wanting him to waste his first kiss. Rentaro is surprised by this, but the girls can tell that they both really love him. Rentaro hugs them both, and he seems to come up with another plan. He suggests they could do a three-way kiss. He thought they wouldn't go for this at the start, but seeing them get along, he thinks it can work. The girls get embarrassed at the thought of kissing each other, but they end up agreeing, and the three finally get their first kiss. The following day, the girls and Rentaro are at the library. Hikari looks for a cookbook so she can make more food for him, but Inda fights with her over a book about winning a man through his stomach. Rentaro tells them to get along, reminding them how they both shared a kiss, and the girls become embarrassed. Rentaro looks around for another book, but he meets another girl who instantly gives him a shocking sensation, so he wonders if she's another one of his soulmates. The girl backs away, and Rentaro sees that she's the librarian. The girl doesn't speak, but points to phrases in her book to communicate with him. Rentaro finds this confusing at first, so he thinks they aren't meant to speak in the library. She asks him what he's looking for, and he tries to mime out that he's looking for a story that's funny. The girl asks him why he's not talking, and he asks her the same thing. She apologizes and prepares to get someone else to help him, but he stops her, asking for her assistance. He asks for her recommendations for a romance story with a good ending, so she starts picking out some books for him. But Rentaro is shocked when she ends up picking out a mountain of books. The girl apologizes, telling him to just pick the ones he wants, but he tells her he'll take them all since she picked them out for him. But as he goes to check them out, it turns out his library card isn't ready yet, so he can't borrow any of the books. But the girl offers him her own personal book. Rentaro happily accepts it, and he wonders about her name. The girl shows him her ID, and we learn her name is Shizuka. At night, Rentaro reads the book, and it's a story about a princess and her knight. The knight swears his loyalty to her, even protecting her from a dragon. The two develop feelings for one another, but the princess is arranged to be married to another prince. The knight rushes out to her, wishing there was a way for them to defy their fates. Rentaro roots for them, but the story ends on a cliffhanger. The next day, Rentaro thanks Shizuka for the book, and he realizes that she brought him the second book. He excitedly accepts it, but thinks he needs to find a way to repay her. He buys a drink for her, and they start talking about the book outside. Shizuka tells him that it's her favorite book, and Rentaro is impressed by how well she knows it, since she can find any phrase to use it to communicate, but she is just glad that he doesn't find her weird, revealing that she has never had a real friend. Hearing this, Rentaro gets an idea, and he asks to borrow her first book again. The next day, we see Shizuka has brought the third book for Rentaro, but he doesn't show up even after a few days. As she walks around the school, she notices Rentaro with Hikari and Enda. They know how sleepy he looks, and he says he's been busy at night. The girls think about what he could be up to, but Rentaro continues to yawn. Hikari suddenly kisses him, telling him she's giving him her energy. Rentaro hugs her, calling her his angel, but Enda says she also has plenty of energy to give him. She goes in to kiss him, but she ends up headbutting him instead. Shizuka realizes he has a girlfriend, and thinks he must be too busy to read. She thinks about how the other girls found her weird for the way she talks, and even her mother thinks she's a freak, begging her to speak normally. She thinks nobody has time to talk to someone like her, but we see Rentaro come to find her, saying he can finally repay her for lending him her books. He gets her to install an app on her phone, and reveals he made a copy of the first book. He shows her how to select the words, and play it out as a voice. Shizuka knows the ebook was never released, so Rentaro manually typed out the whole book. Rentaro explains that when she talks with the book, they never spoke face to face, since she always had to look at the book, but he says that by using the app, they'll be able to look at each other while she talks. He hopes that it will help her with communicating, and he tells her to try it out. She tells him that she loves him, but she instantly takes it back, telling him not to worry. However, Rentaro tells her that he loves her too. Shizuka thinks they are destined not to be together, but Rentaro claims they will overcome it, even if it's their fate. He introduces Shizuka to the other girls, asking to add her as his newest girlfriend. Enda thinks he's insane, but Hikari thanks him for staying with them, even after finding someone else. Rentaro claims his feelings towards them haven't changed, making an analogy that they are like an oil field, and Shizuka is just a completely new field, so adding her won't affect them in any way. In fact, he plans on cherishing them even more than before. He promises to prove it with his actions, saying that if he ever fails them, he will atone for it by committing seppuku, even ordering a special knife from Amazon. Enda ends up accepting it, and Rentaro's girlfriends grow by one, but there are still 97 soulmates to go. Rentaro tells Hikari and Enda more about Shizuka, telling them that she has a cute mannerism while reading books, where she moves her toes like a puppy's tail, and it expresses how she feels. He reveals that Hikari also has a cute habit, where she bites on her fingers while thinking, and he admits that this turns him on. He adds that when Enda is trying to brush off a compliment, she twirls her hair with her fingers, and he finds this adorable. They are surprised that he was able to notice their behavior, thinking he must really care about them. He goes on to describe how Enda and Hikari behave while they're kissing, but this causes Shizuka to lose her composure as she realizes that he has already kissed them. Hikari wonders if she is also interested in kissing, but she tells them that she's saving her first kiss for her marriage. Rentaro says that it's okay, saying he won't kiss her until she's ready, as Enda and Hikari watch her, waiting for her to kiss him, but nothing happens. They feed Rentaro lunch, but Enda becomes angry because Hikari won't let her feed him. They proceed to stuff his mouth, as Shizuka enjoys her meal, observing them as they fight over him, but he realizes that she is too quiet, thinking she needs to get used to them. He thinks about how people put up a front before getting to know someone, because they're afraid of how others will react if they display their emotions. So he thinks it'll be easier to open up to someone who already knows how you feel, because once your true feelings have been revealed, you no longer have to be afraid of how other people will react. Rentaro asks the girls if they want to play a card game, saying the loser will be tickled by the winner. He believes that laughter is the best way to force someone to display their emotions, thinking they will all be friends after they tickle each other. The girls think about Rentaro touching them, so they are determined to lose against him. Rentaro is the winner of the first round, while Enda is the loser, but she appears to be happy about this. He proceeds to tickle her, as she tries to resist it, and she lies on the ground. But he stops as he realizes she's enjoying it a little too much. For the second round, Rentaro wins again, and the loser is Hikari. She celebrates, knowing he is about to touch her, and he starts tickling her, causing her to laugh, as she enjoys every moment of it. But she starts acting weird, and she begs him to stop, saying she is very ticklish, but we learn the real reason was she was about to wet herself. Rentaro wins the third round, and Shizuka is the loser, so he looks forward to tickling her, wanting to hear how she laughs. But as he proceeds to tickle her, she remains silent, and she gets her device to say that she is laughing. He thinks that she looks adorable, so he continues to tickle her, as Enda and Hikari watch them, realizing that he hasn't lost yet. They want to tickle him back, so they become determined to win the game. But Shizuka wins the 4th round, and Rentaro is the loser, so she approaches him, but instead of tickling him, she pokes him. He starts laughing, as Hikari wonders why she isn't taking this chance to feel him all over. Hikari thinks that he is attracted to Shizuka's timid behavior, and she thinks about how she flaunts her best features to grab his attention, seeing herself as a poser. Shizuka's natural charm is the complete opposite, so she thinks that Shizuka is an even greater threat than Inda. After the game, Rentaro goes to the bathroom, while Inda confronts Shizuka, knowing she is keeping her distance from Rentaro. She tells them that she is just a newcomer, so she wants to stay out of their way. But Inda reminds her that she is Rentaro's girlfriend, so there's no need to hold back, saying her behavior is annoying. She immediately apologizes, but this makes Inda upset, asking her why she won't fight back. She decides to be honest with them, telling them she is afraid, as she explains that Hikari has incredible charm, while Inda has the confidence to match her beauty. But Shizuka thinks that there is nothing special about her, and she is afraid that Rentaro will compare her to them. They start to take a liking to her, thinking she is adorable, but she thinks that she is nothing compared to them. Hikari assures her that Rentaro can see the beauty in her, recognizing her as a fellow girlfriend. Rentaro observes them, thinking his plan went better than expected. We learn that when Shizuka was poking him, he realized that Inda was glaring at her. He thought that Inda wanted to fight her, but he believed that he should give them the chance to display their emotions. He is proud of how the girls handled the situation, and he returns to them, as Inda tells him that Shizuka should tickle him again, because she was holding back, and Hikari encourages her to go for it. She realizes that they are trying to help her, thinking she should make their kindness count, so she approaches him, telling him that she wants to kiss him. They finally kiss, and Shizuka becomes flustered, but Hikari also asks for a kiss, as she wonders if she is good enough for him, thinking she is nothing compared to Shizuka, but he tells her that he loves all of his girlfriends. He kisses her, making her happy, and he asks Inda if she also wants a kiss. She pretends that she doesn't, but she slides into position, and he tells her that she's cute when she's flustered. She pummels him, but he endures it, and she admits that she wants to kiss him, so he gives her one as well. He realizes that he has amazing girlfriends, thinking he doesn't deserve them, but they tell him that they feel the same way about him. The next day, Rentaro enters the classroom, where he meets a girl named Nano. He tells her that the exam results have been posted, asking her if she's going to check it out, but she tells him that it's a waste of time, knowing she has secured the #1 spot. As their eyes meet, they feel a shocking sensation, so he thinks that she must be one of his soulmates. He checks the results with his girlfriends, and we learn that they all did well. As he looks at the #1 spot, he is surprised to see that Nano got a perfect score. He asks the girls about her, so they tell him that she's a total nerd, saying she can answer any question they give her, and there are rumors that she isn't even human. During their biology class, Rentaro is paired up with Nano, as he notes that she is nothing like his girlfriends, because her elegance is on another level. He realizes that she is copying the answer from her textbook, because she thinks that practical exams are a waste of time, saying the scientists already know the answer. He tells her that the professor is watching, so she uses the microscope, but instead of checking out the specimen, she looks at her textbook, saying it's more efficient. He realizes that she behaves like a robot, and as he tries to slice the specimen, he cuts his finger, so he proceeds to rinse it, thinking about going to the nurse's office. But Nano tells him that there's no need, and she puts it in her mouth, causing him to panic. She explains that he doesn't need a disinfectant, because saliva is a natural source of it. Rentaro wonders if he's dreaming, and it also causes Inda to become upset. After class, Rentaro thanks Nano for helping him, but she tells him that she just wanted him to stay, because she needed someone to help her clean up. He wants to get to know her better, inviting her to go out with him, but she thinks that it's a waste of time, because it produces nothing of value, saying it won't improve her future prospects. He thinks that having fun is the meaning of life, but she tells him that he's delusional, saying he is wasting her time, so he starts to wonder if she really is his soulmate. That evening, we see Nano in her room, but she thinks about Rentaro, wondering why she helped him. She realizes that she has feelings for him, thinking it's distracting her, so she starts writing the exact value of pi, thinking it's the most efficient way to restore her focus. But she notes that it isn't working, even though she has filled up the board, and written on many pieces of paper. She realizes that she is wasting time, thinking this is a problem. So the next day, Nano tells Rentaro that she is in love with him, saying she wants him to be her boyfriend. He tells her that he wants to go out with her, but she turns him down, so he thinks that he has been pranked. She reveals that she wants to put an end to her feelings because relationships only lead to marriage and pregnancy, thinking romance between teenagers is meaningless. She tells him that she'll never go out with him, but he reveals that he is in love with her, saying he refuses to give up, and he asks her out, imploring her to give him a chance to win her over. A few days later, they visit an amusement park, and Rentaro is determined to convince Nano that love is meaningful. But she thinks that the activity is pointless, wondering why they're even doing it. She notes that he's holding onto an instant camera, knowing that it doesn't retain any data, so she thinks that it's a flawed device. He tells her to say cheese, but she asks him what he means, and he takes the picture anyways. They enter a haunted house, and Nano says that she doesn't believe in ghosts. As the ghosts try to scare them, she maintains her composure, saying they're only humans, so she wonders why Rentaro is afraid. She says that the haunted house is full of humans, so they should call it a human house instead. As they ride the giant teacups, she thinks that whoever created the ride is insane, wondering why people line up to get spun around, and she thinks that it must have been created to brainwash people. They enter a giant maze, where they encounter dead ends, as Nano wonders why the designers didn't just build the right path, thinking it only makes the customers' lives more difficult. At the Ferris wheel, Nano reveals that she is afraid of heights, so Rentaro sits next to her, and they hold each other's hands. They look at all the pictures they took, and Nano admits she had fun, but she still thinks that it's a meaningless day. So Rentaro decides to burn the photos, saying they should erase it from their memories, but as he is about to burn it, Nano recalls that the camera doesn't store data, so they will lose all records of the event. She takes the photos, and Rentaro tells her she was afraid of losing them, because she gained something of value. She starts crying, as he tells her that enjoying good times makes their lives meaningful. She uses his handkerchief to wipe her tears, telling him that she will disinfect it before she returns it, and he wonders if she will use her saliva again, but she tells him that she will wash it. She says that she wants him to be her boyfriend, because she wants to spend more meaningful times with him, and Rentaro tells her that he loves her. So she kisses him, telling him that she'll fulfill her desires by any means necessary. Rentaro introduces her to the girls, and they don't make any objections, so he thanks them for accepting her, once again promising to commit seppuku if he doesn't treat them well, but Nano tells him that poison would be more effective. They think about going out together, and Hikari is jealous Rentaro went to a theme park without her, so she suggests they go to a water park, wanting to have a beach episode. We see Inda looking for a swimsuit to wear, but she has trouble picking one out. There's one that grabs her attention, thinking it looks cute, but she thinks that it won't look good on her. However, she thinks that Rentaro might like it, so she decides to buy it. They arrive at the pool, where Rentaro sees the girls wearing swimsuits, and he is overjoyed at the sight, thinking he can die happy. But Inda arrives with a strange dress, so he panics, because it looks like she doesn't have a swimsuit. She tells them that she's feeling cold, so she'll hang around the pool while they have fun. Nano points her to an area where she can enjoy the sun, so she thanks Nano, saying she doesn't have to worry about her. But Nano says that she doesn't care about her, so she becomes upset, telling Nano to go away. They enter the whirlpool, where Shizuka keeps spinning on her floater, saying she can't control where she's going. Nano believes that the venue is for survival training, and she tries to swim against the current, but Rentaro stops her, as Hikari clings to him, telling him that she is being swept away. She gets up close to him, and Nano tries to do the same, but it causes him to pass out. Nano notes that he's not breathing, so Hikari gives him mouth to mouth, enjoying every moment of it. But Nano tells her to go away, trying to save Rentaro, but Hikari tells her that it's not working, saying Rentaro is going to die. Meanwhile, we see Shizuka getting swept away, and she tries to get out of the pool, but she can't control where she's going. She realizes she's in trouble, so she tries asking for help, but everyone ignores her. Her floater breaks, so she hurries out of the water, but she becomes stranded on an island in the middle of the whirlpool. We return to Rentaro, as Nano suggests finding a lifeguard. They run around the pool, but a group of men call out to them. Hikari ignores them, but one of them notices that she has a great body. He reaches out to her, but Nano stops him and pokes his eyes, saying it's the most efficient way to dispose of a pervert. His friends become upset, so they try to intimidate Nano, and she tells them that she will hang out with them so that Hikari can look for a lifeguard to save Rentaro. She knows that he will be sad if something happens to Hikari, so she decided to help her escape. But Hikari tells them that Nano isn't going with them, telling her that Rentaro also cares about her. One of the men reaches out to Hikari, but Rentaro gets in the way, saying Nano and Hikari are his girlfriends. The man tells him not to interfere, because Nano blinded his friend, telling him to leave with his girlfriend, but he tells the man that Nano and Hikari are both his girlfriends. The man doesn't believe him, so he tells him to kiss both of them, thinking Rentaro won't be able to do it because he's lying. But Nano kisses him, and Hikari does the same, telling the men that Rentaro is saying the truth. The men freak out, realizing he's a GigaChad, and they decide not to mess with him. Hikari wonders how Rentaro was able to recover. We learn that Enda saw the incident, so she was about to make her way to Hikari and Nano, but she saw Rentaro along the way, thinking he's already dead. She tells him not to die, because Nano and Hikari are in trouble, so he suddenly regains consciousness, and he rushes to help them. Rentaro explains that he was able to make it because of Enda, and he thanks Nano for protecting Hikari. Nano thinks that Hikari is more important than her, but he tells her not to put herself in danger, and she realizes that he also cares about her. He realizes that Shizuka is still in the pool, so he panics, knowing she can't swim. He rushes to her, and we see her asking for help, but everyone ignores her. She realizes that her phone is running out of battery, but at that moment, she hears Rentaro calling out to her. She tries to grab his attention, but he can't find her, so she thinks about screaming with her own voice. She doesn't want to do it, because she doesn't want people to hear her voice, but she doesn't have any other choice. She screams with a high-pitched voice, and Rentaro immediately finds her, saying he's glad that she's okay. He carries her away, and she kisses him, causing him to become embarrassed, as he reminds her that they're still in public. They join the others, and Rentaro tells them that he's going to take a break, telling Enda to join him. During his break, he asks Enda why she keeps looking at Hikari and Nano, thinking she is comparing herself to them. He thinks that she doesn't feel confident wearing her swimsuit, so he assures her that she and Shizuka are both normal. But she says that Shizuka is different because she's tiny and cute, but he suddenly removes her dress, revealing her swimsuit. She calls him a pervert, but he thinks that she looks amazing. He hugs her, and she realizes that his heart is beating fast, as he tells her that she's unique, saying she can't be more attractive than she already is, and she is moved by his words. Enda decides to join them in the pool, and they enjoy the rest of the day together. They return to the school, and as they pass by the chemistry lab, Rentaro sees a girl. He feels the shocking sensation as their eyes meet, so he knows that she is one of his soulmates. The next day, Rentaro returns to the lab, wondering if he will find his soulmate there, but as he enters the room, he sees a strange girl who introduces herself as Kusuri from the chemistry club. She gives him tea, but he's surprised to see that it's in a beaker. She tells him that she just finished developing a drug, but he explains that he doesn't want to join the chemistry club, saying he's just looking for someone. But she just tells him to drink the tea and wait, so he decides to try it, and she presents the drug she made, which is a human magnet medicine. She explains that if he takes it, his body will attract metals, and she forces him to drink it. His body starts acting like a magnet, and he is impressed that this is even possible, but she warns him about the drug's side effect, saying he will be constipated for 3 days. She decides to test her theory, revealing that she has a drug with an opposite pole, and she drinks it, causing her body to become attracted to him. She tells him that opposites attract, but she realizes that the magnetism is too strong, so she can't get away. But she maintains her composure, knowing the effect only lasts for 10 minutes. She tells him that she needs to pee, so he starts to panic, but she says that it's okay, revealing that she has diapers on. She pees in her diapers, and the effect finally wears off. She reveals that she wants to create new drugs, revealing that she has already made plenty of them. He realizes that he's starting to have feelings for her, and she already knows about this, because she made him drink a love potion when he arrived. She reveals that she fell in love with him at first sight, but he throws up, saying he wants to get rid of the love potion. She wonders why the love potion didn't work, thinking he must really dislike her. So she starts crying, asking him if she's not his type, but he tells her that he doesn't want to be drugged up when he accepts her feelings. He starts acting weird, and she knows that his body is trying to reject the drug, so she tells him to drink a neutralizer, but he is convulsing, so she decides to give it using her mouth. His body recovers, but she despairs, knowing the effect of the love potion is gone. He tells her that he still likes her, causing her to become flustered, and she begs him to go out with her, saying she will do whatever he wants. Her hair suddenly starts growing, and her body transforms, revealing that she is the soulmate he saw in the lab. She explains that she also drank the neutralizer while she was giving it by mouth, revealing that she transformed into a kid because she worked on a failed immortality drug, but she says that she can only maintain her current form for an hour. She reveals that she is the president of the chemistry club and that her current form has poor vision and long hair, so she prefers to do her research as a kid. He can't believe that she is one of his soulmates, and he agrees to go out with her. Rentaro introduces Kusuri to his other girlfriends, and he doesn't receive any negative reactions. But she tells them that she loves drugs, so Inda wonders if she's okay. He explains that she is older than them, and that she is small because of a drug, so Inda thinks that Kusuri is a drug addict. She reveals that she has a medicine to help grow Inda's boobs, but she becomes upset, so Kusuri offers to give her other medicines to improve herself. But she becomes even more upset, asking Kusuri why she's doing this, so she reveals that Rentaro told her about her insecurity. Inda tortures him, but Kusuri tells her how much he loves her, so she immediately apologizes. Kusuri gives Hikari a hotness medicine, saying it will make her more attractive. She thinks that it will enhance her assets, so she decides to drink it, but she realizes that she is sweating profusely, and her clothes melt away, as Kusuri explains that nothing is hotter than her birthday suit. Rentaro gives her clothes, and she smells it, knowing he wore it. She is worried that it could also melt away, but Kusuri assures her that the drug only works once, so Rentaro's clothes are safe. Kusuri gives Shizuka a fantasy medicine, causing her to grow rabbit ears. Rentaro finds it cute, and he starts touching it, which makes her happy. Kusuri gives Nano a hair control drug, giving her the ability to use her hair like extra arms. Nano uses it to grab Rentaro, and she kisses him, saying she likes the drug because it increases her efficiency. Kusuri explains that the drug lasts for 10 minutes, saying she can take more drugs if she wants the effect to last, but it will increase her risk of going bald. She thinks that this is a small price to pay, asking Rentaro if he will love her even if she is bald, and he tells her that he will love her even if she becomes an alien. But he reveals that he likes her hair, so she decides not to use the drug. Kusuri tells them about her dream to join a research team so that she can make even more amazing drugs. But she feels the urge to pee, saying she will use her diapers, but Rentaro tells her to use the bathroom. They are about to drink tea, as Kusuri tells them to be careful, explaining that the tea for the girls is different from Rentaro's tea, but she can't explain it properly because she really needs to go to the bathroom. She rushes to the toilet, and they see two containers, thinking the small one is for Rentaro. They eat together, but Kusuri realizes that the girls are about to drink Rentaro's tea, so she warns them to spit it out, revealing that the big container has a drug that is supposed to make him kiss her, but he tells her that he will kiss her even if he isn't drugged. She is happy to hear this, and she is about to kiss him, but Inda suddenly grabs onto her, throwing her away, as he realizes that the girls want to kiss him. They start acting like zombies, and Kusuri realizes that she messed up, telling Rentaro to run, because the girls are experiencing the drug's side effect. She explains that it isn't safe for girls, because females already have a strong desire to kiss men. So the drug caused them to lose control, because the desire to kiss is so strong that it's the only thing left on their minds, and this somehow gives them super strength. She calls them kiss zombies, warning Rentaro that they will kiss him forever, but he seems to be okay with this. She explains that they need the medicine reversing drug before the drug circulates, or their personalities will be erased forever, and we learn that Rentaro only has 1 hour to get the drug, as they lunge at him, intending to kiss him to death. Kusuri and Rentaro run away, as Kusuri suggests heading to the chem lab to find a cure. But as they run around the campus, the zombies block their path. So Kusuri looks for something she can use against them, and she finds a drug that can melt faces, but Rentaro tells her not to use it, saying they should take a detour. But as they run away, the vice principal gets in their way, and Kusuri becomes frightened, so she uses the face-melting drug on her. But the vice principal's makeup protects her face, and she tells them that her true form is about to be revealed. She doesn't want anyone to see her face, so she crawls away, as they continue to flee. The zombies come up with a plan, and they split up, planning to surround Rentaro. He realizes that he's their target, thinking Kusuri can find a cure without him, so he tells her to head to the lab, while he draws their attention. As Shizuka chases after him, she suddenly trips, hitting her head, and he becomes worried, so he takes her to the infirmary, where he treats her wounds. But he realizes that she's still a zombie, and she takes him down, kissing him repeatedly. He knows that he messed up, thinking it's all over for him, but he recalls that her personality will disappear if he doesn't find a cure. So he pushes her away, and he manages to restrain her, promising to cure her. He continues to run away, but Inda launches Hikari at him, causing him to fall. They pin him down, and they start kissing him as he wonders how he can escape. But he sees them arguing, realizing that they haven't changed, so he makes them kiss each other, and they start making out, as he realizes that they're actually tough lovers, because they fight every day. He is happy to see this, but he recalls that he still needs to find a cure, so he dashes away. But as he enters the lab, he sees Nano inside, and he hides inside a locker, thinking he just needs to buy time for Kusuri to find a cure. But he sees her in the locker, as she reveals that Nano spotted her before she could enter the lab, so she decided to hide there, and she can't find a way out. He realizes that Nano knows about their plan, thinking her intelligence makes her a threat to them. Kusuri tells him to act as a decoy, so that she can enter the lab, but he thinks that Nano will be able to see through their plan, because it would be too obvious if he just starts running away. Kusuri blames herself for the situation, revealing that her experiments always cause trouble for everyone, which explains why she is the only person left in the chemistry club. She says that she will stop experimenting, but at that moment, she realizes she still has one dose of the reversing drug. Rintaro thinks about using it on Nano, but Kusuri starts drinking it, and he tells her to stop, causing her to drop it. He tells her that they should have used it on Nano, and she realizes that he has a point, but she returns to her original form, telling him that she plans to enter the lab while Nano doesn't recognize her. But she was only able to get a sip of the medicine, so she explains that she doesn't have a lot of time. She thinks about restraining Nano before the drug wears off, but Nano finds her suspicious, and she is able to see through her plan, so she ties her up. Rintaro panics, thinking they won't be able to cure the zombies, but he sees the drug on the floor, and he comes up with a plan. He dashes away, running away from Nano, and he hides in a room, but she destroys the door, causing him to freak out. He realizes that there's no way out, and she starts kissing him repeatedly, as he accepts his fate. This looks like the end for him, but at that moment, Kusuri gives her a drug, causing her to pass out, and Kusuri explains that she will be back to normal after she wakes up. We learn that he lured Nano away, because he knew that Kusuri's body was about to shrink, and this explains how she was able to break free. They cure the other zombies, and they wake up in the infirmary, wondering what just happened. Hikari recalls that she kissed Inda, but she claims that she doesn't remember anything, and Inda also knows what happened, but she pretends that her memory has been wiped out. Rintaro knows that they are just playing dumb, but he is happy that they are able to get along. Kusuri blames herself for what happened, so she apologizes to everyone, but he reminds her that she saved them, telling her that he is willing to fix her problems with her. So he advises her not to give up on her research, saying he loves her because of her passion. Everyone goes to a flower park, where they hear an announcement about the bouquet toss event. Hikari thinks they should participate, saying the couple that catches the bouquet gets to have a special photo shoot, where they are dressed up as a married couple. They are all eager to win, and we learn that Hikari always wanted to wear a wedding dress, thinking her dream is about to come true. A crowd gathers for the event, and we see the Gorilla Gang, as their leader orders them to win the game for her. Hikari thinks it will be difficult to deal with them, so she suggests working together and drawing lots to determine who will participate in the photo shoot. Rintaro thinks that Shizuka should stay back, because she's too small, so she could end up getting swallowed by the crowd. Kusuri is willing to participate in the game, so she drinks medicine, allowing her to return to her original form. Rintaro notices that the gang has a flag, so he creates one for his team, calling them the Rintaro family. The game is about to begin, and the announcer explains that physical attacks against other participants are prohibited. He introduces everyone to the special guest of the event, and we see that it's the vice principal. She tells everyone that she wants the bouquet to leave the atmosphere, because she doesn't want anyone to be happy. The game begins, and she throws the bouquet with incredible force. Everyone runs after it, as Rintaro notes that it's still going up, thinking it won't be landing for a while. We see the members of the Gorilla Gang attacking the other participants, as their leader claims that they're not resorting to violence, saying the gang is just training, so they aren't breaking the rules. The announcer agrees with her, and she throws the members of her gang, using them to knock people out. Hikari is about to get hit, but Inda protects her, saying she will join the gang to participate in their training. She grapples with the leader, telling everyone that she will take care of her, so they can focus on getting the bouquet. It starts to fall, so the gang members use their flags to create an incredible wind, causing it to change direction, and it looks like the Gorilla Gang is about to win. But at that moment, we see Shizuka in the air, and we learn that she was standing beside the flag bearers, so she was launched upwards when the wind vortex was created. She manages to grab the bouquet, but she is about to fall to her death, so the girls try to catch her, and Rentaro thinks they're in trouble because they will get hurt if she crashes into them. But she bounces off their chests, allowing them to absorb the impact, and Rentaro catches her before she hits the ground. The Rentaro family wins the event, and they start drawing lots to determine who will be joining the photo shoot. But we learn that Hikari has a plan, and she marked the winning stick with a tiny cut. But she thinks it would be too suspicious if she drew the first stick, so she plans to wait for someone's turn to end before she makes her move. She believes that Nano will be an easy target, because she is obsessed with efficiency, so she will probably take the stick closest to her. Hikari puts the winning stick at the farthest position, and she tells Nano to take one, but she explains that it will be more efficient if they all drew at once. So Hikari's plan is ruined, realizing that she underestimated Nano, but she still ends up winning, so she is overjoyed, knowing her dream is about to come true. She sees Kusuri crying, because she really wants to join the photo shoot, so Hikari tells her that she can take her place, and Kusuri is grateful for this, but she changes her mind, saying she wants two of her favorite people to be in the photo. Hikari tells everyone to join, and they take a picture together. She thanks Rentaro for making her dream come true, but she tells him to break up with her, and she doesn't give him any explanation. So later that day, he wonders what's wrong with her, and he wants to talk to her, but he realizes that she has already left them. He tries to call her, but she won't pick up, so he decides to look for her house, revealing that her address is written on the envelope she sent him. We learn that she lives in a mansion, and he calls out to her, but she tells him to be quiet, as a guard arrives, wondering where the noise came from. He manages to hide, and he receives a call from an unknown number. He realizes that it's Hikari, and she tells him that she no longer loves him, but he knows that she's lying, saying he won't leave until he knows the truth. So she tells him that her mother Hana is against their relationship, because he has too many girlfriends. She explains that her phone was taken away, and she is about to leave the town, saying Hana is going to use her money to get what she wants, so Hikari thinks that she can never be with him. Hana suddenly arrives, and she takes the phone, telling him to stay away from Hikari, as she threatens to get rid of him. A guard restrains him, recognizing him as Hikari's ex-boyfriend, and telling him to give up, because he can never be with her. We see Rentaro walking away, thinking there's nothing special about him, so he doesn't deserve to be with Hikari. But he sees a 4-leaf clover, and he recalls the moments he spent with her, so he is determined to get her back. That evening, he discusses the situation with the girls, telling them that he plans to sneak into the mansion to take her away. But they think that he will never succeed, because Hana is extremely rich, so he won't be able to escape from her. He knows that he doesn't stand a chance, but he is determined to make Hikari happy, saying he is willing to risk everything for her. He explains that he's going to proceed with his plan, telling them to wait for him to return, but they tell him that they love him, so they are willing to join him in his plan. He tries to talk them out of it, knowing they're about to get into trouble, but he realizes that they all love Hikari, so they are all determined to save her. They go to the mansion, and Rentaro plans to throw a ball to grab Hikari's attention. But he misses the window, and the ball disappears. Inda sees a cat playing with it, and they try to chase after it, as it makes its way to Nano. She thinks that the most efficient way to deal with it is to disable it with a kick. But Rentaro stops the cat, and they hear the guard approaching, so they hide behind a tree. The cat approaches him, so he thinks that it caused the commotion, but they can no longer retrieve the ball, so they have no choice but to go to Hikari's room. They see a pet door at the entrance, and Nano collects rocks from the garden, using them to open the door. We learn that she was able to determine the lock's location from the shape of the door, and she launched the rocks with amazing precision, allowing her to unlock the door. She tells them to enter the mansion, but Rentaro notices that her thumb is injured, so Inda treats her wound, wondering what happened to it. She explains that she had to use her thumb to improve her accuracy, saying she owes Hikari for saving her from the perverts. They enter the mansion, but they see a guard dog approaching, so they decide to retreat, but they realize that Shizuka has been left behind. She thinks that it's all over for her, so she tells everyone to go without her. The dog approaches her, but it starts licking her, as Nano explains that dogs have a natural instinct to protect weak creatures, and Shizuka is so weak that the dog forgot about its duty to protect the mansion. Rentaro thinks that the dog will pursue them once they enter, so Nano suggests telling Shizuka to poke its eyes out. But Kusuri shows them a potion, revealing that it can put animals to sleep. She gives it to Shizuka, telling her to use it, but she ends up drinking it, because Kusuri forgot to tell her how to use it. She ends up falling asleep, but the dog licks the drug from her, causing it to feel drowsy. They enter a corridor, and the cat joins them, triggering an alarm. So the guards rush to their location, but they manage to hide, and the guards take the cat, realizing that it tripped the sensors. Nano thinks that they won't make it past the corridor because they will need infrared goggles to avoid triggering the alarm, but Kusuri reveals that she brought infrared vision eye drops, and Rentaro decides to use it, as she explains that he will see nothing but the sensors while under its effect. Inda tells her that she dropped an envelope, and Nano notes that it's addressed to a foreign research team, realizing that she was planning to send the eye drops as an attachment to her application. But she tells them that Hikari is more important than the research team, and Rentaro's eyes transform, allowing him to see the sensors. But he thinks that it's impossible for them to pass through, because the sensors are everywhere. He realizes that there's an opening close to the ceiling, but the corridor is too wide for a person to climb to the top. Nano suggests getting 2 people to work together, but she notes that they are all girls, so she thinks that they are a poor match for Rentaro because they can't match his strength. But she realizes that Inda is an exception, so she ties them together, telling them to synchronize their movements to get past the sensors. They are able to reach the top, and they make their way to the end of the corridor, as Rentaro tells Inda that her clothes are getting slippery. But we see that his head is pressed against her belly, causing her to feel some kind of way. They are able to reach the other side, and Rentaro tells the others to wait for them outside. They see Hikari's room, so they open the door, and they see her looking at their group picture. But at that moment, the alarm is triggered, as Rentaro realizes that they shouldn't have opened the door. They realize that they're surrounded by the guards, and they are taken to Hana, who tells them that she won't dispose of them because they're Hikari's friends. Rentaro tells her that he will make Hikari happy, but she doesn't believe him, revealing that she was 13 years old when she gave birth to Hikari. She explains that the man she loved was dying from sickness, and she wanted to bear his child before he died, so she underwent artificial insemination at a young age. She knows that she made a reckless move, thinking it runs in her blood, so she thinks that Hikari will do ridiculous things for love. After her lover died, she raised Hikari on her own, and though she was happy to have Hikari in her life, she realized that her lover could never be replaced. She doesn't want Hikari to go through the suffering she endured, so she wants Rentaro to stay away, thinking he can never bring Hikari happiness. Hana's story makes Rentaro cry, saying he doesn't want Hikari to suffer like she did. At that moment, the effect of the eye drop wears off, allowing him to see Hana, and as their eyes meet, they feel the shocking sensation, as he realizes she is also one of his soulmates. Hana instantly falls in love with him, asking him to go out with her, and Inda sees him considering it, so she reminds him that Hana is Hikari's mother. Hana explains that she was just joking, telling him that she will never allow his relationship with Hikari to continue. But he tells her that he will never give up, because he wants to make Hikari happy, but Hana doesn't believe him, so she brings out a lie detector, saying it should be able to reveal how unfaithful he is. But Rentaro doesn't trust it, so they decide to try it on Inda, as Hana explains that he won't be convinced if she uses it on her man. She asks Inda about her cup size, and she says that she almost has C cups. But the lie detector reveals that she's lying, as Hana explains that it can detect even the slightest lie. So Inda says that she's a B cup, but it still says she's lying, so she becomes upset, admitting that she only has A cups, and it confirms that she's telling the truth. Hana wonders if she loves Rentaro, and she says that she does, but it reveals that she's lying, so he becomes devastated, thinking he's having a nightmare. She tries to explain how much she loves him, but it keeps calling her a liar, so he feels like he's about to die. But she says that she loves him more than anything else, and it reveals that she's telling the truth, so he immediately recovers. He decides to test the machine, saying he really loves Inda, and it confirms that he's telling the truth. Hana believes that he now trusts the machine, so she asks him about his feelings for Hikari. He tells her that he will make Hikari happy, saying he's willing to die for her, and the lie detector confirms that he's telling the truth. Hana can't believe that he's faithful to his girlfriends, knowing that he has 5 of them, and she explains that she doesn't trust the result. At that moment, a maid arrives, saying Hikari is about to take her own life. Inda threatens to break Hana's neck, and Rentaro panics, thinking she's serious. But she tells him to save Hikari, saying she will wait for him to return for her. So he runs off, as Hana tries to break free, but Inda stops her, saying she's doing this for Hikari. Meanwhile, we see Hikari as she's about to jump off the building, but Rentaro arrives, telling her to escape with him. But she knows that they'll have to keep on running if they escape, thinking he's going to be in trouble because of her. She tells him that she doesn't want him to be unhappy, but he explains he won't be happy if she dies, saying he doesn't want to live without her. He tells her that he loves her, so he wants her to stay with him, and she tells him that she feels the same way. But she ends up falling, so Rintaro rushes to her, catching her just in time. But he knows that he's in a bad position, so she tells him to let go, but he refuses, and he ends up falling with her. But before they hit the ground, he manages to kick the wall, and they land in the fountain. The girls rush to them, but Shizuka is about to drown, so Kusuri saves her, wondering what she was thinking. Hana is glad to see that they're okay, realizing that Rintaro is willing to risk his life to save Hikari, so she concludes that he's a man of his word. She tells him to take care of Hikari, and he realizes that she was risking everything to protect her daughter, so he thinks that she's a great person. He promises to make Hikari happy, but he tells Hana that he also wants her to be happy, and he agrees to go out with her. The girls freak out, realizing that she likes Rintaro, but she explains that she can't help it, because she finds him incredibly attractive. The girls take a bath together, and they start comparing their chests. But Inda knows that she's no match for them, so she decides to retreat. She sees Rintaro in their room, but he tells her that her belly is visible, and she recalls the time when he rubbed his head against it. She accuses him of doing it intentionally, but he tells her that he was worried about her, so he had to do everything to prevent her from falling. But she tells him that she was embarrassed, so she wants to get back at him. She puts her head on his belly, and she enjoys the moment, but Kusuri suddenly joins them, so they pretend they were doing push-ups. Hana invites everyone to a pajama party, telling the girls to get dressed, as Hikari explains that her mother likes to dress people up, and Rintaro sees them wearing pajamas, thinking they all look amazing. Kusuri and Shizuka kiss him, and he feels like he's going to heaven, but Hana's nose starts bleeding, so he assists her, helping her walk around the mansion. She tells him that she's too old to get excited, but he tells her that they can have fun together, and she tells him that she can't hold it back anymore, inviting him to go to her room. We return to the girls, as Inda notes that it's taking a long time for Rintaro and Hana to return. Hikari becomes nervous, thinking they are up to something, and at that moment, they hear Hana screaming, so they rush to her, wondering what they are doing. But they see Rintaro dressed up as a girl, and Hana is screaming because she can't believe how cute he is. He's embarrassed by the situation, and he suddenly collapses, as the girls become worried, thinking he's about to die, but Hana comes up with a plan, telling Nano to help her out. Nano dresses up as a prince, and Hikari notes that only the kiss of a prince can awaken Princess Rintaro. Nano kisses him, causing him to regain consciousness, and the girls enjoy the scene. But he tells them that he's had enough, saying he will take a bath, and the girls decide to watch him, wanting to see him naked. But Shizuka tries to stop them, so they restrain her, telling her to wait for them to return. We see Rintaro taking a bath, as Kusuri watches him from a window, but she can't see him because the glass is too foggy, so she presses her head against it. But Rintaro hears her, and he sees her head, causing him to become frightened, because he thinks she's a ghost. She tells the girls that their plan has failed, so they pull her up, and Rintaro realizes that she's no longer there, so he quickly tries to finish up. Hana tells the girls that they can use the attic, saying it will lead them to the bathroom, but they think there's a mouse inside, so they freak out, and Rintaro hears them, thinking he's being haunted. Meanwhile, Shizuka is worried about Rintaro, thinking the girls are going to get everyone killed, so she tries to break free, but she realizes that she can roll away. She rolls down the staircase, causing her to gain momentum, and her restraints are removed, and she ends up in the bathroom. Rintaro panics, thinking she's a ghost, but he realizes that he was just seeing things, asking her what she's doing there. But his towel slips off, causing her to pass out. He's about to ask for help, but he sees the girls at the entrance to the attic, wondering what they're doing there. They tell him that they were just playing hide and seek, but Inda denies that they were planning to watch him, so their intentions become obvious, so he reprimands them. That evening, Rintaro sees Hana praying for Hikari's father, and he joins her, wondering why she never entertained a suitor after Hikari's father passed away. So she reveals that she's still in love with him, saying she has no right to love another man. But she tells Rintaro that she's in love with him, thinking it's not right, but he explains that she can love more than one man, as long as her feelings are real. She tells him to kiss her, as she recalls Hikari's father, who told her to save her first kiss for the man who will never leave her. Rintaro kisses her, as she becomes emotional, thinking about Hikari's father. That evening, we see everyone sleeping in one room, and Hikari approaches Rintaro, as Inda wonders what she's doing. Rentaro wakes up, and Akari tells him that she just wants to sleep next to him, saying she was afraid that she would never be with him again. He kisses her, telling her that everything is going to be okay, and she's overjoyed to hear this, telling him to hold her until the sun rises. But after some time, Rentaro wakes up, and he sees Akari making out with Enda, who thinks that she's Rentaro. He makes his way to the bathroom, but he sees Akari's father, who is upset because he took both Hana and Akari from him. But Rentaro thinks this is the perfect moment, saying he wants to talk to him, and Akari's father wonders why Rentaro isn't afraid of him. Rentaro explains that it's because Hana loves him, thinking he's a great person, and he promises to make Hana and Akari happy. He reveals that he has been watching over them for 16 years, and he thanks Rentaro for opening Hana's heart, saying he will be able to live in peace if Rentaro stays by her side. Rentaro is grateful to him because he was the one who brought Akari into the world, and a bright light surrounds him as he reveals that he no longer has any regrets, so he's going to pass on, and his soul finally rests in peace. The next day, Rentaro and the girls go to school, but during the assembly, they are surprised to see that Hana has become the new chairperson, so that she will be able to see Rentaro every day. During their lunch break, he goes to Hana's mansion, but he realizes that she isn't there, so he rushes to the rooftop, and he sees her with the other girls, realizing that they are all waiting for him. They say that they love him, and he joins them, promising to make them happy. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. The story begins 100 years in the past. The heavens were invaded by the Demon King and his army, but the Guardian of the Gods stood against them, crushing the army by himself. However, there was a traitor among the gods, and the Guardian was killed, causing his soul to be split into 72 fragments and spread across the human realm. With the Guardian defeated, the demon army flooded the heavens, and the gods tried their best to fight. The gods are overwhelmed, but as a last resort, they used their remaining energy to seal the demons away. But without the gods looking over the world, chaos started to spread, and the only way to restore order is by collecting the 72 pieces of the Guardian's soul and using his energy to free the gods. In the present, the world is in chaos, and we see two brothers, Yun and Shen, as they take shelter in a house. But the ground shakes and the house starts to collapse, so Yun puts his brother into a basket, and they manage to get out just in time. Meanwhile, their father Gong fights against an enormous demon, but he struggles against it, and he gets smashed into a pillar. The brothers arrive, wanting to help their father, but the demon suddenly attacks them. Their father manages to block the attack, stunning the demon, and he throws them up onto one of the pillars for safety, while he blocks the demon's attack. He transforms his weapon, turning it into a 3-section staff, and wraps it around the demon's hand. He knees the demon in the face, and proceeds to strangle it with his weapon. But the demon breaks the chains, and sends him into the air. But he kicks the 3 sections of his staff around the demon, and he activates his skill which binds the demon. While it's restrained, he manipulates the surrounding pillars to form a hand and trap the demon. But he knows this won't hold the demon for long, so he runs away with his boys. They make their way to a cave, where they find an area covered with vines. Gong uses a skill to open the heavenly gates of the palace, making the vines recede, and revealing 2 swords on pedestals. They pull the swords out simultaneously, making the pedestals disappear, as a gold container emerges before them. Gong gives it to Yun, telling him to give it to his brother when he grows up. His father hands him the other sword, telling him that the 2 swords have been passed down by the demon hunters. Yun doesn't think he is worthy to wield them, but his father says he has been practicing since he was a boy, so he believes in him. The ground shakes, and they realize the demon must have gotten free. They reach a stone bridge in a room filled with lava, and Gong explains it was a spirit room used by past demon hunters. The demon suddenly breaks through the ceiling, and Gong gets caught, but uses an ability that makes parts of the walls crash into the demon. He manages to get free, and he uses another skill to trap the demon into a spherical prison, which then falls into the lava, covering the area in smoke. It looks like they have finally won, but a bell suddenly rings, and Gong is stabbed from behind by a mysterious woman, and the boys start crying, but as a last resort, he decides to send them away, activating his final skill. The woman tries to pursue them, piercing through the barrier and scratching Yun's face, but the boys suddenly disappear as they are transported away. 10 years later, Yun has grown up, and Shen dresses up as a giant lizard monster. We see a man as he is accompanied by a demon hunter into a building. The demon hunter detects the presence of a demon, claiming he can sense the 1,000-year-old gecko demon, and he tells the man to wait outside. The man runs away as the demon hunter summons his weapon. He enchants his beads, throwing them around the room, and he hits the gecko demon. He follows up with another attack, cutting the demon's head off, but the man suddenly panics, asking the gecko why he screwed it up. But Yoon appears behind him, knocking him out, and he wakes up tied to a pillar, asking the brothers who they are. Yoon threatens him, and the man admits he is actually just a fake demon hunter who has been working with the demon to scam people of their money. He partnered with a weak demon who would haunt buildings, and then he would pretend to hunt it down, and they would split the profits. Shen wonders how people are so easily tricked, and the man says it's all thanks to his handsome face that makes people trust him, saying that Yoon's face would never convince people he's a demon hunter because he looks like a bandit. This triggers Yoon, so they leave him tied up and dressed in the gecko costume. After that, Shen undergoes his coming-of-age ceremony, since he is now 14 years old. Yoon performs the ritual, causing Shen to be surrounded by light, and talismans surround him. The light disappears, and Yoon tells him he is now an official demon hunter. Shen questions if he is ready, but Yoon tells him to believe in himself, and shows him the gold container their father left to him. Shen opens it, and he finds a tiny iron rod. He wonders what it is used for, and Yoon only remembers how their father said it was his destiny. Shen treasures it since it's a gift from his father, and he wears it as a necklace. At that moment, an old man runs to them, asking them to save the town, because there's a mist that has caused people to disappear. He offers them money, but Yoon thinks it could be another scam. So he is more interested in continuing Shen's coming-of-age ceremony, ready to show him a good time. But he runs into the old man, who drops his bag, revealing a golden bell, and Yoon remembers the woman who killed his father. So they decide to check out the town, which is completely surrounded by mist. While walking around the town, Shen suddenly disappears, as Yoon sees a cat demon who talks to him. He asks about the origins of the bell, but the cat starts attacking him. Yoon dodges its attacks, and the cat demon attacks him from behind. It uses the mist to disappear and reappear, and it manages to hit him from behind. But Yoon spins around, creating a whirlwind that clears the fog around him, and the demon is knocked to the ground. She begs him not to kill her, claiming she will do anything for him, and Yoon asks her about the bell. The girl claims she just happened to find it, but she doesn't know where it came from, so Yoon tells her to just leave the town. She thanks him for his mercy, but she suddenly lunges at him. However, Yoon is prepared, using his backslash technique, and he easily defeats her. But as she disappears, she tells Yoon that her brother will get revenge for her by killing Shen. Meanwhile, Shen is attacked by another cat demon, who looks down on him for being a kid. But Shen claims he is no longer a kid, as he prepares to fight. Yoon watches from a distance, and calls it a final trial. The cat launches his attacks at Shen, who skillfully evades the attacks as he closes in on the demon. The demon grabs onto his stick, but Shen manages to overpower him, and even land a hit on him, but this makes the demon angry, so he starts fighting seriously, using his speed to attack Shen before he can even react. He breaks Shen's weapon, and Yoon thinks about helping him, but his necklace starts to glow, and he grabs onto it, and it transforms into a weapon. Shen throws it at the demon, blowing him away, and releasing a powerful energy wave that can be felt from miles away. The energy even reaches the demon woman, and she realizes that he has finally awakened. The weapon pierces through the demon's chest, but he is still alive, surprised to see the golden staff in his chest. He notices Shen is no longer conscious, so he tries to pull out the staff, but Yoon arrives, asking him about the bell as he threatens to kill him. The bell rings, and the demon becomes hypnotized, so he reveals that a woman named Samir gave it to them, knowing the brothers would appear if it rang. Yoon asks about Samir, but the demon says it's none of his business, as he starts repeating his mission to kill the demon slayers and snatch the soul fragment. The bell starts spinning wildly, and it enters the demon's mouth, causing him to explode. The explosion is caught by two people, who seem to be from a more advanced civilization, who head for their teleporter to check it out. Shen wakes up, and Yoon tells him he did a good job. He retrieves the golden staff, but it transforms back into its tiny form. The duo from the advanced civilization arrive, telling them the staff doesn't belong to them. They scan the artifact, confirming that it is their target, and calling it the Shenzhen staff. The duo approach the brothers, but Yoon is in no condition to fight, because he suffered some internal injuries from the explosion. Shen tries to talk to them, but the girl tells him to hand over the staff. Yoon tries to stop them, but he is easily defeated. The girl threatens to kill them, but they still refuse to hand it over, calling her a pig head because of her mask. The girl becomes angry, but her companion stops them, saying they have no ill intentions. He uses their technology to heal Yun's injuries, surprising him as he realizes that even his internal injuries are gone. Yun asks them why they want the artifact, and the girl claims that the staff has always belonged to them. We learn that the staff was once used by the Guardian, the strongest warrior amongst the gods. They introduce themselves as the envoys of the fairy clan, Sorrow and Shu. Shu removes her mask, and the brothers think she is cute. Sorrow explains how the staff was lost after the Guardian was assassinated 100 years ago. He reveals that their goal is to find the 72 fragments of his soul, to break the seal on the space where the gods are trapped. He says the staff is the key to finding the soul fragment, because it has the ability to sense the traces of God. Yun thinks it's a clue to finding the demon that killed their father, so he doesn't want to give up the staff. He asks them how they can be so sure that the artifact is really the Shenzhen staff, and Sorrow tells them about how it produced energy waves when it was awakened, which spread throughout the 6 realms. Sorrow warns them that the demons would have also felt it. He explains that the demon King Mara and his army were also sealed away with the gods, so he thinks the demons will also be making a move to free him. Yun doesn't trust them, but Shu tells them that if they don't free the gods, the world will continue to be in chaos, and if the demons break the seal first, the world will also be doomed. Shen decides to trust them, giving them the staff, and Yun supports his brother's decision, thinking it will keep Shen away from danger. As they leave, Shu thinks they are trying to trick her with a fake, since it has turned to iron, but when Shen takes it back, it becomes golden again. Shu is confused at what is going on, and Sorrow reveals only a pure heart can wake it up, and it has acknowledged Shen as its new honor, so they have no choice but to bring them along, and the brothers agree to go, thinking it must be fate. They claim the reward from the old man, and they look at the staff which points them in the direction of the next fragment. Sorrow summons a ship, and they all board it to begin their journey. They travel through the desert, and we see a strange woman named Ying, who passes out on the ground. The ship detects her, and performs an emergency evasive maneuver, causing the ship to go flying off to the side. Shu wonders what's going on, and the ship tells them about the woman it detected. Yun looks around, seeing a woman in the middle of the desert, and he rushes to help her. She passes out in his arms, and he sees a wound on her body, so he carries her back to the ship, but Shu stops him, telling him not to let a stranger in. Shu finds the situation strange, while Yun thinks she's just jealous of her figure, so they begin to argue. Ying is able to enter the ship, and Sorrow asks her how she got injured. Ying says she ran into a group of bandits who tried to kill her, but she was able to get away from them. She asks them to take her back to the Dark Canyon, because she is scared of running into the bandits again. Yun tells her that they're also going to the Dark Canyon to find fragments, so he thinks fate must have brought them together. Ying is curious about the fragments, and Shen shows her the staff, saying it detected a fragment in the Dark Canyon, but Shu becomes upset because they are telling her everything, and she tells him to put the staff away. Sorrow suggests leaving for the Dark Canyon the next day, as he leaves the room with Shu. While the brothers are sleeping, Ying uses her ring to create some web, trying to take the staff from Shen, but Shen moves his hand, preventing the web from reaching the staff. The door suddenly opens, so Ying returns to her bed, as Sorrow appears after taking a shower, but he realizes he's in the wrong room and he leaves. The next day, Yun starts looking for Ying, and Sorrow says she seems to have already left. Shen realizes that the staff is now gone, making Shu upset, but Sorrow remains calm. In a flashback, we see Ying in a cave, where she is surrounded by a group of bandits, and her sister Mei has been caught by them. The bandit leader recognizes her as the best thief in the world, so he orders her to steal the Shenzhen staff. Ying knows about the artifact, but she thinks it's just a legend, because people have been trying to find it for 100 years, but none have succeeded. The boss tells her that it's real, claiming nobody was able to find it, because it was sleeping, but now it has awakened. He shows her a soul fragment of the Guardian, claiming it has the power to destroy the entire valley. He activates it, causing the ground to shake, as rocks start flying toward the ceiling. He claims he will be able to control the demons if he has the staff, because it is the strongest divine weapon, and he warns her not to go against him. He promises to let them go if she gets him the staff, but Mei reminds her about her oath to never steal again, knowing she will suffer if she breaks it, so she tells Ying not to go, but one of the bandits interrupts, saying Mei will suffer if she doesn't do it. Ying threatens them about harming her sister, and the boss promises nothing will happen to her if she succeeds. Back in the present, Ying goes to save her sister, while she reprimands the brothers for saving the girl and losing the staff. Sorrow drives them to a certain location, knowing they will find Ying in the area. He tells them they are headed to the spider web cave, showing them the entrance, as he informs them that the passageway inside is complicated, so it is easy to get lost. Sorrow shows them his device, pointing at the signal of the staff, and Yoon is determined to get it back. In the cave, Ying returns to the bandit leader, giving him the staff to save her sister, so he returns Mei to her, who blames herself for the situation, because she went to the valley alone. But Ying is just glad she is okay, and they start walking away. But the bandit suddenly blocks their path, as the boss tells them that they can't leave, saying he has prepared something fun for them. Ying calls him shameless, shooting web with her ring, which she wraps around the boss's legs, taking him down and retrieving the staff. The other bandit charges at her, so she tries to use the staff, scaring the man, but nothing happens, so she just uses her ring to blind him. They start running away, while the two men chase after them, but Mei suddenly trips, telling Ying to leave her behind as the bandits close in, but Ying doesn't leave her, summoning a giant web to trap them, but the boss slices through it and tries to attack them. He ends up hitting the ground, separating the sisters, and Mei tries to kick the scrawny bandit, but he easily catches her leg, while Ying dodges the boss's attack. The scrawny bandit tries to stab her from behind, but she uses her web to pin his hand against the wall. The boss takes another swing at her, but Ying jumps away, trying to hit him with her web. However, he summons rock from the ground, which hits her and knocks her down. Mei checks up on her, and Ying tells her to just run, but the other bandit manages to get free, and he traps them in a barrier. Meanwhile, Sorrow tells them it will be difficult to precisely locate the staff within the cave, so Yin suggests splitting up, and he takes Shen with him. They run through the cave, and Shen thinks they're going the wrong way, but Yin tells him about the unique scent on Ying. They see the sisters as they are trapped in a barrier. Mei begs the boss not to hurt Ying, saying she will do anything, and he tells her she will be treated well as long as she behaves. The bandit removes the barrier, and the boss slowly makes his way towards them, but Ying attacks with her ring, scratching his face. The boss becomes angry, summoning rock spikes to attack her, but Mei jumps in the way. She is happy to be able to protect her sister, but she passes out. Yun becomes angry, charging with his swords, but the boss blocks his attack. Shen tries to ambush the other bandit with a rock, but the bandit dodges and kicks him away. There is suddenly an explosion, which creates an opening in the cave, and they are joined by Shu and Sorrow. Shu fires her cannon at Ying, but Yun blocks the blast, deflecting it into the ceiling. The brothers try to stop Shu from shooting again, telling her she should be targeting the bandits. They see a barrier surrounding the bandits, and they notice how the bandits are using the power of the soul fragment, saying they have absorbed it into their bodies. Shu wants to destroy them, but Yun gets in the way, telling the sisters to run. The boss claps his hands, causing his men to appear, and he orders them to attack. The bandits charge at them, but Sorrow uses his tornado magic and blows them all away. The bandit leader tries to kill Shen, but Yun gets in his way, telling Shen to run with the sisters. Shu extends claws from her cannon, and she pushes the boss back. Sorrow uses magic to create a thunder cloud, and the scrawny bandit tries to create a barrier, but Shu punches him away, while Sorrow summons a thunderbolt and electrocutes the boss. The brothers help the two girls get away, and Ying apologizes for lying to them, but Shen tells her it's not her fault, knowing she did it for her sister. The bandit boss gets back up, attacking with his fists, while Sorrow jumps back, using a fire spell on the boss. But he creates a rock shield, reflecting the flames back onto Sorrow. Shu comes to his rescue, clashing with the boss, and they are both pushed back. The boss starts using the power of the soul fragment, which is revealed to be only a small portion of the fragment's power, but it is still a threat to them. The boss launches rocks at them, while Sorrow creates a water shield, but it is not strong enough, so they jump away as Shu fires her cannon. The boss uses a rock to make the projectile explode in midair, but it breaks into smaller projectiles, causing an explosion around the boss, and he uses a rock shell to defend himself. He starts to think he's invincible, but he doesn't realize he is standing in water, and Sorrow uses his lightning on it, electrocuting him while Shu fires her cannon, and the boss is defeated. They retrieve the soul fragment from his body, and they escape from the cave before it collapses. Meanwhile, we see the brothers with the two girls, but the scrawny bandit suddenly lunges at them. Shen tackles him away, but the bandit immediately gets up, wanting to attack Shen, but Yun interferes. The bandit dodges Yun's attack, and counters with a kick, pushing him back. Tentacles appear behind the bandit, attacking Yun as they exchange blows. The bandit jumps, launching his tentacles at Yun, who barely evades the attacks. Yoon is at a disadvantage, so Shen grabs onto the bandit, while Yoon dashes toward him, but the bandit traps Yoon inside a barrier as he kicks Shen away. Yoon slashes at the barrier as the bandit uses petrification magic on him, slowly turning him into stone. Shen pounds on the barrier until his fist starts bleeding, but it does nothing, and the bandit pushes him to the side. Shen starts to cry, thinking he is useless, but at that moment, the staff starts glowing, and Shen grabs onto it, transforming it into its true form. He uses it to break the barrier, and also reverses the petrification spell. The bandit kicks him away, grabbing onto the golden staff, but it immediately transforms into a small iron stick. He tries to turn it back into the golden staff, but his arm gets sliced off, as Yoon's petrification has been completely dispelled. They begin to exchange blows, but the bandit notices Yoon's speed improving, reminding him of a certain warrior. Yoon manages to land a hit on the bandit, making him fall to his knees. But the bandit knows that demon hunters can't kill humans. Yoon says he doesn't deserve to be a human, but the bandit laughs, telling Yoon how he reminds him of the twin blade hunter, thinking Yoon must be his descendant. He says that over a dozen years ago, he was ordered by his master to find the twin blade hunter, and they ended up fighting. Yoon wants to know more about the hunter, but the bandit suddenly hears the ring of a bell and ends up dying, releasing the soul fragment from his body. Back in their ship, Saro tries to heal Mei with his magic, but her injury is just too severe. Ying thinks she is going to die, but Saro suggests sacrificing her body to seal her soul, so that when the gods are freed, she can be resurrected in another body. Ying accepts his idea, and Saro seals her sister's soul into her ring, and she feels as though her sister is still with her. Meanwhile, Shen wonders why he has been chosen, seeing himself as incompetent because he couldn't save anyone, but Yoon reminds him of how he saved him from the bandit, saying he has potential. He tells him that Mei can still be saved if they can collect all the fragments and free the gods, so he tells him not to lose hope. They return to the ship, and the fragments are absorbed into the staff. Ying asks to join them on their quest, wanting to do what she can for her sister, and Yoon is happy to have her on the team as they continue on their journey to save the world. They arrive in an industrial city, but Shen is not feeling well, and the heat is making things worse. Yoon asks Saro if he can help his brother, but he tells Yoon not to worry, saying this is what happens when the staff absorbs the fragments, and that Shen should feel better after they get medicine from the sage's shop. They enter a strange store, which is full of women's clothes, but the shopkeeper approaches Shu, recognizing who she is. He mentions how the immortals have rarely visited his store after the celestial realm was sealed, so he was forced to sell other goods to survive. He activates a secret switch, transforming his store into one that caters to immortals. Shu immediately demands a sensu bean, so he quickly finds it for her, and she shoves it down Shen's throat. Yoon wonders what they gave his brother, and the shopkeeper explains that the sensu bean reduces the discomfort caused by the overload of magic power, and it even has healing properties. Yoon is impressed and wants to buy a bag of them, but the shopkeeper tells him it costs 2 billion won. Yoon doesn't have that kind of money, but Saro offers to pay, revealing he has trillions of won in his account. Shu wonders why the city has gotten hotter, and the shopkeeper tells her about a meteorite that fell from the sky 100 years ago. He says the climate has been hotter ever since, and it now serves as the industrial furnace of the city. Saro thinks it will slowly cool down, but the shopkeeper tells them that the whole city needs it, and he mentions Faizan, who is the actual ruler of the city. Shu wonders why he doesn't stand up to him, but the shopkeeper says Faizan is a high-level demon that is even a threat to fairies. Saro asks Shen to spin the staff around, so he gives it a go, and it allows Saro to see that the meteorite is responding to the staff, so he concludes that there is a soul fragment in the meteorite, but the rod falls as the necklace breaks. As Shu is about to leave with Saro, Yoon volunteers to go with them, but Shu warns him it won't be like anything he has faced before, but Yoon is determined to go. He leaves Shen with Ying, and he leaves to join the others. They reach their location, and Saro opens a map, revealing that Faizan is on the top floor of the building. While Shu and Saro discuss their plan to reach the top floor, Yoon breaks into the building, calling out to Faizan, and this alerts everyone to their presence. Back at the shop, Shen gets a vision of the Guardian as he stood against the demons. He used his staff against them, destroying them with ease, but the demon King Mara attacks with an energy blast, piercing his chest and scattering his soul fragments across the human realm. Shen realizes they now have 2 of those fragments, which they got from the bandits they defeated. The bandits' spirits tell him he's weak, but if he uses the power of the Guardian, his power will be unrivaled. They tempt him to sacrifice his soul to receive the power, but he refuses the offer, causing the rod to shine brightly. It transforms into a giant staff, emerging from the ground, as the voice of the guardian tells Shen his soul and spirit will become one with him. Shen regains consciousness, but he panics as he sees Ying so close to him, so he accidentally drops the staff. Ying picks it up, and she shows it to the shopkeeper. When she returns, she has fixed his necklace, replacing it with some silver thread. Meanwhile, the trio takes out the enemies, and they reach a hall full of a woman's portrait, where Phison makes his appearance. Yun charges at him, but he activates his fire skill, forcing Yun to fall back. Phison is happy to see Shu and Sorrow, seeing them as worthy opponents, as he walks toward them, ready to take them on. He knows they are after the soul fragment, revealing it's in his body, as he challenges them to take it by force. Yun lunges at him, but Phison uses a fire barrier to defend himself, and strikes back, calling forth a pillar of fire. However, Yun stands his ground, as his swords absorb the flames. Seeing this, Phison uses a fire blast to blow him away, and Sorrow catches him as he falls. Sorrow warns Phison that the fire in his body could react with the meteorite and bring disaster to the city, so he suggests giving up his soul to prevent this, but Phison says he can just use the blood of immortals to solve the problem. Sorrow realizes he is planning to use a forbidden technique, asking him where he will move the meteorite. Phison reveals he is planning to smash the immortal palace into pieces, so Shu takes out her cannon, firing at him, as he defends using a shield. He attacks Shu with his fire whip, wrapping it around her cannon, and causing it to overheat. Sorrow tries to cool it down with some water, but it doesn't work, so she is forced to throw it away. Phison launches a fireball at Shu, but Yun defends her, telling her to return to the shopkeeper. Shu and Sorrow retreat, as lava erupts from the industrial furnace, causing everyone to panic. Phison rains fire at Yun, who throws his sword at his opponent and appears behind him, managing to land an attack, but it turns out to be an illusion. Phison wraps his whip around Yun's leg, smashing him against the ground. Phison is about to finish him off, but Sorrow returns, conjuring an ice wall and allowing them to escape. Phison sees blood on the ground, and he uses it to begin his ritual, launching the meteorite off the ground. As it pierces the sky, Sorrow notes that its structure has changed over the last century, so it will likely shatter before it reaches the Immortal Palace, and the fragments will rain upon the city. At that moment, meteorites fall from the sky, threatening everyone, and the trio makes their way back to the shop to find a solution. Ying and Shen run for shelter, but Shen sees a girl crying, so he rushes to her, telling her to take shelter with him, but a nearby building crumbles, and they are about to get hit by the debris. But Ying uses her web to save them, and they all make it to the shelter. Shen is worried about his brother, but the shopkeeper assures him he has already taken a senzu bean, so he just needs time to recover. The shelter begins to fall apart, making everyone worried, as the shopkeeper tells them about the core of the industrial furnace, which can help control the heat, but he doesn't know where it is. Sorrow thinks it could be the key to ending the catastrophe, but the shopkeeper knows it's heavily guarded, so the group thinks Ying could steal it. Ying remembers her oath to never steal again, but the shopkeeper states that the core is a weapon of the immortals, so it wouldn't be called stealing, since they are just taking it back. Ying infiltrates the building, taking out the officers in charge of surveillance, and using the cameras to locate the secretary. She ambushes the secretary, trying to interrogate her, but she fights back, wrapping her tie around Ying's arm before launching an attack. But Ying uses her web to restrain the secretary, and she continues her interrogation, asking her about the core. Meanwhile, the shelter continues to fall apart, as Phison throws fireballs, telling the fairies to come out. Shu brings out her cannon, as she thinks about buying time until Ying returns, and Sorrow joins her in the plan. Back in the building, Ying's interrogation is successful, and she makes her way to the core, but she activates an alarm, causing a large robot to block her path. Destruction spreads throughout the city, as Phison walks around. In a flashback, we see a red-haired girl trying to stop a thief, when he suddenly pulls out a knife. Phison stops the thief, knocking him down, and he checks up on the girl. They start dating, and they eventually get married, but one day, war breaks out in the higher realms, and fire rains upon the city. He sees the giant meteorite as it descends from the sky, and it ends up hitting the building where his wife is. Back in the present, Shu and Sorrow confront him, and they start fighting, as he blames the immortals for his fate. He casts a fire blast, which Sorrow tries to block with an ice barrier, but it ends up breaking. The golden staff suddenly falls in front of them, shielding them as Shen joins the fight. Shen implores Phison to stop, telling him that everyone is suffering, and the city will end up becoming a ruin like it did 100 years ago. Phison starts crying, as he remembers when he saw his wife's body buried under the rubble. It was then that he found the soul fragment, giving him the powers that he has now. He reveals he wants to get revenge on the Immortals for causing the destruction 100 years ago. And Sorrow explains that during the war, the Demon King tried to destroy the Immortal Palace with a meteorite, but they created a protective field to change its trajectory, causing it to fall to the lower realm. Phison claims that the Immortals don't value human lives, as he throws a fireball at Shu, but Shen protects her with his barrier. Shen tells him that if he destroys the city, he is no different from the Immortals, saying he can't change the past. But this causes him to transform into a wolf monster, and he throws a punch, blowing Shen away. Meanwhile, Ying defeats the robot, and she walks to the core, trying to grab it with her web, but it doesn't work, as her web gets frozen. Phison is about to breathe fire, but he feels a certain energy, which makes him realize they are after the core. He becomes enraged, throwing a fireball which causes a massive explosion, before he makes his way back to the core. Shen protects them with his barrier, and they think about stopping Phison, but Shu is in no condition to go. Shen volunteers to go after him, so Sorrow tells him to save Ying, as he uses a teleportation spell on him. The wall around the core breaks, so Ying hides, as a strange man makes his entrance. He takes the core with his hand, which starts to freeze, but it's stopped thanks to the armor he's wearing. At that moment, Phison arrives, telling him to put it down. They start fighting, grappling with each other, but neither of them are backing down. The man explains the core is a gift for his sister, as he transforms into a massive bull, overpowering Phison. The man drives his claw through Phizon's chest, defeating him, and the soul fragment comes out of his body. The man takes the fragment, putting it in a box along with the core. He sees the meteor descending upon the city, wanting to see how powerful it is. But at that moment, the box is knocked out of his hand, as Shen extends his staff. The man grabs onto it, but he realizes his life force is being absorbed, so he quickly pulls it away, charging at Shen with his axe, but Ying saves him in the nick of time. The staff keeps absorbing his life force, so he ends up cutting his arm off. He decides to retreat, using a strange stone, and he teleports away. The giant meteor is about to destroy the city, but Phison tells Shen he can stop it by breaking the core. So Shen takes his staff and strikes the core, causing the city to be covered with ice, freezing the meteor and causing it to shatter. Phison cries as he realizes he failed his wife, but his wife's soul appears before him, telling him he protected the city, hugging him as he passes away. The group continues their journey, as they make their way to a river that can heal Yun's wounds. They arrive at a seemingly abandoned desert town, where they suddenly experience a power malfunction. Sorrow goes to check it out, and the brothers think Sorrow has been behaving strangely. Shu reveals the town used to be a trading area with the people around, and Sorrow's army was stationed in the mine area, but she refuses to go on, not wanting to expose him. Yun thinks they should support him, so the brothers go to Sorrow, who tells them he doesn't need help, explaining that the ship's power crystal is broken, so they should look for a replacement in the nearby mine. However, he claims the situation in the mine is complicated, so he wants to go alone. Yun offers his help, but Sorrow tells him not to get in his way. We learn that Sorrow was sent on a mission to investigate the mines with his team. His teammates joke around as they make their way to the mines, and we see his teammate holding onto a certain helmet, which is the same as the one he now finds in the sand. Shen starts to get worried, because Sorrow is taking a long time to return, so he asks Shu to track his location. Yun says Sorrow will probably run away if anything bad happens, but Shu tells him to shut up, because he has no idea what Sorrow has been through. As Sorrow walks to the mine, he remembers his teammates, and in a flashback, we see his team entering the mines. They look for the human miners that have gone missing, but it's too dark, so one of them lights up the area, revealing miner helmets scattered around the area. They see a hole that leads to the underground mine, and Sorrow checks out the map, seeing vital signs underground, so they think the miners must be hiding there. His teammates sense the danger, saying they are not equipped for combat, but Sorrow reminds them about their mission, ordering them to prepare for battle. His team jumps into the hole, and they blast zombies as they see them. Sorrow thinks they are the missing miners, but there's too many of them, so they start running away. The zombies block their path, so his teammate throws grenades and tells them to take cover. The zombies are taken out, but one of them gets injured, and as they walk away, the blood on the ground forms a sigil. They reach a safe spot, where they use some cables to send a message to HQ, requesting backup. However, as they send the message, the wall behind his teammate breaks, and he suffers a fatal injury as a monster appears behind him, which they recognize as the corpse-reaping beast. Back in the present, Yoon knows about the beast, saying it's a powerful monster that eats corpses, which is a threat even to the immortals. Shu adds that it can only live in the dark demon realm, so it's not even supposed to be in the mines. Shu tracks Sorrow's location, and we see he is now gathering crystals, but he notices he is standing on a sigil. He recognizes it as a formation to open the demon realm's passage, which is activated by the blood of an immortal. This explains how the monster was able to enter the mines, and he realizes that his team was the sacrifice for the formation. The beast appears before him, so he prepares for battle, as he remembers how his team was killed by the monster. Sorrow tried to save his friend, but he tells Sorrow to complete the mission, knowing he can't be saved. However, Sorrow tried to fight the monster, crushing it with a stone pillar, but it had no effect. Sorrow collapses, but his friend steps forward, sacrificing his life to trap the monster. Sorrow gets a vision of his teammates, and he cries as he apologizes for failing to protect them, but they tell him not to give up, saying it's not time for him to join them, telling him to find the truth behind the formation. Sorrow wakes up as Shen calls out to him, and he sees the others fighting against the monster. Shu blasts it with her cannon, but it has no effect, so Sorrow tells Shen to protect everyone with his barrier, as he traps the monster in a formation. Shen wonders if he is planning to sacrifice himself, and Sorrow says he doesn't want to lose any more friends. The others continue to gang up on the monster, but it just throws them away. Sorrow approaches the monster, preparing to sacrifice his life, but Shen stops him and uses his staff to blow a hole in the ceiling. With the monster exposed to sunlight, it quickly crumbles, and everyone makes it out alive. Sorrow honors his fallen comrades, as he vows to discover the truth behind the sigil, and he joins the group as they continue their journey to gather the soul fragments. They arrive at the healing river, and Sorrow reveals that people also go to that river to pray for their wishes to come true. Ying wonders why there aren't a lot of people around the river, and Shu explains that it's because of the incident in the mine, which made the fairies withdraw from the area, thinking there are demons. This gave the area a bad reputation, so everyone is now afraid to go there, because they could die before they reach the river. Shen and Yun bathe at the river, and Shen notices that Yun's wounds are healing. They see a mysterious man named Mugen staring at the sky, so Yun approaches him, trying to talk to him, but Mugen ignores him. He walks closer, as Shen gives him his equipment, asking him about the man. Yun thinks Mugen is not an ordinary person, and Shen senses the danger, suggesting that they should go back. Yun agrees to this, but Mugen notices his swords, and they are stopped by him. Mugen remembers the duel he had with the strongest demon hunter named Chen, who also wielded the twin swords. Chen tries to fight him with one sword, but he gets pushed back, so he decides to get serious, pulling out his second sword. Their swords clash, and they appear to be evenly matched. Mugen unleashes his ultimate skill, shattering the ground around him, as Chen spins his swords around, combining his swords, and transforming it into a double-bladed staff. They charge at each other with everything they have, and Chen comes out on top, as Mugen gets injured, leaving a scar on his face. Mugen tells Yun about this, but Yun thinks that his story doesn't make sense, because the swords were given to him by his father. However, Mugen is convinced that he is holding onto Chen's swords, saying he doesn't deserve to wield it, because he isn't the strongest demon hunter. Yun says he intends to become the strongest, and he thinks he must defeat Mugen to earn that title. They are about to fight, but Chen gets in the way, telling Mugen that they don't know anything about Chen, and at that moment, Shu arrives, and Shen informs her about the situation. Shu tells Mugen not to cause trouble, but he swings his sword, intentionally missing her, but the attack destroys a massive rock in the distance, surprising everyone. Mugen wants to fight Yun, but Ying suddenly arrives, recognizing him as the strongest swordsman of the demon clan, because of the sword he's wielding. Ying tells Mugen that Yun is not in his best condition, saying they went there to heal him because he's injured, so she suggests waiting for him to recover before they fight. Mugen gives Yun half a day to recover, as he spreads his energy around the area, telling them that they will all die if they try to escape. They return to the ship, where Ying reveals that Mugen stole the sacred sword from the demon clan. This angered the former demon king, so he tried to hunt Mugen down, but Mugen killed him in the end. Shu thinks they don't stand a chance against him, but Yin reminds them that he lost to Chen, saying the swords must be the key to defeating him. He reveals that the swords are passed down by the chosen demon hunter, and it contains a hidden power inside, which can only be activated by the chosen one. He thinks that he might be able to use the sword's power, but Shu says it's too risky, suggesting that they should retreat. However, Sorrow knows that they can't escape, saying Mugen will know about this because he spread his energy around the area. Yoon tells them that he won't retreat, saying he won't put their lives at risk, as he tells them that they will likely encounter more powerful opponents in the future. He remembers how he survived because of his father's courage, saying he never ran away from the demons, and he says he will protect Shen, but Shen claims he doesn't need to be protected. Yoon bathes at the river, and Ying joins him, knowing that he always had a thing for her. She notices the scars on his body, seeing it as proof that he protected Shen, and she tells him that Shen is afraid to lose him, revealing that she still can't get over the death of her sister. She doesn't want Shen to feel the same pain she is feeling now, so she tells Yoon not to die. The next day, Yoon has fully recovered, and Sorrow uses his magic to improve his speed. He also wears a spider silk armor that was made by Ying, and it's exceptionally tough. Yoon tells Shen that his opponent is stronger than him, so he might end up dying, but he explains that he can't back down because demon hunters need courage to defeat evil. Yoon believes that they need to risk their lives even if the opponent is stronger than them, saying they can defeat any opponent if they turn fear into courage. In a flashback, we see a young Yoon looking at the twin swords. He is about to touch it, but Gong stops him, telling him not to mess around. Gong reveals that only the chosen demon slayer can wield it, and even he isn't worthy to do so. Yoon wants to be the chosen one, but Gong calls him arrogant, saying he still has a long way to go. Back in the present, Yoon tries to attack Mugen, but he gets pushed back. Mugen counters, slashing his chest, but his armor protects him, but when Mugen thrusts at him, the armor isn't enough, and he gets injured. Sorrow notes that Mugen's sword is longer, so he has the advantage in terms of reach. As Yoon struggles to dodge Mugen's attacks, he remembers when he would fight against his father, who would hit him on the head with his staff. Yoon calls him a cheater because of the length of his weapon, and he starts running away as Gong chases after him. Yoon suddenly throws his weapon, but Gong deflects it and knocks him down, causing him to yield. Gong tells him that his tricks aren't effective, telling him he needs to train. We see Yoon training at night, when he is suddenly attacked by bats. He swings his sword around, but he can't hit them, and they surround him, as he notes that the bats aren't afraid of him despite his longer reach. As a bat bites him, he realizes that a weapon's reach can be countered with good technique. The next day, we learn that the bats have been defeated. Yoon has a rematch with his father, where he is able to pressure him with his technique. Gong attacks with his staff, but Yoon narrowly evades it, and he manages to catch his father, winning the duel. Yoon's fight against Mugen continues, and he throws sand around so that he can close the distance. They fiercely exchange blows, and Yoon parries his attack, following up with his own strike. Everyone thinks Mugen is done for, but Mugen survives, saying it's time for him to get serious. A dark energy surrounds his blade, as he attacks with a skill which causes Yoon's armor to crack. Ying reveals that the armor will break if the same point is attacked repeatedly, and Mugen continues to use the skill as Yoon struggles to dodge the attacks, but he ends up getting hit, causing the armor to break. Yoon tells Mugen that he's too strong, saying he doesn't stand a chance. In another flashback, a man tells him that there is a monster in the village, so he starts looking for his father, but Gong is nowhere to be found. He takes the swords from the house, and he rushes to the village, but along the way, he sees a bear trying to attack Shen. Yoon throws snowballs at the bear, grabbing its attention as he prepares to fight it. Back in the present, Yoon continues to fight, as he notes that Mugen is so much better than him, but he knows that he must fight on, because it is his duty to protect Shen. Yoon gets knocked down, as Mugen tells him that he's just wasting his life, because he's too weak to protect other people. But Yoon thinks that it is worth sacrificing his life to protect someone important. He recalls that when he fought the bear, he got injured, and his blood flowed through his swords, unlocking a mysterious power which surrounded the swords with a dark aura. He becomes filled with killing intent, and he charges at the bear, but Gong suddenly arrives, knocking him down. Gong tells the bear to hibernate in the cave, threatening to kill it if it causes any more trouble, and the bear crawls away. They return to the house, where Yoon apologizes for his actions, asking him why he doesn't want anyone to use the twin swords. Gong tells him that the weapon requires discipline, because its power could backfire. He reveals that the user can sacrifice his blood to awaken the demon in the sword, and acquire greater power. However, this is a very risky technique, because the user could end up losing his life in the process. Yoon decides to try this out, slashing his arms, and causing his blood to cover his swords. He becomes surrounded by a dark aura, as he lets out a powerful scream. Mugen recognizes the technique as blood sacrifice, and Yoon swiftly dashes toward him, blowing him away. With this new power, Yoon manages to pressure his opponent, as Saro notes that the power isn't human. Yoon corners Mugen, but he tells Yoon that it's not enough, and Yoon gets pushed back. Mugen tells him that he's nowhere near Chen's level, saying he lacks the intent to kill. We return to the battle between Mugen and Chen, where Mugen wonders what he's thinking about, because he doesn't seem to care about winning. Chen states that he just wants to end everything, but Mugen thinks that he speaks nonsense. He thinks that fighting is about the survival of the fittest, but Chen doesn't share his sentiment, saying it's a path that never ends. Mugen charges at him, but as they exchange blows, Chen tells him that there are beings superior to them, so his quest to become the strongest will never end. Chen uses his ultimate skill to defeat Mugen, and to this day, he still remembers the attack, knowing Chen could have ended his life that day. Mugen manages to push Yoon back, throwing him into the river, but he immediately gets back up, as Mugen wonders if Yoon will be able to make his wish come true. Yoon continues to fight back, and he is happy because Yoon is finally putting up a good fight. Shu thinks Yoon is about to turn the tables, but he suddenly approaches them, which makes them confused, as they wonder what's wrong with him. They realize he has lost control, and he starts to attack them. He starts seeing everyone as enemies, so he charges at Ying, but she manages to dodge his attacks. Saro blows him away with his magic, and he freezes him while he's down. Shin checks up on him, but Yoon pushes him away. Yoon says that he will kill all demons, as he breaks free from the ice, trying to attack Ying again, but he gets stabbed by Mugen, causing him to fall and lose consciousness. Yoon gets a vision of the twin swords, saying he can still fight, so he asks it to give him its power, as he grabs onto it. He sees the memory of Chen, who goes to a village on a mission with Gong. As they walk around the village, they realize that everyone is suffering because of the famine. Gong gives the children some food, as an old man asks Chen to save everyone. A child comes running, warning everyone that the demons have arrived to eat them, as demons appear, and one of them tries to attack Chen, but he is instantly taken out. The demons gang up on Chen, but he easily takes them all out. He makes his way to a nearby cave, where he sees demon children crying. An old demon begs him to spare the children, as he bows before him, saying the kids are innocent. Gong catches up with him, reminding him about their mission to kill the demons, but Chen says he just can't do it, because he doesn't want to slaughter the other races for the humans to survive. Gong thinks they need to eliminate the demons to make the world a better place, but Chen disagrees, saying endless killing can never change the world. He tells Gong that he's going to the west, thinking he will find a way to end everything, as he promises to return one day. Chen reaches a city, which is littered with demon corpses. He inspects one of the bodies, and he learns that the attacker used a deadly sword technique. He investigates a building, where he encounters Mugen, who has just finished killing the demons. Mugen can feel the souls of all the demons that Chen has killed, thinking he must be the strongest human alive, so he challenges him to a fight. After some time, we see Gong leading a group of humans during winter, and they take shelter in a cave. As Gong stares at the horizon, he sees a man approaching, and he realizes that it's Chen, and we see him holding onto a baby. They go back to his house, and Gong offers to take care of the child. Chen seems to have learned something during his quest, saying there's going to be chaos, and he gives Gong his swords, telling him that he doesn't have much time left, so they need to leave the future to the children. Yoon regains consciousness as he lies on the healing river. Mugen removes his sword, and he starts walking away, saying Chen spared him in the past, so he's just returning the favor, but he tells Yoon that he won't show mercy next time, saying he owes him a real battle. Mugen leaves, and Yoon's injuries are healed, and Shen is glad he is okay. Yoon tells Shen about his dream, saying it must have been a memory fragment left in the twin swords. Shen wonders if his staff also has something to do with Chen, but Yoon says they will need to find the soul fragments to figure it out. They return to the ship, but they don't know what to do next, because they need to gather the soul fragments, but also learn about the secrets behind the twin swords. Saro tells them about Xiaolan, the most well-informed place in the world, and he mentions it's the only city where immortals reside in this realm. Its civilization is incredibly advanced, and the brothers are excited to see it, so they make their way to the city. At Xiaolan City, we meet the young master Chen Yu, as a Persian princess is presented to him as a bride candidate. His butler Fu informs him that she is good at dancing, and she demonstrates this on the spot, but Chen Yu isn't impressed, so Fu tells her to leave. Fu wonders why he doesn't like any of the princesses presented to him, since he has already rejected 999 candidates, but he is confident that Chen Yu will like the last one, as he calls out to an evil enchantress. A charming woman appears, and she manages to grab Chen Yu's attention, but when she removes her mask, revealing a hideous face, he is instantly turned off, and he runs away in horror. While outside, Chen Yu recovers from the traumatic experience, and he thinks Fu has terrible taste in women. He reveals he is already in love, and it turns out he likes Shu. We learn that she made a promise to marry him when she returns, and Fu tells him that he will prepare a wedding for them as soon as she arrives. Meanwhile, Shu is acting weird, and Sorrow wonders if it's because she doesn't want to go to Xiaolan City. Shu tells him that the governor of the city may not have the answer they're looking for, but Sorrow thinks that the emperor might be able to help them. At that moment, Shen tells them that the staff is responding to a soul fragment, and it's pointing toward the city. They arrive at the entrance of the city, and they are surprised by how beautiful it is. The guard stops them as a drone scans each of them, and the drone allows them to enter. There is suddenly an announcement that young Master Chen Yu will have a grand wedding in 3 days, inviting everyone to attend the ceremony. Shu is surprised that Chen Yu is about to get married, and she seems to be upset. As they walk around the city, a fruit vendor tells them that her goods are free to celebrate the young master's wedding. Shu pesters her about the details of the wedding, wanting to know everything about it, while Ying wonders why she cares so much about it. At that moment, a group of soldiers arrive, welcoming them to the city as distinguished guests, and telling them that the young master is waiting for them at the palace. They are surprised by this treatment, and they enter the palace, where they have an amazing meal, as Chen Yu welcomes them to the city. Ying congratulates Chen Yu on his engagement, saying it was a surprise, so they weren't able to prepare a gift for him. However, Chen Yu states that they already have the biggest gift for him, and they realize that Shu is actually the bride. We learn that Fu has already made preparations for the wedding, when they confirm that Shu returned to the city. Chen Yu reveals that he has recorded her information in the security system, so the wedding festival was automatically triggered when she returned, reminding her about the promise she made to him. In a flashback, we see a young Shu protecting Chen Yu from a group of bullies. The bullies look down on Chen Yu because he's from the lower realm, so they threaten to beat him up, but Shu defeats all of them. Chen Yu thanks Shu for saving him, saying she's amazing, and he wants her to go to Xiaolan City when she grows up, because he wants her to be his bride. Shu wonders what a bride is, and Chen Yu tells her that the bride gets to spend all of his pocket money, so she promises to be his bride. Back in the present, Chen Yu reveals that he has been waiting for her to return, and he is happy that they can now hold the wedding. However, Shu tells him that she didn't know what a bride was because she was too young at the time. She reveals that she asked the bullies to target him, threatening to beat them up if they didn't comply, because she wanted him to owe her and pay for her food. But Chen Yu says he doesn't care, saying those details don't matter, because she already made a promise to him, and she returned to the city. Yun tells him that Shu returned for the wedding, and this makes her upset, as Shen notices that she doesn't want to get married, but Yun thinks that they could use the wedding to meet the emperor, so they all decide to play along. Sorrow gives a signal to Shu, reminding her about their mission to find the soul fragments. She knows that she needs to deal with Chen Yu to complete the mission, so she decides to play her part until the day of the wedding. Shu goes to her room, as the others gather outside, discussing what they should do next. They are worried about Shu, and Ying wonders if she will stay in the city to get married, but everyone thinks it's impossible. The staff responds to a soul fragment, and Sorrow tracks its location, giving them a lead to follow. That evening, we see Shu in her room, thinking about the promise that she made. She doesn't want to proceed with the wedding, so she plans to run away after they complete their mission. But we learn Chen Yu is actually the holder of the soul fragment, and he swears he will never allow Shu to leave again. We see Yun and Ying drinking together, when a woman catches their attention. She bumps into a man, and she realizes that she lost her necklace, so she starts asking for help. Yun tries to stop the thief, trying to act cool, but the thief runs past him and manages to escape. The woman arrives with the guards, telling them that Yun is the thief because he's wearing her necklace. The guards arrest him, and Yun tries to explain that he has been framed, but they don't believe him. Ying tells them that he is a guest of Chen Yu, so they check their records, but the guards reveal that Yun and Ying are listed as illegal immigrants, so they start running away. Meanwhile, Shen and Sorrow are searching for the soul fragment, but they can't find it. The staff points to the city gate, and Shen thinks that the fragment isn't in the city, so they go outside, but as they reach a forest, the staff stops responding. They decide to head back, but as they arrive at the entrance, they hear an announcement saying the gates will be closed until the wedding ceremony, and no one will be allowed to enter the city. Shen rushes to the gate, but a barrier repels him as Sorrow wonders why the city has been locked down. They meet an old man who reveals that he collected herbs for his sick daughter, wondering how he can enter the city. Shin speaks to the guards, telling them about the old man, but they tell him that they are just following orders from Shen Yu, and they can't allow anyone to enter. Sorrow wonders if this has happened before, but the man tells him that this is the first time. Shin tries to use a grappling hook, but the barrier prevents it from touching the wall, so Sorrow uses his magic to help him reach the top, but his magic is suddenly dispelled. He notes that the barrier is too strong, and Shen wonders how they can enter the city. The man tells them that there is another way, revealing that there is a secret tunnel that leads to the city. He leads them to an opening, allowing them to enter the tunnel. As they explore it, Shen hits a barrier, pushing him back, and Sorrow recognizes it as the work of immortals. He realizes that he can pass through the barrier, thinking the tunnel was built for immortals. He searches for a switch, and he injures his hand, activating a mechanism with his blood, which removes the barrier, allowing his companions to enter. They reach the end of the tunnel, and they climb to the top, but they realize that they have just interrupted a performance. Sorrow uses his magic, allowing Shen to perform acrobatic moves, and the crowd is convinced that this is part of the performance. But a woman reports them to a guard, so they start running away, as the guard chases after them. They hide in a crowd, allowing them to lose the guard, but they realize that they're in the news, and the people stare at them, so they dash away. Shen wonders why the old man disappeared, and Sorrow thinks that they fell for his trap, saying everything appears to be arranged. We see the servants preparing Shu for the wedding, and Fu tells her that Chen Yu is waiting for her. She meets him in a studio, where they have their pictures taken. He is about to kiss her, but she stops him, wondering why he wants to marry her, because he already knows that she manipulated the bullies, but he reveals the true reason why he was bullied. In a flashback, we learn that Shu was popular in the academy, and Xin Yu wanted to grab her attention. So he asks the bullies to help him, saying he will give them food if they bully him. They decide to help him out, and Shu interferes, beating them up, so he thanks her for saving him, saying he will buy food for her. Back in the present, Chen Yu reveals that he did all of this so that he can show off his wealth and ask her to marry him. He reveals that he can't leave the city because of his duties, but he is happy that she arrived, telling her to rule the city with him. But she tells him that she didn't go to the city to marry him, saying she just went to the city to find the soul fragment. He is devastated to hear this, thinking he deserves to be rejected, but he suddenly hugs her, and the photographer takes their picture, saying he was able to get a good shot. The picture is displayed in public, and Shen sees this, so he wonders what's happening. Sorrow thinks about everything that happened, and he concludes that Shu is in danger. Shu becomes upset, because Chen Yu is pushing her to marry him, but she suddenly becomes submissive, as he uses the soul fragment, saying he doesn't want her to take any more risks. We see an announcement about the wedding, revealing that invitations were sent to sect representatives. Ying wonders how they can enter the palace, and Yun thinks about charging head-on, but she tells him that she has another plan. We see two men with invitations to the wedding, and Ying approaches them, asking them if she can sit with them. They are stunned by her beauty, and they allow her to join them. She tells them that she was just passing by the city, but she is now trapped, because the city has been locked down. They offer her accommodation, but they start fighting over her. While they are distracted, Ying uses her web to take the invitations, and she sends them to Yun. Ying continues to distract them, and they continue to fight over her. But they eventually realize that their invitations have been stolen, and she is nowhere to be found. Yun and Ying discuss how they can enter the palace, thinking Yun's swords are going to be a problem. But he decides that he will pretend to be a weapon merchant, who will present the twin swords to Chen Yu as an offering, and Ying decides to pose as his wife. Shen and Sorrow have been captured, but Sorrow tells them that he is Shu's personal nurse, and that she needs to undergo magic treatment, because she is suffering from a disease, saying the wedding will be ruined if she gets sick. The guards check the camera footage, and they learn that Sorrow was with Shu when she entered the city, so they decide to inform Chen Yu. We see everyone preparing for the wedding, and Chen Yu is looking forward to the event, but a guard approaches him, informing him about Sorrow. We return to the cell, where Sorrow reveals that he was lying about Shu's condition. Shen is still holding onto the staff, and Sorrow thinks that they are about to find the soul fragment. Chen Yu enters the cell, wondering why they return to the city, and he tells them that they'll never see Shu again, because she's about to become his wife. Shen and Sorrow don't believe him, because they know that she will never abandon the mission. But he shows them the soul fragment, and Shen wields the staff, using it to attack him, but he counters, knocking Shen down. He uses the fragment on Sorrow, putting him under his control, and he restrains Shen, using his powers to brainwash him. He tries to take Shen's soul, but he hears the Guardian's voice, and Shen grabs onto him as he realizes that his powers are being absorbed. The Guardian reveals that Shen's body belongs to him, so he won't let Shenyu take it away. Shenyu tries to understand what just happened, noting that he almost lost his powers, so he decides to let Sorrow take care of Shen as he leaves the cell, telling the guards to stay away from it. Sorrow attacks Shen, removing his restraints and launching fireballs, but Shen dodges all of it and he charges at Sorrow, knocking him down. Shen wonders what he should do, thinking he can't defeat Shenyu on his own because he's too weak. But the Guardian calls out to him and takes him to a place which is revealed to be the cage of his powers. The Guardian reveals that the staff is just a lock and he needs to unlock his own powers, saying he needs to remember who he is. He recalls that he is a demon hunter and he suddenly starts falling, but he grabs onto his staff, which starts shining brightly. He returns to the cell, realizing that he's holding onto his staff, so he wonders if it was all an illusion. He screams for help, saying Sorrow has been cursed, and a guard hears him, opening the cell to investigate, but Shen knocks him out. Shen tries to escape the dungeon, but he realizes that he's lost, and a man tells him that he needs a guide. The man offers to show him the way if he opens the door to his cell, revealing that he is the Emperor. He explains that his son Shenyu locked him up, telling the people that the Emperor is living in seclusion so that he can rule the city. He recognizes Shen's staff, convincing Shen that he is telling the truth because the Emperor is known for his knowledge. Shen unlocks the door, and as he removes the Emperor's restraints, he tells him that he wanted to meet him. Shen tells him about the situation, explaining that his group is looking for the soul fragments, but Shenyu is trying to get rid of them, so the Emperor agrees to help them, saying he will bring Shenyu to justice. They try to sneak into the palace, but they are caught by the guards, and they are about to be arrested. But smoke covers the area, as Yun and Ying appear, knocking down the guards. Shen introduces them to the Emperor, telling them that he was locked up in the dungeon, and explaining that Sorrow is still in his cell, because he was brainwashed by Shenyu. Ying thinks that Shu has also been brainwashed, and the Emperor tells them about the soul fragment, saying it has the power to control minds. Yun tests the Emperor, asking him if he knows about the twin swords, so he tells Yun that it was used by Chen, but it looks different from the original one. Yun is convinced that he really is the Emperor, telling him that they need to wear a disguise for the mission, so Yun leaves to get something for Shen and the Emperor. He steals the clothes of the guests and gives it to them, so everyone is now ready for the mission. The guests gather for the wedding, and as Fu delivers a speech, they notice that Sorrow is also in the event. The Emperor says that Shenyu used magic to control the army, so they need to be careful. He tells Yun to challenge Shenyu to a duel, knowing the city's tradition will compel him to accept it, and the Emperor promises to reveal his identity at the right moment. Shenyu and Shu appear before the guests, and they proceed with the marriage, but Yun interrupts them, saying he wants to fight Shenyu, and everyone looks forward to seeing their battle. Fu explains that there is an objection at the wedding, so according to tradition, Shenyu needs to fight Yun. They enter the arena, where Fu introduces Yun to everyone, saying he has spent time traveling with Shu, so he must be in love with her. But Fu thinks that Shenyu's love will prevail, and they prepare to fight, as the crowd wonders how Yun can even win, because he's only human, and he's fighting against an immortal. Yun charges in, and their battle begins, while Ying makes her way to Sorrow, trying to grab his attention, but he isn't responding, because he's still under the effect of the soul fragment. She tries to wake him up, but Shenyu sees her, so he controls Sorrow, causing him to attack her, but she kicks him away. Yun and Shenyu continue to exchange blows, as Shenyu wonders how a mortal can be so powerful. He activates the power of his spear, covering it with ice energy, and he attacks Yun, managing to land a hit. Meanwhile, Shen makes his way to Shu, trying to wake her up, but the Emperor knows that it won't work, because she's still under Shenyu's spell. Yun's injury starts to freeze, as the Emperor explains that the Immortal's weapons contain magic, and Shenyu's spear has the power to freeze a person's blood. Shen thinks that it's time for the Emperor to reveal his identity, but he says that it's not yet time, telling Shen to trust his brother. Shenyu thinks that Yun's twin swords are no match for his spear, but Yun reveals that he has fought against opponents stronger than him. The fight continues, as Shenyu explains that it's better for Shu to stay in the city, because they won't succeed in their mission to collect the soul fragments. He kicks Yun away, telling him that it's impossible for a human to defeat an immortal, but Yun explains that humans can break their limits, and he unleashes his true power. He lunges at Chen Yu, and they continue to exchange blows, as Yun manages to land a hit. Chen Yu decides to fight seriously, saying Yun will die if he can't keep up. They fight with everything they have, destroying their surroundings, and they clash in midair, releasing a shockwave which affects everyone in the area. The Emperor thinks it's time to reveal his identity, so Shen tells everyone not to trust Chen Yu, because he locked the Emperor in a dungeon, so that he can become the ruler of the city. The Emperor reveals himself, and Chen Yu is surprised to see him. He exposes Chen Yu, saying he brainwashed Shu and Saro, and the Emperor orders the guards to arrest him, calling him a traitor. The guards surround him, but he explains that the Emperor is possessed by a demon, and Fu tries to explain the situation, but the Emperor tells the soldiers not to believe them because they are working together. Seeing that he has no choice, Chen Yu uses a skill, blowing the soldiers away and covering the area with ice. But Yun manages to withstand the attack, and Chen Yu wonders how this is even possible. Yun attacks him, but he explains that they are no longer fighting for Shu because the city is in danger. Yun doesn't believe him, but he says that the Emperor tricked them, and they see a dark energy leaving the Emperor's body as the mysterious woman named Suzu appears. She reveals that she was hiding in the Emperor's body, and we learn that he was struggling to contain her, so he ordered his son to seal him in the dungeon. He entrusted the city to Chen Yu, who locked him in the dungeon, ordering the servants to seal the place with magic. Chen Yu is determined to stop Suzu, but Yun is angry because she was the one who killed his father. She remembers him, telling him that he's grown up, and she tells him that Gong was very easy to kill. He charges at her, determined to kill her, but she uses strings to manipulate Shen's body, using him to attack Yun. He tells her to let Shen go, and Chen Yu joins the fight, but she tells him he has another opponent. The old man appears, and he transforms into a demon, the one that Gong defeated. It attacks Yun and Chen Yu, blowing them away, and they realize that they have a common enemy, so they decide to fight together. They struggle against the demon, as Chen Yu notes that his weapon isn't doing damage. So he attaches the soul fragment to his spear, and he strikes the ground to summon ice, immobilizing the demon as Yun attacks it, managing to injure it. But the demon breaks free, and it lunges at Shu, so Chen Yu protects her, impaling it with his spear, but we see that he has been mortally wounded. Yun arrives, launching a combination of attacks, and knocking down the demon. Chen Yu tells Shu that he feels guilty for forcing her to stay, thinking he deserves to die. She tells him that she always valued the promise she made to him, and she just didn't want to marry him right away, because they haven't seen each other for a long time. But he knows that he doesn't have much time left, and he shows her the soul fragment, telling her to use it to protect herself, before drawing his last breath. However, she doesn't use it, and Suzu tries to pull it in, so she becomes angry, using her cannon to blast Suzu, but we see that she has been protected by Shen's barrier. Shu is determined to avenge Chen Yu, but she suddenly collapses, as Suzu tells Yun that his friends are down, saying he doesn't stand a chance on his own. But Yun thinks that this is actually a good thing, because he won't have to worry about hurting his friends, and he uses his blood sacrifice, causing him to go berserk. The demon lunges at him, but he is able to keep up with its movements. However, he is about to lose control, and he tries to resist it, but Suzu realizes that he is vulnerable, so she tries to crush his spirit. He sees a vision, where he is taken back to the time his father was killed. He watches Suzu as she kills Gong, causing him to fall into despair. But he recalls how his father told him that he would be able to unlock the power of the twin swords and become the strongest demon hunter. Suzu is surprised to see that his body is shining brightly, and he sees Chen in his vision. We see that the power of the twin swords has been unlocked, as Chen explains that true power doesn't come from the weapon, but from the wielder who is determined to protect others. Yun uses Chen's ultimate skill, and Suzu recognizes it, knowing how powerful it is, so she orders the demon to defeat him. But he instantly dashes forward, killing the demon in one hit. He appears behind Suzu, telling her that it's over, but Shen attacks him, blowing him away. Shen continues to pursue him, unable to control his movements, and he delivers a devastating blow, knocking Yun down. He is about to finish him off, but Yun restrains him, as he begs Yun to kill him, thinking it's the only way to defeat Suzu. She uses a technique, trying to crush the brothers, but Yun tells Shen not to lose, as he throws him to safety. Suzu thinks that Yun has been crushed to death, and Shen despairs, so he thinks about making a deal with the Guardian, asking him if he can lend his powers, but he tells Shen that he needs to pay with his soul. Suzu's strings suddenly break as Shen unleashes the power of the Guardian. The Guardian tells her that even the immortals fear him, and he is angry because she tried to manipulate his soul. She recognizes him, calling him Fu Shi, but he stabs her, telling her that she has no right to say his name as he burns her body away. After some time, we see everyone at Chen Yu's funeral mourning his death, and Yun appears to be frustrated because he wasn't able to save Chen Yu. The group continues their search for the soul fragments, but they don't know where to start. The Emperor advises them to go to Shumi Mountain, where the gods reside, saying they will find what they are looking for. Sorrow says that they can't reach the mountain, but the Emperor reveals that he can take them there as he uses his magic, opening a portal to their destination. He warns them that the journey is going to be dangerous, and he bids them farewell as they enter the ship, ready to continue their mission. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.